Chapter 4479. It was precisely because Lu Ming and Dark Knight Rose had realized that the celestial race wasn't responsible that they had set up this trap and drawn out Chu Yi. Upon seeing the corpse of the celestial race expert, there was no need for explanation. Everyone understood. Kill? Kill. Lu Ming's group launched a second attack. However, this attack was blocked by Chu Yi's two doppelganger puppets. Although the two doppelganger puppets were injured, Lu Ming and the rest did not manage to break through their defenses for the time being. Chu Yi struggled with all his strength, causing Xian Yanqing and Dark Knight Rose to tremble even more. If this continued, they really wouldn't be able to hold on. Once I come out, it'll be the time of your deaths. Chu Yi roared, his face savage. Dark Knight Rose, Little Qin, use your origin energy to launch your strongest attack. Lu Ming messaged Dark Knight Rose and Xian Yanqing. Okay. The two replied, preparing to use their trump cards. Seniors, if we don't go all out now, when will we? Lu Ming roared at the two second-level God Lords. These two second-level God Lords were very important, as they were the main offensive force. Without them holding down Chu Yi, they were even less of a match. The two of them hesitated for a moment before nodding, decisive looks on their faces. Boom. Boom. The two second-level God Lords exploded with powerful energy. This was divine power burning. The two of them were truly putting their lives on the line. At the same time, Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing, and Dark Knight Rose began to mobilize their origin energy. Dark Knight Rose had been at the same level as Xian Yanqing, a second-level God Lord. Thus, the origin energy she controlled was not any weaker than Xian Yanqing's, so she could also use an attack. Devil Devour. Xian Yanqing and Dark Knight Rose roared as they used their origin energy in this joint attack. With the addition of the origin energy, the power of the joint attack technique increased a little. That terrifying field energy was even stronger. Chu Yi's body trembled, and the sword energy he had unleashed trembled and almost collapsed. Kill. Kill. Lu Ming and the others launched another attack. This time, the two second-layer Divine Master experts burned their divine power and went all out to launch their strongest attacks. The power was astonishing, and Chu Yi had no choice but to divert even more of his energy to control the celestial race doppelganger puppet to resist the two second-layer Divine Master experts. In that case, the strength of the other skeleton would be slightly weaker. Boom. The attacks of the two second-level God Lords clashed with the avatar of the celestial race. After a few loud booms, the heavenly human tribe's doppelganger puppet was sent flying. However, the attacks of the two second-level Divine Lords were also blocked. Following that, Lu Ming, Wan Xin, and the others' attacks also collided with the puppet. It was like metal clashing against metal, and energy rippled out in all directions. The attacks of Lu Ming and the others also froze. Lu Ming's mysterious ice rod, Wan Xin's black iron rod and Emperor Jinny's rusty battle sword were all blocked by Skeleton's bone sword. Haha, you still want to kill me? Seeing the attacks of Lu Ming and the others being blocked, Chu Yi laughed arrogantly. The desperate attacks of Lu Ming and the others had been blocked by Skeleton. Let's see what else they can use to fight him. At this moment, Origin. Lu Ming inwardly roared. The Origin seed trembled, and the Origin energy within it flowed along his arm and into the mysterious ice rod. The mysterious ice rod was an Origin-level divine weapon, and the addition of the Origin energy was like adding oil to a fire, causing it to explode. Boom. The mysterious ice rod violently shuddered, and a powerful energy erupted from it and struck the bone sword. Kacha. The bone sword shattered, and the mysterious ice rod smashed into Skeleton's body. With a bang, Skeleton's body exploded. The mysterious ice rod did not stop and continued to bombard Chu Yi. Chu Yi's eyes widened in disbelief. He roared, "Damn it! How is this possible? This is the power of Origin." He was really shocked, and he also knew that he had underestimated Lu Ming's strength. Lu Ming had been hiding his trump card before. Damn it. At the same time, he wanted to use his strength to resist, but how could Xian Yanqing and Dark Knight Rose let him do as he wished? They tried their best to operate the joint attack technique to suppress Chu Yi. Chu Yi was just about to divert some of his strength to resist Lu Ming's attack, but that terrifying field energy took advantage of it. Chu Yi's body quickly melted, and he was so scared that he hurriedly circulated his strength to resist. However, the mysterious ice rod did not stop, and directly smashed down. Boom. The mysterious ice rod solidly smashed onto Chu Yi's body. Chu Yi let out a blood-curdling scream as his body flew out like a meteor and smashed into the ground, creating a large crater. But he did not stop, his body continued to slide backwards, creating a deep ditch on the ground. He kept sliding backward for tens of thousands of meters before stopping. All the bones and muscles in his body had been completely shattered. They were in tatters and it was unbearable to look at. His head had almost exploded, and cracks had appeared on the universe bridge in his sea of consciousness. With such serious injuries, Chui could no longer fight. This Chui was really strong. When he was young, he was definitely a top genius who could crush people of the same level. Even the heavenly human tribe people of the same level could not compare to him. The second-level Divine Master Heavenly Human Tribe that Lu Ming had met before definitely did not have such strength. Just like he had said, if it were not for the problem, his cultivation would be much higher than this. Speaking of which, the Life Spirit Essence Stone Fragment was not something that only outstanding talents would recognize. But in the end, Chu-Yi was still defeated by Lu Ming and the others. Chu-Yi lay in the large pit, spitting out blood, and his eyes were full of unwillingness and despair. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Everyone's figures flashed and they surrounded Chu-Yi. Chu-Yi, you are doomed to death for your sins. Today we will kill you. A second-level Divine Master Elder said coldly, and his killing intent was thick. If you kill me, how will you divide the Life Spirit Origin Stone fragments in my body? The Life Spirit Origin Stone fragments are in the storage ring on my finger. Chu-Yi roared. These words caused the second-level Divine Master Expert's expressions to change, and their eyes flickered. Yes, after killing Chu-Yi, how would they divide the Life Spirit Origin Stone fragments in his body? You still want to sow discord at this time? Everyone, we can discuss the Life Spirit Origin Stone fragments after we kill Chu-Yi. But now we can't fall into his trap. Lu Ming said. The two second-level Divine Master Experts were shocked and came back to their senses. They thought to themselves that they had almost fallen into Chu-Yi's trap. If they had fought out of greed, it would only have benefited Chu-Yi. If Chu-Yi escaped, the consequences would be unimaginable. This little bastard, Chu-Yi roared in his heart, wishing that he could cut Lu Ming into pieces. A second-level Divine Master Elder stepped forward, about to attack. Everyone wait a moment. I have a huge secret, Chu-Yi roared. Chapter 4480. Chu-Yi roared, causing the second-level Divine Master to stop in his tracks. Speak, what secret? The second-level Divine Master coldly demanded. It's the secret of the Heavenly Court. As long as you don't kill me, I'll tell you, Chu-Yi said. You still want to use this method to survive? Ridiculous. Besides, who knows if the secret you're talking about is true? Lu Ming sneered and said to the others, Everyone, I still think it's better to kill this person. Don't fall into his trap. Once you let him go, there will be endless trouble in the future. Damn it, damn little bastard. Chu-Yi roared in his heart. His little scheme had been seen through by Lu Ming time and time again. He really hated Lu Ming to the bone. But there was nothing he could do. Hearing Lu Ming's words, the others revealed killing intent. He could only roar again, I'm telling the truth, absolutely true. It's the secret of the Heavenly Court. You know about the 3 supreme treasures of the Heavenly Court, right? I know where one of them is hidden. What? Upon hearing this, not only the others but even Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing, Anya Rose, and the others were shocked. The Life Spirit was the ultimate treasure of the Celestial Court. This phrase was too tempting. Chu-Yi actually knew where one of the supreme treasures of the Heavenly Court was hidden? Nonsense. Who knows if you're telling the truth or not? This time, it was the second-level Divine Master who spoke. I can swear on my life origin that it's absolutely true. Also, I have a map of the Heavenly Court marked with the specific location of the treasure. It's hidden in my sea of consciousness. As long as you promise to spare my life, I can give it to you. Otherwise, I'll just destroy my sea of consciousness. That map is fragile and can be easily destroyed by me. Chu-Yi said. Map. Chu-Yi, it's often foggy here, making it difficult to tell directions. We can't even find the right direction. You have a map? This lie is too low level. Lu Ming sneered. The others' faces also darkened. Indeed, this lie was too low level. The Life Spirit Heavenly Court was too big, and fog would appear every once in a while. It was like a maze. It was a joke that Chu-Yi would have a map. You all have just entered, so it's naturally difficult for you to determine the direction. However, I have already been here for 300,000 years. How could I not know? I am extremely familiar with this place. Even in the fog, I will be able to find the right path. Chu-Yi said. What? You've been here for 300,000 years? This time Lu Ming and the others were really shocked. Originally they thought that Chu-Yi came in with them. They really did not expect that Chu-Yi had already come in. Yes, when I was young, I had a great battle and damaged my foundation, causing my cultivation to progress extremely slowly. I was unwilling to give up, so I spent my whole life studying the Life Spirit Heavenly Court. The purpose was to find treasures to achieve a transformation and restore my potential and talent. Finally, 300,000 years ago, I found a clue and entered the Life Spirit Heavenly Court. Unfortunately, the ancient land of the Life Spirit Heavenly Court cannot be entered by a fragment of the Life Spirit Primordial Stone. Only by gathering many fragments of the Life Spirit meteorite can one enter, especially the place that contains the treasures of the Life Spirit Heavenly Court. Many fragments of the Life Spirit Primordial Stone are needed. Although I came in early, it was useless. I could only waste time. It wasn't until 3,000 years ago that the heavenly human tribe entered that I became cautious. I hid in the dark and waited for an opportunity to kill a few of them. After that, I waited until now. When you people entered, I knew that my opportunity had come. At this point, Chui stopped and did not continue, but everyone knew what he was going to say next. It was nothing more than pretending to be a newcomer like them. He would blend in with the crowd, secretly attack, seize the fragments of the Life Spirit Primordial Stone, and then go alone to obtain the treasures of the Life Spirit Heavenly Court. Chuyi's words were indeed self-justifying. But everyone was still skeptical. If you don't believe me, I can swear with my life origin. Immediately, Chui swore with the origin of life that what he had just said was true. Seeing Chui swear with his life origin, everyone had to believe him. Unless Chui did not want to live anymore. But even if he did not want to live, there was no need to use such a method. Now, as long as you swear with your life origin that after I tell you the details of the location, you will spare my life, and I will tell you. I will also give you the map and the fragments of the Life Spirit Primordial Stone that I have. Chui said. Okay, I promise you. Everyone, what do you think? A second-layer Divine Master Old Man answered, looking at Lu Ming and the others. Obviously he was tempted. In fact, he was not the only one. Lu Ming and the others were also tempted. That was the supreme treasure of the Heavenly Court. In the universe, it was a top treasure, even more precious than the 18 divine weapons. Who would not be tempted? I also agree. Anya Rose said. Needless to say, she was also tempted. I agree. In the end, Lu Ming nodded. Chui was overjoyed to see everyone agree. Then, Lu Ming and the others all swore with their life origin that they would spare Chuyi's life as long as he handed over the Life Spirit Primordial Stone and the map. Good. Chui was overjoyed, but a savage killing intent flashed in the depths of his eyes. He roared in his heart. As long as he survived this time, he would madly seek revenge after his injuries had healed. He had been here for 300,000 years and could not be more familiar with this place. He could come and go freely in the fog. When the time came, he would take advantage of his familiarity with the terrain to hunt down all these people. Especially Lu Ming, Anya Rose, and the others. He would madly seek revenge and make them regret their actions. Now, hand over the map and the Life Spirit Primordial Stone fragment. A second-level God Lord Elder barked. Okay, I'll give it to you. Chui said as his forehead shone, and a jade token flew out. The jade token was about the size of a palm, and one could see that the jade token was covered in fine carvings. The old man at the second-level Divine Master realm hurriedly grabbed the jade tablet. Everyone's eyes flashed, but they said nothing. The second-level God Lord Elder then poured his divine power into the jade token. The jade token shone, and a map appeared in the air. The map was very detailed, and there was a red dot on it that represented their current location. In addition, there was a yellow dot some distance away. That yellow dot is where the supreme treasure of the Heavenly Court is hidden. Chui explained. Everyone's eyes burned with fervent light. It seemed like everything Chui had said was true. As long as they followed the map, they would not get lost even in the fog. It wouldn't be long before they arrived at the location of the treasure. End of this chapter. Chapter 4481. Also, the Life Soul Origin Stone is in the storage ring on my finger. I'm injured and can't touch it, so you can take it, Chui said. Immediately, many people's eyes lit up. Bang, bang. Several people stepped forward, wanting to take Chuyi's storage ring, but they were all obstructed by each other's energies. Their energies erupted and clashed in the air, none of them willing to back down. The two second-tier God Lord experts in particular were exuding an intense fighting spirit as their energies clashed. Everyone, there are so many of us here that no one can take the Life Soul Origin Stone fragments for themselves. I suggest that we divide them equally. Once we reach the treasury of the supreme treasure of the Heavenly Court, we can take out the Life Soul Origin Stone fragments together and open the treasury. What do you think? Anya Rose suggested. The eyes of the two second-tier God Lord experts flashed. If an ordinary God Emperor dared to speak to them like this, dared to suggest splitting the fragments equally, they would have long since slapped him to death. A god emperor dared to dream of being on equal footing with a god lord? However, Anya Rose, Lu Ming, and the others were truly too terrifying and could not be judged by common sense. When they had surrounded Chu Yi, Xian Yanqing and the Dark Knight Rose had used a joint attack. It was so powerful that even they were terrified. They were afraid that if they were trapped, only death awaited them. And Lu Ming's strength was also unimaginable. Earlier, when they were dealing with Chu Yi, Lu Ming had defeated him with a surprise move, breaking through Chu Yi's defenses and capturing him. They were all monstrous geniuses. Although they were divine masters, they had no choice but to suppress their pride in front of these monstrous geniuses. Okay, then we'll listen to Miss Rose. The second-tier God Lord Elder smiled. The other second-tier God Lord expert also had no objections. Since the strongest experts of each group had no objections, the others had no objections either, nor did they dare to. A hint of disappointment appeared in Chu Yi's eyes. He had been hoping that Lu Ming and the others would fight over the Life-Soul Origin Stone fragments, but he hadn't expected it to end so easily. Several people worked together to take the storage ring from Chu Yi's hand. After opening it, they found several Life-Soul Origin Stone fragments. A total of 5 pieces. The forces represented by the 2 second-stage Divine Masters each got a piece of land. Lu Ming got one while Dark Knight Rose got the other. The 5th piece was given to the last first-stage Divine Master. Everyone, I've given you first place in the Life Spirit Vitality Stone fragment. Can I leave now? Chu Yi said. The Divine Lord Realm existences all showed a hint of unwillingness. They really didn't want to let Chu Yi go because if Chu Yi left, it would be very dangerous. However, for the sake of the Heavenly Court's most precious treasure, they had no choice but to swear on their life essence. They had no choice but to let it go now. Let you go? You're too naive. After we let you go, are we going to wait for you to take revenge on us? Lu Ming sneered. He clenched his fist and a long spear condensed in his hand. What? The Divine Lord Realm experts and Chu Yi were all stunned, looking at Lu Ming in shock. Could it be that Lu Ming wanted to break his oath and kill Chu Yi? Chu Yi reacted very quickly. He cried out, Lu Ming, what are you doing? Don't forget that you swore on your life essence that you can't kill me. If you kill me, you'll face a calamity and die. Do you want to die with me? Perish together with you? Ah, you're not worthy. Don't you know that reciprocity existences don't fear oaths on life essence? Lu Ming sneered. Cold killing intent erupted from his body, so dense that it seemed to be tangible. Those are reciprocity existences who control origin energy. You're just a god emperor, Chu Yi roared. However, his voice stopped abruptly. His eyes widened and a look of horror appeared in his eyes. Origin energy. The reason why reciprocity experts did not fear oaths on life essence was because of origin energy. However, Lu Ming had also mastered the power of origin. Earlier, Lu Ming had only managed to break through Chu Yi's defenses by erupting with origin energy. However, Chu Yi was in a hurry to save his life, so he did not think of this. Who would have thought that the other party would be able to use source energy to go against the life source oath when facing some god emperors? Subconsciously they ignored it. But it was too late to think of it now. No, don't kill me. You can't break your oath, Chu Yi cried out in horror. He did not want to die. He had already found the life spirit heavenly court. As long as he killed Lu Ming and the others and obtained enough life spirit origin stone fragments, he might have a chance to recover his talent and potential and reach a higher realm. Therefore he struggled frantically. Unfortunately, his injuries were very serious. Even if he had recovered a little, he could only barely move his body. Chu Yi, go well, Lu Ming said coldly as he stabbed out with his spear. The spear directly pierced through Chu Yi's forehead, killing him there. Chu Yi's eyes widened. He was unwilling to accept this. Good. The others shouted in their hearts. They did not dare to kill Chu Yi. Lu Ming had killed him. If they let Chu Yi go, they would not be able to sleep and eat in peace. As for whether Lu Ming could really resist the backlash of the oath on life essence, they were too lazy to care. It would be best if Lu Ming died from the backlash. Young master, is it really okay for you to kill him like this? Qiu Yu hurriedly asked, her small face full of nervousness and worry. Lu Ming, can your origin energy withstand it? Xian Yanqing also asked, also a little worried. She also used origin energy, but the amount was very small. She felt that she could not withstand the backlash of the oath on life essence. She was a little worried about whether Lu Ming could withstand it. Don't worry, the backlash of the oath on life essence will not happen now. It will happen later in the cultivation. I am confident that I can withstand it, Lu Ming said with a smile. The amount of origin energy he controlled was not small. Although it was definitely not comparable to the existence of the origin realm, it should be able to withstand the backlash of the oath on life essence. Moreover, he had a forbidden body and controlled forbidden energy. Fei Huang once told him that forbidden energy also had a strong effect in resisting the backlash of the oath on life essence. With the combination of the two, Lu Ming was confident and confident. Otherwise he would not take the risk so easily. "Everyone, let's go," Lu Ming said. Then everyone set off. According to the map left by Chu Yi, they headed in the direction of the treasure of the Life Spirit Heavenly Court. With the map their speed was very fast. At the same time they did not encounter any more attacks. However, according to the map, the treasure was not far from them. In fact, it was a long way away. They were in the south of the Life Spirit Heavenly Court, and the treasure was in the north. They had to cross almost half of the ancient city of the Life Spirit Heavenly Court. Along the way everyone had their own thoughts. They were all thinking about a problem. How would they divide the treasure after obtaining it? Chapter 4482. There was only one treasure, so how could they split it? There were 7 or 8 groups of people here, and all of them wanted the treasure. Who should the treasure go to? Everyone's eyes flashed, each with their own thoughts. The 2 second-level divine lords even had killing intent in their eyes, but they quickly hid it. They really wanted to kill everyone else and take the treasure for themselves. However, when they thought about the strength of Lu Ming's group, they were extremely afraid. They didn't want to be killed by Lu Ming's group before they could kill Lu Ming's group. In truth, they weren't the only ones with such thoughts. Lu Ming, Dark Knight Rose, and the others also had such thoughts. They also wanted to kill everyone here. However, the other side had 2 second-level divine lords and 1 first-level divine lord. They wouldn't be so easy to deal with. As long as Xian Yinqing and the Dark Knight Rose's combined attack enveloped a second-layer divine master, only death would await them. However, there was still a second-level divine lord. Even if he recovered his origin energy and used all his strength, he still wouldn't be able to keep them here. If a few of them managed to escape with the Life Soul Origin Stone fragments, they wouldn't be able to gather enough Life Soul Origin Stone fragments. Even if they reached the treasury, it would be useless. Moreover, the other side was very wary of them. It wouldn't be easy to suddenly attack and kill one of them. In addition, they were only cooperating with Dark Knight Rose and weren't on the same side. Thus they didn't attack. Everyone had their own misgivings and were wary of each other as they headed toward their destination. However, Lu Ming's group didn't know that their destination had long since been occupied by someone else, the celestial race. On the empty ground there were many tall bronze statues. These bronze statues all looked like warriors. They were clad in armor and wielded swords. Each statue was tens of thousands of feet tall. There were 108 bronze statues on this plain. They were arranged in a strange pattern, forming an array. In the center of the bronze statue there was a tall altar. 12 divine weapons floated around the altar. These 12 divine weapons were of different shapes and sizes. None of them were the same. Spear, sword, halberd, axe, battle axe, hook, fork, whip, truncheon, hammer, dagger, and saber. There were a total of 12 types. Each of them exuded a terrifying aura that resonated with the surrounding 108 bronze statues, increasing the power of the formation. A group of people was floating in the air of this region. There were about 30 of them. 12 of them had shocking auras and they were all divine masters. Moreover, they were not ordinary divine masters. Their auras were much stronger than a first or second layer divine master. These were all existences at the 3rd level of the divine master realm or higher. The one in the center was even more terrifying. His aura was shocking, causing the void to tremble, forming an incomparably terrifying pressure. If Lu Ming were here, he would definitely be shocked because this was an existence on the level of the Lord of Heaven. Only the strongest of the divine masters could be called the Lord of Heaven. Every Lord of Heaven was extremely powerful. Who would have thought that there would be a Lord of Heaven here? With the Lord of Heaven at the center, the 12 experts laid down a massive array. Powerful energy poured down as if they were trying to destroy the formation below and refine something. The 108 bronze statues and 12 divine weapons below had already dimmed. It seemed like they wouldn't be able to last much longer. Han Ming, accept your fate. Even if you summon 12 divine weapons, it's useless. At most, you'll be able to struggle at death's door for a little longer. Sooner or later we'll break through it. A man on the side coldly said. This man looked very young, only in his 20s, but his aura was astonishing. He was also a divine master. One naturally couldn't judge a person's age based on their appearance. Although he looked to be in his 20s, he was actually very old. At the very least, he wasn't a member of the younger generation. This was because no one in the younger generation had never been to the Grand Supreme Immortal City and had such a high cultivation. This person was speaking to the altar, as if the Han Ming he spoke of was within the altar. However, there was no response from the altar. Han Ming, 4 of the 18 divine weapons are in the hands of the Heavenly Palace. If the 18 divine weapons aren't complete, they won't be able to stop us. Also, if you want to summon the Vitality Stone fragments and reform them to strengthen yourself, you can stop dreaming. I've already sent people to hunt down those who control the fragments. Now half of the fragments are in my hands, so your fate is sealed. Han Ming, you're the master of the Heavenly Palace. You've been struggling at death's door for so long, but in the end, you still have to strengthen me. I'll extract the remaining half of the taboo body from you and complete my taboo body. Yi Wu will be the first heavenly human to completely control the taboo body. The young man shouted. It turned out that this person was the Lord Yi Wu that the heavenly humans had mentioned. How dare a heavenly human try to control the taboo power? How naive. You'll reap what you sow. This time around, a rough voice sounded from the altar. Merely it sounded very weak. Haha, nothing is impossible. I've already completely controlled half of the taboo power, and my combat strength has increased tremendously. Once I extract the other half from you, I'll be able to completely control it. At that time, I'll use both the supreme heavenly power and the taboo power at the same time. Who in the world will be my match? I'll be invincible against those of the same level, and I'll surpass the strongest person in the history of the heavenly human tribe. Ah! Yi Wu laughed. His face was ferocious, and his eyes were burning with anticipation. This time there was no response from the altar. Han Ming despair. Yi Wu snorted. At this time someone flew toward them. It was a second-level Divine Master Heavenly Human Elder. You guys, how is it? Have you killed all the remaining people? Yi Wu asked. Lord Yi Wu, please forgive us. The second-level Divine Master Heavenly Human Elder cupped his fists, fear written all over his face. Yi Wu frowned and a murderous aura emanated from him. Speak. What happened? Lord Yi Wu, the heavenly court is too big and we're severely understaffed. Moreover, it's difficult to capture them during the fog. We don't know where the rest of the people have gone, so... The second-level Divine Master Heavenly Human Elder stammered. Trash. What a bunch of trash. Yi Wu shouted. The second-level Divine Master Heavenly Human Elder lowered his head, not daring to reply. If it weren't for the fact that I couldn't leave, I would have gone there myself. Go, continue the search. You must kill all of them and bring me the fragments of the Primordial Stone of Fate. The complete Primordial Stone of Fate will be my treasure. Yi Wu ordered. Yes. I'll do my best. Don't do your best. You must complete it. Yi Wu's face darkened. The other party hurriedly replied and left. Chapter 4483. With the map and no one ambushing them, Lu Ming and the others moved much faster. When the fog dissipated, they moved even faster. They flew at full speed according to the map. In just 7 days, they were close to the hiding place of the Life Soul Heavenly Court's supreme treasure. At this time, the atmosphere became even more tense. Everyone wanted the supreme treasure, so they were hostile to each other. Therefore, they kept a distance from each other for fear of being ambushed by others. We're almost there. Everyone, why don't we discuss how to split the treasure after we find it? A second-layer Divine Master expert said. Of course, it's based on our strength. Lu Ming said. Okay, then it's based on our strength. The second-layer Divine Master expert said. This was the law of the cultivation world. If they couldn't work together to split the treasure, they could only rely on their strength. The others had no objections. According to the map, we'll reach a plain after flying over this mountain. We'll be there soon, another second-layer Divine Master Elder said. This person had been holding the map all this time. Everyone's hearts were in their mouths. They used their movement techniques and flew over the top of the mountain. In the next moment, everyone stopped abruptly. Their eyes widened as they stared in front of them. Then everyone's eyes were filled with shock. They naturally saw the heavenly human experts, the altar, and the formation below. Lu Ming and the others were dumbfounded. They didn't expect the heavenly human tribe to be here. Shouldn't the heavenly human tribe be in the east? Aha, I've searched high and low only to find it by chance. These people actually delivered themselves to me. Take them down. Yi Wu laughed loudly. With a wave of his hand, 2 heavenly human elders stepped forward and rushed toward Lu Ming and the others. These 2 elders didn't participate in the formation, so their cultivation wasn't too high. They were only second-layer Divine Masters. But they were also very terrifying. They pressed toward Lu Ming and the others like 2 stars. Oh no, we've been tricked. Let's go. Lu Ming roared, his power bursting forth as he pulled Xian Yinqing, Autumn Moon and Myriad God back. Xian Yinqing, Autumn Moon and Myriad God also reacted and quickly retreated. Dark Night Rose and the others reacted very quickly. Just as Lu Ming and the others retreated, they also retreated. The other groups of people reacted a little slower, and by the time they were about to retreat, the two second-tier divine masters of the celestial race had already closed in. A long spear and a battle sword, both formed from the most powerful heavenly force, slaughtered towards the crowd. The power was extremely shocking. Block it. The two second-layer divine master realm existences shouted angrily. They erupted with their full strength and blasted out a blow. However, they were no match for the celestial race's experts. After exchanging a blow, they coughed up blood and retreated. The two second-layer divine masters of the heavenly human tribe didn't stop their attacks. Screams filled the air as the only remaining first-layer divine lord was killed. In addition, a few other young prodigies were also killed. Their storage rings fell into the hands of the celestial race. Among them was the peerless genius ranked 5th on the universe prodigy list, Bao. He was also killed in a single blow. Let's go. After the two second-layer divine masters were injured, they turned around and left. They didn't dare to linger. The two of you, go after those two divine masters. Leave those little fellows to me. Yi Wu's voice rang out as he charged forward, chasing after Lu Ming and the others. His speed was extremely shocking. After a few flashes, the distance between him and Lu Ming and the others was rapidly closing. Boom. He punched out, and a blazing fist energy blasted toward Lu Ming and the others. The violent power caused Lu Ming and the group's expressions to change drastically. Third-layer divine master. The moment Yi Wu attacked, Lu Ming and the others sensed that Yi Wu's cultivation was at the third-layer divine master realm. Moreover, he wasn't an ordinary third-layer divine master. The fist energy was like a blazing sun. It was formed by countless lightning bolts. This was the power of heaven's punishment. In an instant, it enveloped Lu Ming, Xian Yinqing, Autumn Moon, Wan Shen, Dark Night Rose, Di Jianyi and the others. Bus! Lu Ming shouted as he used the obsidian staff. He unleashed his full strength and attacked the fist energy. At the same time, Xian Yinqing, Dark Night Rose and the others all attacked. They knew that if they couldn't block it they would all die. Now they were intimately interdependent. With so many people attacking at the same time, all kinds of powerful weapons bombarded the blazing fist energy, causing a series of earth-shattering explosions. Then these powerful weapons vibrated violently and were sent flying. Lu Ming and the others retreated like kites with broken strings and fell to the ground. They all suffered different degrees of injuries. What a powerful force. Lu Ming's eyes were solemn. This person's combat power was too strong. Although he was only a third-layer divine master, his strength was definitely much stronger than an ordinary third-layer divine master. When this person was young he must have been a top genius. However, at this moment Yi Wu's eyes were fixed on Lu Ming. Forbidden power. You have mastered the forbidden power. Good, very good. As long as I can suppress you and send you back to the heavenly palace, it will be a great achievement. Yi Wu laughed as he put his hands behind his back and stepped forward. He looked as if he was invincible. He was very conceited. However, with his strength, he had the right to be conceited when facing Lu Ming and the others. Attack. At this moment, Xian Yinqing and Dark Night Rose shouted as they moved at the same time. They flashed out and quickly formed seals with their hands. Combined attack technique, explode. The next moment, a huge black lotus appeared under Yi Wu's feet. On top of his head, a sky-devouring rose appeared. The two flowers, one above the other, released a terrifying burst of field energy that enveloped Yi Wu. At the same time, Xian Yinqing and Dark Night Rose circulated the origin energy in their bodies. Although they had used it the last time, it had been many days since then. The origin energy in the seed of origin had long been restored. Sizzle. The field energy made Yi Wu's body tremble slightly. Even his protective heavenly energy was trembling. Combined attack technique. Interesting. No, this is the origin energy. Yi Wu's face suddenly changed. He was shocked. He could feel the origin energy in the terrifying field energy. Xian Yinqing and Dark Night Rose were only 9th-layer divine gods, but they had mastered the origin energy. This made Yi Wu very surprised and curious. At this moment, Lu Ming also made his move. He also released the origin energy and merged it with the forbidden power into the obsidian staff. He activated the obsidian staff with all his might and attacked Yi Wu. Boom. The attack went through the field energy and hit Yi Wu's face. This is also the origin energy. Yi Wu's eyes were shining. There was greed, passion, and surprise in his eyes. However, he didn't stop there. He threw a punch. When he punched out, a terrifying power erupted from his body. This power was not the power of the heavens. It was the forbidden power. Chapter 4484. Clang. Yi Wu threw out a punch and hit the Bingxian staff. Instantly, Lu Ming felt an indestructible and overwhelming force rushing toward him from the Bingxian rod. His body could not help but retreat as he coughed out large mouthfuls of blood. His arm was almost shattered by the powerful force. It was covered with cracks and blood was flowing out. Forbidden power. This is the forbidden power. Lu Ming was shocked. He was all too familiar with taboo powers. Once Yi Wu used it, Lu Ming could sense that this was taboo power. At the same time, Xian Yanqing, Anya Rose, and the others were also shocked. They stared at Yi Wu. How could a member of the heavenly human tribe control the forbidden power? It was unbelievable. Legend had it that the forbidden power was the natural enemy of the heavenly human tribe. The forbidden body was the natural enemy of the heavenly human tribe. How could a member of the heavenly human tribe control the forbidden power? No, it's an incomplete forbidden power. It's not complete. There's only half of it. It might have been extracted from someone else. Lu Ming shouted. He remembered that when he was captured, the heavenly human tribe wanted to extract the forbidden power from him. Perhaps the forbidden power controlled by the heavenly human tribe was extracted from other forbidden bodies. That was why there was only half of it. A forbidden power and origin in advance. Good, very good. It's a great achievement to capture someone like you. Suppress, Yi Wu shouted. The energy in his body erupted like a volcano. This time he used his full strength. His terrifying power directly destroyed Xian Yanqing and Dark Knight Rose's combined attack. The two of them spat out blood and flew back, crashing to the ground. Then Yi Wu stretched out his hand. A huge palm formed and grabbed at Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing, Anya Rose, and the others. He wanted to suppress Lu Ming and the others with a single move. Yi Wu was too powerful. His cultivation was at the third level of the Divine Master Realm, which was far beyond what Lu Ming and the others could handle. Coupled with his terrifying combat strength, he was much stronger than Lu Ming and the others. He didn't use his full strength when he attacked Lu Ming and the others. Otherwise he could have killed Lu Ming and the others in an instant. At this moment he stretched out his palm. The huge palm covered the sky like a small world. The terrifying energy suppressed Lu Ming and the others and made them unable to move, let alone fight back. We still fell into Chu Yi's trap, Lu Ming sighed in his heart. At this moment he knew that Chu Yi had tricked them. What Chu Yi said sounded true. He said that there was a supreme treasure of the Life Spirit Heavenly Court here, and that it needed many pieces of the Life Spirit Origin Stone to open it. He also said that his map was true. Otherwise, Chu Yi would not have dared to swear on his life origin. However, he had hidden the most important piece of information. That was, this place had long been occupied by the heavenly human tribe. Even if Chu Yi had obtained many life origin stone fragments, he wouldn't have dared to come here. He told Lu Ming and the others about this place so that Lu Ming and the others could come here and die. Lu Ming and the others didn't understand at that time, but it was too late now. But at this moment, a sudden change occurred. Down below, on the ground, the altar that had been motionless suddenly shone brightly, and a burst of energy rushed toward Yi Wu. Yi Wu was shocked and quickly retreated. However, the target of this force wasn't Yi Wu, but Lu Ming and the others. With a bang, the giant palm formed by Yi Wu was crushed by this force. Then this force enveloped Lu Ming and the others. This force was like a strong suction force trying to suck Lu Ming and the others into the altar. Don't resist. I'm saving you. A rough voice sounded in the ears of Lu Ming and the others. Lu Ming and the others were moved. They didn't resist at all and let the force pull them toward the altar. Although they didn't know who the other party was and whether they had any ill intentions, they had no choice now. If they were outside, they would definitely be suppressed or even killed by the heavenly human tribe. If they followed this force, they might have a chance. Soul destiny. Yi Wu roared, his anger soaring to the sky. Stop him. Yi Wu continued to shout. The 12 people who set up the array shouted at the same time and shot out a divine light to cut off the force from the altar. However, the altar shone and rushed out another force to attack the divine light. Boom. An earth-shattering rumble resounded, and energy overflowed in all directions. The entire area was covered by a sky full of multicolored light. Bang, bang, bang. The bronze statues kept exploding. 18 of them exploded in a row. In the end, they managed to block the force from the heavenly human tribe. There seemed to be a vortex on the altar and the suction force suddenly increased. Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing, Autumn Moon, Wan Shen, Dark Night Rose, Di Jianyi, Ling Heng, Yin Jiuling, Xiu Wuji, and 3 other young men and women flew into the altar and disappeared. Damn it! Yi Wu roared in anger. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. 2 figures flew over. They were the 2 heavenly human tribe elders who were at 2nd level Divine Master Realm. They had gone to kill the other 2 heavenly human tribe elders and had returned. Have you killed them? Yi Wu asked coldly as he let out a breath and calmed down. Yes, they have been killed. Here are the fragments of the Soul Destiny Stone. One of the elders replied as he passed 2 storage rings to Yi Wu. Yi Wu took the 2 storage rings and scanned them with his spiritual consciousness. He looked much better. Han Ming, you can't even save yourself. You want to save them? What a joke. You destroyed 18 bronze statues to save them. Let's see how long you can resist us. Once the formation is broken, none of you will live. Yi Wu stood in the air and said to the altar. The people on the altar ignored Yi Wu. At this moment, there was a group of people staring at each other on the altar, sizing up their surroundings. The inside of the altar was very spacious and large. It was like an underground space. There was also an altar here. The altar was made of divine jade and it was covered with runes. There were also runes on the ground around the altar. These symbols shone and interweaved together to form a formation. Waves of mysterious aura were condensed from it. A figure was sitting cross-legged in the middle of the altar. The figure was in the shape of a human. He was tall and burly, but he looked miserable. He was so thin that he was just skin and bones. His eye sockets were sunken in. Occasionally, a few rays of light would flicker in them, proving that he was still alive. There was a layer of strange flames on the surface of this person's body. The flames were constantly jumping about, burning at all times. Lu Ming and the others looked at the figure carefully. It was obvious that he was the one who had brought them into the altar. Thank you for your help, Senior. Thank you for your help, Senior. Lu Ming and the others cupped their fists in gratitude. Chapter 4485. You don't have to be polite. I just don't want to see you die in the hands of the heavenly human tribe. You are all talented and have endless potential. It would be a pity to die in the hands of the heavenly human tribe. The withered figure sitting on the altar spoke. His voice was rough, just like what they had heard before, but his aura was weak. Senior, how should I address you? Lu Ming cupped his fists and asked. You heard that heavenly human brat call me, right? My name is Han Ming. The withered figure said. Han Ming? Everyone was confused. They had never heard of it before. You may not have heard of my name, but you should have heard of my other title. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here, the withered voice continued. Everyone pricked up their ears to listen. This person must have a shocking background. That was their guess. They could tell by looking at the layout of the area. There were 108 bronze statues surrounding the altar. There were also 12 powerful divine weapons around the altar. The divine weapons gave off a shocking aura. Lu Ming and Anya Rose felt a sense of familiarity. Those were the 18 divine weapons of the palaces. Thinking up to this point, the 2 of them became even more bewildered as their imaginations ran wild. Han Ming's voice continued. Back then, all the races in the primitive universe called me the master of the heavenly court. Rumble. It was like a clap of thunder in everyone's mind. Everyone's eyes widened as they stared at the withered figure in shock. Shock and disbelief were in their eyes. It was shocking. It was really shocking. They had heard of the master of the heavenly court. His full name was the master of the life spirit heavenly court. This person was actually the master of the life spirit heavenly court, known as one of the most powerful taboos in history. Legend had it that the master of the life spirit heavenly court died with the destruction of the life spirit heavenly court. He was still alive. This was a truly legendary figure with an incomparably long history, even before the primordial divine court. Back then, the master of the life spirit heavenly court had created the life spirit heavenly court with his own strength. In the end, he developed the life spirit heavenly court to fight against the heavenly palace. Although they were defeated in the end, the heavenly palace, which was at its peak, suffered a great loss. After the battle with the life spirit heavenly court, the heavenly palace began to decline from its peak. Only then did the archaic divine court rise. This legendary figure had appeared before them just like that. However, his appearance was a bit too miserable. After a while, Lu Ming and the others came back to their senses. Senior, didn't you die in battle back then? What was going on now? Are those heavenly humans outside trying to deal with you? Also, why does the heavenly human tribe member outside possess half a wisp of forbidden power? Lu Ming asked several questions. Everyone revealed curious expressions because these were the same questions in their hearts. This little fellow has so many questions. The voice of the life spirit, the owner of the heavenly courts, sounded, making Lu Ming feel a little awkward. However, he still looked at the other party, hoping that the other party could answer his question. First, I'll answer your last question. The heavenly human outside is called Yi Wu. The half-taboo power in him is mine. Han Ming said. It turned out that this person was the Lord Yi Wu that the heavenly human tribe members had talked about. What was even more surprising was that the half-taboo power in Yi Wu's body actually belonged to the Life Spirit Heavenly Court's master. Back then, the Life Spirit Heavenly Court was defeated and I was severely injured. A few old fellows of the heavenly human tribe wanted to extract the taboo power from me. In the end, they extracted half of it. However, I managed to escape in the end and escaped with the Life Spirit Heavenly Court to hide in the ruins of the universe. I didn't expect that after so many years, they would still find me. Yi Wu's purpose was to extract half of the taboo power from me and merge it into one to form a complete taboo power. The Life Spirit Heavenly Court's master briefly explained. Although it was very simple and understated, it was very difficult to explain. However, everyone could imagine that the battle back then must have been extremely tragic. The process of his escape must have been extremely difficult. Senior, after so many years, you still haven't recovered? Lu Ming asked again. After knowing Han Ming's identity, Lu Ming could not help but feel a lot closer to him. Perhaps it had something to do with the fact that they both had taboo bodies. Therefore he became bolder and asked whatever questions he had. In front of an overlord like Han Ming, the others were a little reserved. Even Xian Yanqing and Anya Rose were the same. Although they were reincarnated even in their previous lives, they were still children in front of Han Ming. They were the juniors of the juniors. Difficult, difficult, difficult. Han Ming sighed and said the word, difficult, 3 times. In the battle back then, my injuries were too severe. Of course, that was not the most important thing. The most important thing was that half of my taboo power was extracted and I was struck by the heavenly human tribe's 3rd generation soul fire. It's the same kind of fire that's on my body. The 3rd generation soul fire is difficult to extinguish. It's said to be able to stay with me for 3 lifetimes and constantly erode my soul, essence, and spirit. Even after the new year, it was difficult for me to recover. Han Ming said. Everyone's hearts trembled slightly. The 3rd generation soul fire. There was actually such a terrifying fire in the world that could stay with him for 3 lifetimes and could not be extinguished. It was the same even for someone as powerful as Han Ming. For countless years, he had to endure the pain of the 3rd generation soul fire without being able to recover his strength. Just thinking about it made one shudder. This is also because of the confidence of Yi Wu and the others. Otherwise, I would be able to crush these heavenly humans outside with a finger as long as I recover some of my strength, Han Ming said. A glint flashed in Han Ming's sunken eyes. Everyone felt as if they were looking at that invincible powerhouse again. Senior, how should we get out of here? Lu Ming asked. It's difficult to get out of here. Han Ming sighed. Everyone's heart sank. Even Han Ming said that it would be difficult to get out. Were they really going to be trapped here until they died? Now, I'm using my remaining strength to control the array formation outside to resist. However, the other party has set up a great array formation, and there's even a heavenly monarch leading it. He's constantly breaking the array formation. Although I've summoned the 12 palace garrison divine weapons, they're not complete. They won't be able to resist for long. Han Ming said. We have 2 guardian divine weapons here. I don't know if they'll be useful. Lu Ming said. It's useless. Even with the 2 of you, we only have 14 of them. The 18 hall garrison divine weapons are incomplete, so they won't be of much use. The remaining ones should be sealed in the celestial palace, so I can't summon them. Han Ming shook his head and continued. Originally, I wanted to summon the fragments of my life spirit stone to form a complete life spirit stone. The life spirit stone can provide me with great strength and allow me to resist the other party for a while. However, most of the fragments have been intercepted by the other party. Chapter 4486. According to the Life Spirit Heavenly Court's master, he had wanted to summon the fragments of the Life Spirit Primordial Stone to form a complete Life Spirit Primordial Stone. Unfortunately, the Heavenly Human Clan had intercepted most of it. Even though Lu Ming had brought a few pieces with him, they weren't useful. Lu Ming and the others finally understood why the Life Spirit Primordial Stone had acted strangely all of a sudden. It was because the Life Spirit Heavenly Court's master had summoned it. The people of the Heavenly Human Tribe set up a formation to destroy the formation protecting me. It has already been 3,000 years. My strength is constantly weakening. If this continues, I estimate that they will break through the protective formation in at most 3 years. With my current strength, I am definitely not their match. Now if you want to leave safely there's only one way, said the Life Spirit Heavenly Court's master. What way? Everybody's eyes lit up. It's up to you. The Life Spirit Heavenly Court's master opened his turbid eyes and looked at Lu Ming. If it's up to me, I only have the strength of the 9th Great Supreme God Layer. I'm afraid I won't be of much use, said Lu Ming. No, you'll be of great use. More precisely, your forbidden strength will be of great use, said the Life Spirit Heavenly Court's master. After a short pause he continued, you have a forbidden body so you have complete forbidden strength. As for me, I have a forbidden body too. I can lend you my strength and fuse it with your forbidden strength. That way you'll be able to explode with incredible strength. It won't be difficult for you to defeat the heavenly human clans people outside. Lend me your strength? Oh, asked Lu Ming. Let me enter your body and fuse with your strength. Half of my forbidden strength can fuse with half of your forbidden strength. That way I'll be able to recover some of my strength, said the Life Spirit Heavenly Court's master. Let you enter my body? Lu Ming's expression changed drastically. At the same time, Xian Yinqing, Qiu Moon, and Wan Xin's expressions changed drastically. Letting someone else enter one's body was extremely dangerous. Especially someone like the Life Spirit Heavenly Court's master. It was even more dangerous. Besides, he looked miserable. He had been tortured by the 3-world soulfire for countless years. He looked like a lamp that was about to run out of oil. If he entered Lu Ming's master's body, would he have any evil intentions? Possession? Lin Fan had to be on guard. After all, it was impossible to judge a book by its cover. Moreover, they had only just met. Lu Ming, don't accept him. Young master, Heavenly Court's master's Heavenly Court's master's master. Com's master Heavenly Court Spirit Heavenly Court. Heavenly Human Heavenly Court Master. Heavenly Human Heavenly Human Heavenly Human Body. Had Life Spirit Heavenly Court Spirit Heavenly Court's Master? Heaven's Heavenly Court's Master Heavenly Courts. Heavenly Human Heavenly Court Spirit Spirit Heavenly Court. Said King Heavenly Court. The Life Spirit Heavenly Court Spirit Heavenly Court Spirit shook his head. No matter what I say, no matter how nice it sounds, you will still have concerns. After all, we are not familiar with each other. Moreover, the oath of life origin is ineffective on me. So, even if I swear, you will not believe me. Lu Ming did not say anything. Indeed, he would not believe the master's words. He would still have concerns. It's up to you to choose. If you choose to believe me, you can live. If you don't, we will die together when the protective array is broken. Everyone was silent. Dark Knight rose and the others naturally hoped that Lu Ming would agree. That way, whether Lu Ming would be possessed or not, they would have a chance to live. However, they could not persuade Lu Ming. Moreover, you don't have much time to consider. I can at most resist for 3 more years. However, it's impossible for you to have 3 years to consider. Even if you agree to let me enter your body and fuse with the taboo power temporarily, with your current cultivation, you still don't have the qualifications. Only when your cultivation reaches the Divine Master Realm will you have the right to do so. Otherwise, you will explode and die before your power can fuse. The Life Spirit, the Lord of the Heavenly Court, said. It requires the cultivation of the Divine Master Realm. That's impossible in 3 years. Lu Ming sighed and nodded slightly. The others also shook their heads and sighed. 3 years was too short. Lu Ming, Xian Yinqing, Dark Knight rose, and the others who had the strength of the top of the 9th Great Supreme God Layer couldn't break through in 3 years. How could Lu Ming break through to the Divine Master Realm in 3 years? And Lu Ming knew that it was unlikely. Up until now, he still hadn't found the direction to break through to the Divine Master Realm. It was as if there was a dense fog in front of him and he didn't know where to go. Obviously, his accumulation was far from enough. Not to mention 3 years, under normal circumstances, even 300, 3,000 or even 30,000 years would be impossible. Under normal circumstances, it would be impossible. However, with my help, it might not be impossible. The Life Spirit, the Lord of the Heavenly Court, said. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. This was the Life Spirit, the Lord of the Heavenly Court. It was the oldest and strongest forbidden body in history. Perhaps it really could help him break through to the Divine Master Realm in 3 years. Originally, even with my help, I wouldn't have been able to help you break through to the Divine Master Realm in 3 years. However, you have the Origin Seed. This is a great shortcut that can save you a lot of time. I really didn't expect that you would be able to condense an Origin Seed at such a young age. You must have had some heaven-defying opportunity, right? The Life Spirit, the Lord of the Heavenly Court, swept its gaze over Lu Ming, Xian Yinqing, Autumn Moon, Myriad God, Dark Knight Rose and the others. That's right. We only managed to condense the origin seed by chance. However, how will the origin seed help us break through to the Divine Master Realm? Lu Ming asked humbly. It will be of great help. For those who cultivate divine power, if they want to break through from the Divine Emperor Realm to the Divine Master Realm, they need to cultivate a universe bridge in the black hole in their body. The universe bridge will extend to the depths of the black hole. The ultimate goal of the universe bridge is to connect to the universe sea so that they can comprehend the universe origin energy. However, where is the universe sea? There is no direction. Ordinary people only know how to cultivate the universe bridge and extend it to the depths of the black hole until they reach the 9th level of the Divine Emperor Realm. Only then can they find the direction. However, you are different. You already have the origin seed and can sense the universe sea. It's like there are 2 points in space. As long as you connect the 2 points, you will be able to find a clear direction. You just need to keep going in this direction. Therefore, once you cultivate to the Divine Master Realm, your progress will be many times faster than ordinary people. Ordinary people need to cultivate and comprehend at the same time to find the direction. However, you have already set the direction. As long as you keep accumulating energy, you can continue to improve. Do you understand this explanation? The Life Spirit, the Lord of the Heavenly Court, said. Lu Ming and the others' eyes lit up. They felt enlightened. They had heard that condensing the origin seed would be of great help to the cultivation of the Divine Master Realm. However, Lu Ming did not understand what kind of help it would provide. Now, after the Life Spirit, the Lord of the Heavenly Court's explanation, he suddenly understood. Chapter 4487. In fact, the black hole in a cultivator's body is equivalent to a door that leads to the universe sea. Anyone who wants to break through to the Divine Master Realm needs this door. The Life Spirit Master of Heavenly Court continued to explain. Lu Ming's expression changed slightly at these words. Senior, I have no door, how can I break through? Lu Ming asked. Cultivating the taboo power was completely different from ordinary cultivators. There was no black hole in his body, which meant that there was no door. How could he connect to the universe sea? So, if there is no door, you have to create one. The Life Spirit Master of Heavenly Court said, there are 2 main obstacles for a taboo body to break through to the Divine Master Realm. First, you have to create a door. Second, there will be many restrictions when breaking through to the next realm. You need to be extremely strong to break through the restrictions. You have to create your own secret skill. Create your own secret skill? When I broke through to the God Emperor Realm, I created a secret skill. I wonder if it can be used? Lu Ming asked. Upon hearing this, Anya Rose, Di Jenny, and the rest looked at Lu Ming in shock. Lu Ming could create his own secret skill? This was absolutely shocking. Lu Ming was more terrifying than they had imagined. What? When you broke through to the God Emperor Realm, you wanted to create your own secret skill. You even succeeded? This time, even the Life Spirit Master of Heavenly Court was shocked. Cough cough yes. Lu Ming coughed dryly. Young man, how many secret skills have you mastered? It seems that there are some incredible people in the universe over the years. The Life Spirit Master of Heavenly Court exclaimed. In the era when the Life Spirit was the Master of the Heavenly Court, there were no ancient secret skills in the universe. There were only some ordinary secret skills. Therefore, he did not expect that Lu Ming would create his own secret skill after breaking through from the Divine Emperor Realm to the Divine the Arch Realm. The main reason was that Lu Ming had mastered too many ancient secret skills, so there were many restrictions. After a while, the Life Spirit Master of Heavenly Court reacted and said, no, the secret skill that you created when you were at the God Emperor Realm can only help you break through to the God Emperor Realm. If you want to break through to the Divine Master Realm, you have to create your own secret skill. He wants to create his own secret technique within 3 years? Lu Ming was bewildered. This was simply impossible. It was too difficult. It had taken him several hundred years to create the heaven-crushing art, and he had only succeeded on the Bodhi tree stump in the Grand Supreme Immortal City. Now he had no idea how to create the second style of the secret skill. It was almost impossible for him to succeed in creating it in 3 years. Under normal circumstances, it would be impossible. However, with my help, it is possible. The Life Spirit, the Lord of the Heavenly Court, said. Although the Master of the Life Spirit Heavenly Court had personally made this promise, Lu Ming still found it hard to believe. Suddenly, the altar below the Life Spirit of the Lord of the Heavenly Courts lit up. At the same time, the runes around the altar also emitted a glow. The entire underground space changed drastically all of a sudden. It was as if time and space had been reversed. Lu Ming and the group seemed to be in a starry universe. In the starry sky there were countless stars. At this moment they were all emitting dazzling light. Waves of gentle starlight fell on their bodies. Comfortable. Being enveloped by the starlight, the only thing they felt was comfort. It was as if their bodies had relaxed. Every pore on their bodies opened up, and every cell in their bodies started operating. At the same time, their minds were extremely clear. All the negative emotions in their hearts disappeared, as if their souls had been sublimated. This state, Lu Ming was shocked. This state was very similar to the feeling he had on the Bodhi tree stump, but the effect was much stronger. In an instant, dozens of secret techniques flashed through his mind. It was as if he had a new understanding of these secret techniques. The starlight was constantly seeping into his pores and activating his cells. It was constantly improving and strengthening his body. Not only his body but also his taboo energy. Lu Ming felt that by absorbing this energy, his taboo energy would be strengthened. However, at this moment the surrounding environment suddenly changed again. The stars disappeared and the feeling of clarity also disappeared. They had returned to the underground space. Lu Ming looked around and saw Xian Yanqing, Autumn Moon, Wan Shen, Dark Night Rose and the others. They all looked like they had not had enough. Obviously they had also entered the starry sky. How do you feel? In such an environment, can your cultivation speed be greatly increased? The life spirit, the master of the heavenly court, asked. In such an environment we can indeed improve quickly, but in 3 years, Lu Ming replied. Towards the end of his sentence, he started to ponder. Even in such an environment, it was still impossible to comprehend a second secret technique that belonged to him in 3 years. The array here is called the Divine Creation Array. As its name suggests, one can obtain supreme fortune in the array. This is a backup plan that I set up in the early years. I was entangled by the 3 lifetime soul fire. The 3 lifetimes divine fire can continuously corrode one's body and soul, causing one to become muddle-headed and eventually sink into oblivion. Back then, I was severely injured and half of my taboo energy was sucked away. If not for the Divine Creation Array to keep my mind clear, I would have sunk into oblivion. Even if I did not die, I would have become a walking corpse. Similarly, when an ordinary person is in the Divine Creation Array, their mind will be clear and free of impurities and impurities. It can also strengthen the power of the soul, greatly increasing the comprehension of the living beings in it. Also, this formation contains a huge amount of treasures. Although I've used up a lot of them over the years, it still contains a lot of energy once it's activated. Most importantly, this formation also contains the spine of a primitive godly spirit. That primitive godly spirit is a primitive godly spirit that can control time and space. It can be said that it's the ancestor of the stone spirit and spirit rats. When it's in the formation, it can control time and speed it up to 100 times faster than the outside world. In other words, 3 years of cultivation inside is equivalent to 300 years of cultivation outside. The life spirit, the Lord of the Heavenly Court, explained in detail. So mysterious, Lu Ming was excited. 3 years was equivalent to 300 years of cultivation outside, and in such an environment, it was entirely possible for him to comprehend his second secret skill. There are 2 main difficulties for you to become a divine master. One is to create a door that can be used to build a bridge to the universe ocean. This is actually very simple. It's easy to construct it using your own cells that have fused with the secret skill. The most difficult part is to comprehend your own secret skill. Once this is solved, it won't be difficult for you to break through to the Divine Master realm. Also, once I activate the array, all of you can cultivate inside. With your foundation, most of you can break through to the Divine Master realm. What do you think, little guy? Do you want to consider it? The life spirit, the Lord of the Heavenly Court, said in a tempting voice. Chapter 4488. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He had to admit that the life spirit Heavenly Court Master's words were very tempting. Not only could he break through to the Almighty Realm, but so could Autumn Moon and the others. Once they did, their strength would increase tremendously. Alright, I agree. Lu Ming pondered for a moment before agreeing. Under such circumstances he had no choice. If he did not agree, they would all die when the heavenly human tribe refined the formation and broke in. According to the life spirit Heavenly Court Master, there was someone at the level of the Lord of Heaven among the heavenly human tribe outside. Previously, the Lord of Heaven was busy refining the protective formation and did not have time to attack them. Once the Lord of Heaven attacked, they would not be able to resist. The Lord of Heaven could kill them as easily as killing an ant. The difference was too great. If he agreed to the life spirit Heavenly Court Master's conditions, he would at least have a chance of survival. Even if the Lord of Heaven had evil intentions and possessed him, at least Xian Yanqing, Autumn Moon, Wan Shen, and Qiu would survive. It could be said that he had no choice. Hence, Lu Ming agreed without hesitation. Lu Ming. Young master. Xian Yinqing, Autumn Moon and the others were worried. However, Anya Rose, Di Jenny and the others were delighted. No matter what happened to Lu Ming, it was great news for Di Jenny and the others. Lu Ming glanced at Dark Knight Rose and the rest. He really wanted to suggest to the Life Soul Heavenly Court Master to exclude Dark Knight Rose and the rest from entering the Creation Divine Array. However, on second thought, Lu Ming rejected the idea. With Anya Rose and the others' talents, it would not be a problem for them to break through to the Almighty Realm. It was just a matter of time. If they were not allowed to enter the formation now, they would be able to break through later. Another thing was that it was hard to predict what would happen 3 years later. Who knew if the Life Spirit Heavenly Court Master could deal with the people from the Heavenly Court after merging into his body? After all, the Life Spirit of the Lord of the Heavenly Court looked too weak. If Dark Knight Rose and the others broke through to the Godlord realm and became much stronger, they would attract a lot of firepower and change the situation. This was beneficial to Xian Yinqing and the others. After all, Dark Knight Rose and the others did not have any deep grudges with them. It was just that they had different ideologies. Even if it was Di Jenny who had been enemies with Lu Ming in the Taishu dynasty, it was because they had their own masters. Hence, there was no grudge between the two of them. Alright, there's no time to lose. Let's begin. I'll open the array. You guys enter the array and cultivate. Lu Ming, if you have any questions you can ask me at any time. The Life Spirit, the Lord of the Heavenly Court, said. Thank you, Senior. Lu Ming cupped his fists. Then, let's start the formation. The voice of the Heavenly Court rang out. As soon as it spoke, the runes on the altar and the ground glowed again. In the next moment, Lu Ming and the others returned to the starry sky. They bathed in the starlight and sat cross-legged to cultivate. Lu Ming also sat cross-legged in the starry sky. He closed his eyes and began to cultivate. First he had to open a door. A black hole would appear in the elixir field of others. That was the door to the Universe Sea. But he did not. He had to do it himself. However, it was not difficult. He had mastered tens of thousands of secret skills and had integrated them into the cells in his body. He only needed to use the cells that had integrated the secret skills as the foundation to create a door. His body began to shine with spots of light. Those were the cells that had been fused with the secret technique runes. Each cell was as bright as a star. What I need to do is to connect these cells together, Lu Ming said to himself and began to try. Soon there was movement. A cell between his eyebrows shone. Then, a thread extended and connected to another glowing cell nearby. Then, a thread extended out from the second cell and connected to the third cell. In this way the second cell connected to the third to the fourth and the fourth to the fifth. About half a month later, the tens of thousands of cells in his body that had integrated the secret skill runes were connected. It was like a painting. Under Lu Ming's meticulous drawing, the tens of thousands of points connected to form a pattern. This pattern looked like a door. Open! Lu Ming shouted softly. All the cells in his body trembled. Taboo power gushed out of every cell and surged into the tens of thousands of cells. All of a sudden, the tens of thousands of cells shone brightly. Then, an extremely powerful force gathered in the middle of the door. The space in the middle of the door started to tremble and crumble. In the end, a pitch-black vortex appeared. This vortex kept spinning. It was unfathomable. No one knew where it led to. I did it. Lu Ming was overjoyed. He had finally evolved a door. This door was the door to the Universe Sea. Its effect was similar to the other people's black holes. However, the others evolved step by step through star cores and stars. He, on the other hand, evolved with the surrounding cells as the foundation and the forbidden power as the carrier. Senior, does my cultivation in the Divine Lord realm also require me to open a universal bridge through this door? Lu Ming's spiritual sense vibrated and sent out a message. He knew that the Master of the Heavenly Court could hear it. Sure enough, the next moment, the Master of the Heavenly Court's voice rang out. Not necessarily, the Life Spirit, the Lord of the Heavenly Court, said, I can't say for sure. After all, there are too few taboo bodies in history. Before me, as far as I know, there was only one taboo body that cultivated to the Divine Master realm. Unfortunately, that taboo body perished at the Divine Master realm. As far as I know, when he broke through to the Almighty realm, he didn't open a universe bridge. Instead, it was a platform. As he continued to cultivate, the platform would carry his consciousness deeper and deeper. However, that person didn't break through to the origin realm. I don't know what the result of his cultivation will be. As for me, what I opened was a path. A path paved with white jade. Following this path, you can reach the Universe Sea. Therefore, I speculate that the path to the universe C created by the forbidden body may be different. The master of the heavenly court's life spirit said. Is that so? Lu Ming muttered. Now that you've opened the door, you can begin to comprehend your own secret technique. Once you succeed, it shouldn't be difficult for you to break through to the almighty realm. The master of the heavenly court's life spirit said. All right. Lu Ming nodded. With a thought, the cells in his body dimmed and the door disappeared. Of course, it didn't really disappear. As long as he willed it, the door would reappear. In this aspect, he was different from ordinary cultivators. For ordinary cultivators, the black hole in their dantian existed at all times. However, the door he created could open and close at will. Chapter 4489. After completing the first step, Lu Ming began the second step, which was to comprehend his own secret technique. This step was also the most difficult. Because Lu Ming still had no clue. Lu Ming closed his eyes. Under the creation divine formation, his mind was clear and his comprehension was greatly improved. In his mind, all kinds of ordinary secret techniques and ancient secret techniques flashed continuously. Originally, Lu Ming had almost cultivated all of these secret techniques to greater mastery, but now he suddenly had a new understanding of these secret techniques. Although there are many changes, there are still similarities. As long as I can comprehend the core and use it as a reference, it won't be difficult to comprehend my own secret technique, Lu Ming pondered. After reviewing all the secret techniques, there was only one secret technique left in his mind. Previously he had only briefly reviewed them. Now he was going to carefully comprehend each of the secret techniques. But at this moment, the primordial celestial stone in his sea of consciousness vibrated, and a mysterious aura spread out. On the primordial celestial stone there were fine lines of runes. These runes seemed to be alive as they constantly swam and intertwined to form different patterns. Then they scattered and intertwined to form new patterns. There were endless changes and it was mysterious and unpredictable. Looking at these patterns was also beneficial to Lu Ming's comprehension of the secret technique. With the support of the primordial celestial stone, Lu Ming's comprehension of the secret technique became faster. When comprehending a single secret technique, he would gain new insights almost every moment. Lu Ming spent a day comprehending this secret technique, and then changed to another secret technique. In a day's time, Lu Ming's comprehension of this secret technique had increased by a large margin. Compared to before, it was much stronger and its power was also much stronger than before. It was a step further. With the support of the creation divine formation, 3 years in the outside world was equivalent to 300 years in here. Therefore, Lu Ming had the time to comprehend all kinds of secret techniques. Fei Huang said that at the end of cultivation, one had to forget all the secret techniques that one had comprehended in the past. Only the secret techniques that one had comprehended were left in one's heart. However, Lu Ming was still very far from that level. They needed to reach reciprocity at the very least to touch upon that realm. At this stage, Lu Ming did not need to do that at all. At this stage, Lu Ming did not want to forget. Instead, he wanted to deepen his comprehension. After comprehending it to the extreme, then forget it. Lu Ming only spent 1 day on each secret technique. Of course, Lu Ming would spend more time on the primordial secret skills. However, there were only over 1,800 types of primordial secret skills. Even if he spent more time on them, it would not take too long. Just like that, time passed day by day. In the blink of an eye, 10 years had passed. Of course, these 10 years referred to the 10 years in the creation divine formation and not the 10 years in the outside world. That is, suddenly Lu Ming felt that there was a powerful force not far away. This force was too familiar. It was Xian Yanqing. Lu Ming ended his cultivation and looked in that direction. Shaoqing is about to break through. Lu Ming was overjoyed. Obviously, Xian Yanqing was about to break through to the divine master realm. Anya Rose is also about to break through. Lu Ming's eyes moved and looked in the other direction. Anya Rose was also emitting a powerful aura. Obviously, she was also about to break through to the divine master realm. Xian Yanqing and Anya Rose were already very close to the divine master realm. In the highest immortal city, they were almost able to break through. They had been suppressing their cultivation and did not break through. After this period of cultivation, their breakthroughs were completely achieved when the conditions were right. Their auras were getting stronger and stronger, alarming the others. Autumn Moon, Wan Shen, Di Jenny, Yin Jiuling, Ling Heng and the others woke up and looked at the two of them. After a while their auras reached the peak. With a loud boom, the two of them had entered the divine master realm. Huff huff huff, in the starry sky the stars shone brightly. Rays of gentle starlight gathered towards the two of them and were absorbed into their bodies. This starlight was actually the treasures in the creation divine formation. It contained a huge amount of energy and was extremely pure. It was constantly being converted into the two of them's power. These two, this. At this moment, the master of the heavenly court was also carefully sizing up Xian Yinqing and Anya Rose. The more he looked, the more shocked he was. This seems to be the power of reincarnation. Could the two of them be reincarnated? Or are they? Are they people from the previous era? No, judging from their expressions, they should have appeared later than me. Could it be that the younger generation has already mastered reincarnation? The master of the heavenly court could not calm himself down and let his imagination run wild. Slowly, Xian Yinqing and Anya Rose's aura stabilized and concealed themselves. Of course, they had just broken through to the Divine Master realm and needed some time to consolidate. The others also began to cultivate, trying to break through to the Divine Master realm as soon as possible. Lu Ming also began to cultivate again. He began to comprehend one secret technique after another. In the blink of an eye, 200 years had passed. In these 200 years, Lu Ming had comprehended tens of thousands of secret techniques. He had a completely new understanding of each secret technique. My secret techniques, Lu Ming muttered. In his mind, secret technique after secret technique flashed. The advantages and disadvantages of each secret technique appeared in his mind. Intertwine, converge, evolve, Lu Ming muttered to himself. His hands involuntarily danced. His 10 fingers streaked across the void like lightning, drawing out patterns. These runes intertwined with each other to form a secret technique. However, this secret technique soon collapsed and disappeared. No, it's still an ancient secret technique, Lu Ming muttered and continued to evolve. The secret technique that his hands had just formed was still an ancient secret technique. It was not a secret technique that he had comprehended himself. At most, he had only changed it a little and mixed in some other secret techniques. But it was far from being a secret technique that belonged to him. Continue. Lu Ming seemed to be crazy as he immersed himself in comprehending the secret technique. Time passed day by day. During this period, Wan Xin had broken through to the Divine Master realm. Qiu Yu had also broken through to the Divine Master realm. Even Qiu had become a 9th-level divine god after refining the incomplete origin divine weapon. In addition, Di Jinni, Yin Jiuling and Ling Heng had also broken through to the Divine Master realm. However, Lu Ming was still focused on cultivating. Lu Ming's hands did not stop at all. He was constantly practicing the secret technique. A secret technique was formed and then collapsed. Soon, another few dozen years had passed. The secret technique that Lu Ming had evolved had a great change. In the beginning, the secret technique that he had evolved had the shadow of other ancient secret techniques. But slowly the shadow faded. It seemed to form a new secret technique. The Apex. Chapter 4490. However, Lu Ming was still not satisfied. The secret skills he created later still had the shadow of other secret skills. They didn't seem to be very powerful, and there was a big gap between them and the heaven-breaking style. Secret skills, my own secret skills, the 3,000 ancient secret skills? There is no need to divide the secret skills into 3,000 types. There are too many of them. How powerful would it be if they could be combined into one secret skill? Not only were there ideas in Lu Ming's mind, but his hands were also dancing like lightning, reflecting the ideas in his mind. Suddenly, Lu Ming's body trembled. Hundreds of cells lit up, and tens of thousands of secret skills appeared around Lu Ming's body. They kept changing according to Lu Ming's thoughts, and finally they slowly intertwined and merged together. But soon, with a bang, the secret skills collapsed and disappeared without a trace. He failed. However, Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He felt that it was very feasible. Continue. Lu Ming continued to activate all the secret skills. Under Lu Ming's control, they continued to intertwine and merge, but soon they still failed. However, Lu Ming didn't give up. He continued. Failure. Lu Ming didn't know how many times he had failed, but each failure gave Lu Ming some experience. The next time, the intertwining of the secret skills would last longer. Failure after failure, the experience after experience. Another 20 years later. At this time, Lu Ming had been cultivating for 260 years. He was almost 300 years away from the Master of the Heavenly Court. At this time, the Master of the Heavenly Court was getting weaker and weaker. Its eyes were dim and its breath was weak. Little guy, you have to hurry up. I can't take it anymore. The Master of the Heavenly Court sighed. At this time, hundreds of heavenly humans were standing in the air outside the ground. Yi Wu stood in the crowd, his eyes full of expectation and ferocity. Soon this great formation will be completely refined. Han Ming, half of the taboo energy in your body will be mine. I will also suppress the taboo body. Yi Wuxin roared, filled with excitement and anticipation. Inside the Fortune Divine formation, Lu Ming was still comprehending. After failing a few more times in a row. Condense. All of a sudden, Lu Ming let out a loud shout as his hands danced at an astonishing speed. Tens of thousands of secret techniques rapidly intertwined and fused together. In the end, they actually formed a world. This seemed to be a continent. Mountains, rivers, flowers, and trees could be vaguely seen on it. Lu Ming stood on the continent as if he was the ruler of the world. This continent, could it be an imitation of the legendary desolate continent? The life spirit, the lord of the heavenly court, muttered to himself. At first he was shocked, but then he was pleasantly surprised. Success. He knew that Lu Ming had succeeded in comprehending a secret skill that belonged to him. Yes, the continent that Lu Ming had condensed was the secret technique that Lu Ming had just comprehended. Genius, what a genius. The secret technique that he has comprehended is even more amazing than I thought. The life spirit exclaimed in his heart. The life spirit of the heavenly courts was right. Lu Ming had indeed comprehended the mystic skill by imitating the primordial continent. In the last epoch, the entire universe, including the universe ruins and the current desolate universe, was actually a continent. It was a vast and boundless continent. Countless living beings multiplied on it and gave birth to countless overlords. This made Lu Ming fascinated. He had imagined the glory of the desolate continent more than once in his mind. Therefore, when he comprehended his secret technique, he had unknowingly deviated in this direction. After using the secret technique that he had comprehended in the end, he had also condensed the desolate continent that he had imagined. Disperse. Lu Ming's heart stirred and the continent under his feet dispersed. Condense. In the next moment, Lu Ming's hands quickly formed seals. In his body, tens of thousands of cells shone like stars. Tens of thousands of secret techniques appeared. Under the guidance of Lu Ming's seals, they intertwined and merged. In the end, another continent was condensed. It was not a fluke. Lu Ming had truly mastered this technique. This secret technique shall be called the desolate style. Lu Ming smiled. The first secret technique was called the heaven-breaking style. It meant to destroy the heavenly palace. This technique was modeled after the desolate continent and was called the desolate style. So far, Lu Ming had created a total of 2 secret techniques that belonged to him. The heaven-breaking style and the desolate style. Alright, Lu Ming, now begin to break through. Break through the bottleneck, connect to the cosmic sea, and enter the almighty realm. The voice of the life spirit rang in Lu Ming's ears. Lu Ming nodded silently. Then he closed his eyes and let the starlight bathe his body. After a period of time, Lu Ming's state reached its peak. His body suddenly moved and a dazzling light burst out. Desolate style. Lu Ming shouted softly. The aura on his body soared and kept rising. He rushed toward the peak of the Emperor God realm. Soon Lu Ming's aura reached its peak. It had reached a limit. It was blocked by something and could not go any further. This was the bottleneck. The bottleneck of the forbidden body was stronger than that of others. It could not be broken unless one comprehended a secret technique. There were gains and losses. The power of the forbidden body was exchanged for a bottleneck that was more difficult to break through. Lu Ming's second secret technique, the desolate style, was displayed again. A vast continent appeared and suddenly pressed down on Lu Ming. Lu Ming's body shook violently. There was a rumbling sound coming from his body. It was as if something was constantly shaking. Boom. Finally, Lu Ming's body exploded. Then his aura suddenly soared like a flood breaking through a dam. It was unstoppable. He broke through. Lu Ming finally broke through the bottleneck and let his aura enter a new realm. However, this was not a real breakthrough. He was only half a step into the Divine Master realm. There was still an important step that had not been completed. The other cultivators had to open up the universal bridge next. Lu Ming also had to open up something similar. Lu Ming's heart stirred. Tens of thousands of cells that had been integrated with secret technique runes connected together and formed a door. Rumble. The space in the center of the door kept exploding. A pitch-black vortex appeared. At this moment, the vortex kept roaring and trembling. The light on the door frame on the side became stronger and stronger. Slowly, something began to emerge. It was the universal bridge. No, it was not the universal bridge, but something similar to it. A road. It was actually a road. At first, it was very blurry, but it slowly became clear. It was a yellow mud road. It was withered, ancient, and not big. It was only 2 meters wide. There's blood. The next moment, Lu Ming was shocked. He saw bloodstains on the yellow dirt road. A pool of blood dyed the yellow mud road red. He could not tell that this was definitely not an illusion. There was really a pool of blood on the yellow mud road. The peak. Chapter 4491. He had opened up a path leading to the universe sea on the door. It was a yellow muddy road and there was blood on the yellow muddy road. Lu Ming was taken aback. He had never heard of such a thing before. The nature of the yellow mud road should be the same as the cosmic bridges of others. They were both paths to the cosmic sea and should be formed by energy. However, why would there be blood on a yellow mud road formed by energy? Lu Ming suppressed the shock and doubt in his heart and focused on breaking through. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The starlight in the starry sky kept rushing toward Lu Ming as if it was real. Lu Ming has also broken through. Xianyanqing, Autumn Moon, Wanshen, Dark Night Rose, and the others stopped cultivating to watch Lu Ming break through. Lu Ming bathed in the rich starlight. The starlight was a vast amount of energy, and it was incomparably pure. It kept pouring into Lu Ming's body and turning into forbidden energy. Lu Ming's strength kept increasing, and so did his forbidden energy. A few days later, Lu Ming's aura stabilized, and his cultivation completely stabilized at the first level of the Divine Master Realm. Lu Ming felt that the forbidden energy in his body was surging. It was much stronger than when he was at the 9th level of the Divine Master Realm. That yellow mud road, Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He realized that the yellow mud road had become much clearer, and it led all the way to the depths of the door. It extended into the darkness without end. Suddenly, Lu Ming's figure appeared on the yellow mud road. Of course, this wasn't Lu Ming's real body, but the manifestation of Lu Ming's consciousness. It was formed by Lu Ming's consciousness. This yellow mud road feels so real. Lu Ming's consciousness landed on the yellow mud road and he carefully observed it. It was too real. The yellow mud road was almost exactly the same as the real one, but it had a special aura that gave people an ancient and lonely feeling. It was as if it had crossed over from an ancient era to time and space. Or perhaps it gave people the illusion that they had returned to ancient times. Lu Ming stepped forward, arriving in front of the pool of blood. Suddenly, Lu Ming felt a piercing pain on his skin, as if he was being cut by a knife. His figure involuntarily retreated. This blood is real. Lu Ming's pupils shrank rapidly. He discovered that this blood was real blood, as if it had just been left behind by a terrifying creature. It contained terrifying killing intent. Just now he had been forced to retreat by the terrifying killing intent in the blood. This was the yellow mud road that he had condensed. It was the road that led to the cosmic ocean, and he had complete control over it. However, something like this had happened, which made Lu Ming's hair stand on end. He felt that things were out of his control. What the hell was this thing that he had condensed? Whose blood was this? Why would it appear on the condensed path? Lu Ming was dumbfounded. Let's ask Han Ming. Maybe he knows. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He dispersed his consciousness and restrained his aura. When he restrained his aura, the door on his body disappeared, and the yellow mud road in the door also disappeared. Lu Ming opened his eyes. Xianyanqing, Mid-Autumn Moon, and all the gods came over one after another to be happy for Lu Ming. Haha, little guy, you've finally broken through. Not bad, not bad. Your talent is really amazing. However, if you don't break through soon, these old bones of mine won't be able to hold on any longer. The Lord of the Heavenly Court laughed, and his voice was much louder. Obviously, he was also very happy to see Lu Ming break through. Thank you for your guidance, Senior. Lu Ming clasped his fists. I'm just the icing on the cake. The main thing is still up to you. By the way, what's condensed in your door? The Lord of the Heavenly Court asked. He was also very curious about this because he speculated that every forbidden body would condense a different path after breaking through to the Almighty Realm. Senior, it's like this? Lu Ming wanted to ask the Lord of the Heavenly Court, so he immediately explained his situation in detail. What? There are bloodstains? What's going on? After hearing this, the Lord of the Heavenly Court fell into deep thought. This situation was beyond his expectations. If it was just a yellow muddy road, he wouldn't be too surprised. However, there were bloodstains on the yellow muddy road that contained a terrifying killing intent. This shocked him. There's actually such a thing. I've never heard of it, nor have I seen any records of it in the ancient books. The Lord of the Heavenly Court frowned and looked at Lu Ming with both surprise and curiosity. Senior, you don't even know. Lu Ming's heart sank. He didn't know whether it was good or bad. Are there any other forbidden bodies after me that have reached the major success realm? Perhaps you can go and ask them. The Lord of the Heavenly Court said. The major success realm forbidden body he was talking about was a forbidden body that had reached the origin realm. In history, only 4 people had reached it. After I get out, it seems like I'll have to ask Senior Fei Huang. Lu Ming pondered. Bam, bam, bam. At this moment there was a violent rumble. The starry sky shook and then collapsed. Lu Ming and the others reappeared in the underground space. This was the sign that the Fortune Divine Formation had stopped operating. The bronze statues outside have collapsed a little more. I can hold on for another 2 months at most before I run out of fuel. Fortunately, you've broken through. Lu Ming, let's begin, the Lord of the Heavenly Court said. The Life Spirit, the Lord of the Heavenly Court, said. His aura was weaker than before. Clearly he was truly on the verge of death. All right. Senior, you can begin at any time. This junior won't resist. Lu Ming said. Lu Ming. Young master. Xian Yinqing and Autumn Moon couldn't help but cry out. They were still worried even at this point. Lu Ming, why don't you just refuse? Let's kill our way out and fight to the death. The myriad gods shouted. You don't have to worry. Senior Han Ming is an expert who has dominated the universe for countless years. Why would he care about my insignificant body? Lu Ming shook his head and smiled. Little guy, don't try to goad me into action. However, you're right. I really don't want your body. Let's begin. As soon as the Lord of the Heavenly Court spoke, his body emitted light and his eyes became incomparably bright. However, his eyes soon dimmed. This was because a ball of energy had rushed out of the Lord of the Heavenly Court's body. This was the condensation and manifestation of the Lord of the Heavenly Court's essence, vitality, and spirit. It also carried half of the forbidden power. Naturally, the Lord of the Heavenly Court wouldn't enter Lu Ming's body entirely. His body was covered by the third reincarnation soul fire. The third reincarnation soul fire was extremely terrifying. If it entered Lu Ming's body, Lu Ming would probably be burned alive. The ball of energy was extremely fast. In a flash, it rushed into Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming didn't resist. He allowed the Lord of the Heavenly Court to do it. As soon as the Lord of the Heavenly Court entered Lu Ming's body, it took control of Lu Ming's body. At the same time, the half of the forbidden power seeped into every cell in Lu Ming's body. Chapter 4492. However, as soon as the taboo energy seeped into Lu Ming's cells, the taboo energy in his cells began to resist. It wanted to expel the taboo energy. However, the life soul was the master of the heavenly courts. After all, his cultivation level was extremely powerful. In the past, his realm was too high. His control of the taboo power was not something that Lu Ming could compare to. He soon found a balance. The two taboo energies coexisted peacefully and resonated with each other. It was not as simple as 1 + 1 = 2. The resonance of the two taboo energies had completely stimulated the hidden power of the master of the heavenly court. Moreover, without the interference of the 3 lifetime soul fire, he could unleash even more power. Very good. Now we can go out. Lu Ming's eyes shone brightly. With a wave of his hand, the ground above began to rumble, and a rift opened up in the ground. Above them, the heavenly human tribe powerhouses had been refining the protective array formation nonstop. After this period of refinement, more than half of the bronze statues had already exploded and collapsed. The remaining bronze statues were dull and lifeless, like ordinary pieces of metal. Even the 12 divine weapons were dimmed, and their auras were dispirited. It would not be long before they could completely refine the protective formation of the master of the heavenly court. Then they would be able to find the master of the heavenly court, Lu Ming, and the others. Killing intent flashed in Yi Wu's eyes. Right at that moment, the ground began to rumble as a crack appeared on the altar. The altar began to split into 2 halves. Yi Wu and the others were stunned. The protective formation had not been completely refined. How could the altar open on its own? Could it be that the master of the heavenly court knew that he could not hold on for much longer and wanted to fight with his life on the line? Get ready, Yi Wu said as he silently retreated. He was about to face the master of the heavenly court, the master of the heavenly court. It was impossible for him not to be afraid. It was better to let the others deal with him. He's already at the end of his rope. There's no need to be afraid. I can kill him with 1 blow, said an old heavenly human powerhouse among the 12 powerhouses who had set up the formation. His domineering aura caused the void to tremble and distort. This person was a genuine Lord of Heaven-level figure, incomparably powerful. Hundreds of heavenly humans stared at the altar. Soon, a crack that was several meters wide appeared on the altar, and a figure stepped out from it. It's him. That brat has a forbidden body. Yi Wu's eyes flashed with killing intent. The person who walked out was naturally Lu Ming. Following closely behind Lu Ming was Xian Yinqing, Autumn Moon, and Wan Shen. Behind Xian Yanqing and the rest, Dark Knight rose, Di Jenny and the rest followed and stood in a row behind Lu Ming. So it's you little bastards. That old man Han Ming hasn't come out yet. Could it be that he's already exhausted and can't walk anymore? Is he waiting for death inside? Yu Wu sneered. When he saw that it was only Lu Ming and the rest, he became bolder. He took a few steps forward and his cold killing intent pressed towards Lu Ming and the rest. However, he was stunned and his face was filled with astonishment. This was because he had discovered that Lu Ming and the rest had made a breakthrough in their cultivation. This shocked him. Less than 3 years ago, Lu Ming and the rest were only ranked 9 Emperor God Realm cultivators. Now they had reached the Divine Master Realm. If only 1 or 2 of them had reached the Divine Master Realm, he would not be surprised. After all, Lu Ming and the rest had been ranked 9 Emperor God Realm cultivators and were not far away from the Divine Master Realm. In 3 years, it was normal for 1 or 2 people to make a breakthrough. However, Lu Ming and the rest had made a breakthrough. Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing, Autumn Moon, Wan Shen, Dark Knight Rose, Di Jenny, Yin Jioling, Ling Heng and Xiao Wuji. A total of 9 people had made a breakthrough. The other 3 were slightly weaker and had not made a breakthrough yet. However, they were not far away from it. It was not normal for 9 people to make a breakthrough in one go. It seems like Han Ming did something. Han Ming must have paid a price for these people to make a breakthrough. However, does Han Ming think that it would be useful for these people to make a breakthrough? That's too naive. The Lord of Heaven sneered. 9 first-level divine masters were no different from 9 celestial thearchs in his eyes. He could kill them with a single slap. Boom. The Lord of Heaven took a step forward and a violent aura surged out. He was about to attack Lu Ming and the rest. Don't make a move first. You have to guard against Han Ming's counterattack before he dies. Leave these brats to me. Yu Wudao called out to the Heavenly Monarch. At the same time he took a step forward and walked towards Lu Ming and the rest. Very well. Lu Ming's eyes, or more accurately Han Ming's eyes, looked at Yu Wudao with a murderous look on his face. Kneel. Yu Wudao swooped forward like a bird. He channeled half of his forbidden energy and combined it with his ultimate heavenly energy. He threw a punch at Lu Ming. He had used 90% of his strength in this punch. He was confident that even if Lu Ming had reached the Divine Master Realm, he would be severely injured by this punch. At this moment Lu Ming made his move. Whoosh. His body trembled slightly and disappeared from the spot. In the next moment he was near Yu Wudao. He reached out his hand and grabbed at Yu Wudao. Lu Ming's hand enlarged rapidly and collided with Yu Wudao's fist energy. With a puff, Yu Wudao's fist energy was extinguished like a weak candle flame. Lu Ming's hand did not stop there. He continued to grab at Yu Wudao. Ah, impossible! Yu Wudao screamed in horror. Yu Wudao screamed in horror. He was in disbelief. His punch, which contained 90% of his strength, was easily broken by Lu Ming. How was this possible? He was shocked. He tried to retreat with all his strength, but he realized that he could not move. He was completely locked in place by Lu Ming's giant hand. No. Who are you? You can't be so powerful. Save me. Save me. Yu Wudao screamed in shock. He did not believe that Lu Ming was so powerful. He was a peerless genius with great combat strength. Even if Lu Ming had the forbidden body, it was impossible for him to be so powerful. Yu Wudao was 2 levels higher than Lu Ming, but he could not resist Lu Ming at all. It was impossible. The Divine Master Realm was not the Divine Emperor Realm or the Divine Emperor Realm. It was easy to overcome the difference of 2 levels. Before the Divine Master Realm, it was difficult to overcome even 1 level, let alone 2. Moreover, he was as weak as a little chick. This was completely impossible. Let go of Yu Wudao. The Lord of Heaven shouted and attacked Lu Ming with his palm. A heavenly monarch's attack was too terrifying. Xian Yanqing, Anya rose, and the others' faces paled when they saw the terrifying palm energy. They felt that they would be killed easily in the face of this attack. Chapter 4493. The Lord of Heaven. Only those who stood at the peak of Divine Master could be called the Lord of Heaven. Every single one of them was extremely powerful. They were basically invincible below reciprocity. They were far too powerful for Lu Ming and the others to contend with. Xian Yanqing, Qiu Moon, and Wan Shen's expressions changed drastically. They could not help but worry. Could the Lord of the Heavenly Court, who was controlling Lu Ming's body, really contend with a Lord of Heaven? If the Lord of the Heavenly Court was at his peak condition, they would not have any doubts. He could probably crush a Lord of Heaven with a single finger. However, the life soul of the Lord of the Heavenly Courts was already at the end of its life. Even if it controlled Lu Ming's body and made use of Lu Ming's taboo power to fuse their taboo bodies temporarily and unleash powerful potential, Could it really contend with a Lord of Heaven? They really had no idea. Whoosh. At this moment Lu Ming struck out as well. He struck out with his palm, colliding with the Lord of Heaven's palm. Boom. An earth-shattering explosion rang out. After that, the two figures involuntarily drifted backwards. The Lord of Heaven retreated and so did Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming still held on to Yi Wu. He blocked it. Xian Yanqing and the others were overjoyed. Yi Wu and the others from the heavenly human clan looked like they had seen a ghost. Their faces were filled with disbelief. Lu Ming had actually blocked an attack from a Lord of Heaven. It was like a fantasy. You're not that kid. Who are you? Shock flashed through the Lord of Heaven's eyes as he stared fixedly at Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming could not be bothered with him. He focused on Yi Wu. A powerful suction force erupted from his palm and enveloped Yi Wu. Yi Wu let out a miserable shriek. He could feel that half of the forbidden power in his body was about to be sucked out. Yes. The taboo power that had originally fused with all the cells in his body was now constantly surging out of his cells. It gathered together and rushed out of his body towards Lu Ming. "Han Ming, you're Han Ming?" Yi Wu roared in horror. He finally knew who the person in front of him was. It was definitely Han Ming. Only Han Ming could strip the forbidden power from his body so easily. Due to the fact that the two of them had grasped half of the taboo energy, they were of the same origin, making it easier for them to separate the taboo energy. If it had been anyone else, regardless of how high their cultivation was, it would have been difficult for them to do so. What? Han Ming. The rest of the heavenly human tribe cultivators were shocked by Yi Wu's cry, and they stared at Lu Ming in horror. Could it be that Lu Ming had already been possessed by the soul? That must be the case. Otherwise, how could Lu Ming have become so terrifying? "Stop it, Han Ming." The Lord of Heaven cultivator shouted and charged towards Lu Ming again. This time he unleashed all of his strength. A halberd appeared in his hand, and he slashed at Lu Ming. The halberd contained a powerful heavenly annihilation power. Its power was terrifying and could destroy the world. Lu Ming narrowed his eyes and waved his hand. His fingers moved quickly as he shouted, "Calamity of Chaos." The next moment, a ray of divine light shot out from Lu Ming's finger and blasted towards the Lord of Heaven cultivator. Boom. The two of them collided for the second time. Just like before, both of them were pushed back violently. However, this time the Lord of Heaven was pushed back less, while Lu Ming was pushed back more. Apparently, Lu Ming was at a disadvantage. Of course, this had to do with the fact that he was concentrating on extracting Yi Wu's taboo energy. At this moment, half of Yi Wu's taboo energy was about to be extracted. "Come out!" Lu Ming shouted and exerted force in his palm. With a whoosh, half of Yi Wu's taboo energy was completely extracted. It rushed into Lu Ming's body and merged with the taboo energy in Han Ming's body. Yi Wu's taboo energy originally belonged to Han Ming. The two of them were originally one. Now that they had returned, they merged perfectly. Yi Wu's eyes were filled with fear and despair. Now that Han Ming had extracted his taboo energy, the next step would be to kill him. However, Han Ming did not kill Yi Wu. Instead, he pressed his palm against Yi Wu's body. Yi Wu's body fell to the ground like a kite with a broken string, creating a large crater. "Kill?" The Heavenly Lord Realm Powerhouse charged toward Lu Ming again. At the same time, the other members of the Heavenly Human Tribe also launched their attacks. Numerous attacks surged toward Lu Ming. "You're courting death." Lu Ming spat out coldly. His eyes were filled with killing intent. Boom. A terrifying aura surged out of his body. This aura was many times more powerful than the Lord of Heaven's aura. The attacks from the heavenly humans immediately collapsed when they were hit by this aura. Reciprocity, the Lord of Heaven narrowed his eyes. Without any hesitation he turned around and fled. "It's too late for you to leave now." Han Ming shouted coldly. He slammed his palm into the air. In the next moment, a huge palm appeared above the Lord of Heaven's head and pressed down on him. No matter how the Lord of Heaven tried to block it, it was useless. When the palm pressed down, the Lord of Heaven let out a miserable shriek. His body exploded and he died on the spot. An expert on the same level as the Lord of Heaven was killed just like that. The other heavenly humans were scared out of their wits. They felt a chill run down their spines. "Let's go." In the next moment, some of the faster ones turned around and tried to escape. "Kill." Lu Ming's eyes were cold. With a wave of his hand, beams of divine light flew out. 7 or 8 heavenly humans were struck by the divine light. They turned to dust and dissipated in the air. Turned to dust. These heavenly humans were all 4th layer divine masters or higher. They were also the ones who had set up the array to protect Han Ming. Now they had all been killed by Han Ming. However, after killing these people, Han Ming did not continue to attack. Lu Ming's body glowed and a ball of light shot out. It was Han Ming. He brought the strand of forbidden energy with him as he charged down the crack in the altar. In the next moment, a powerful aura erupted from the bottom of the altar. A figure charged out. It was Han Ming himself. After obtaining the complete forbidden energy, Han Ming's strength skyrocketed. The 3 lifetime fire soul on his body seemed to have dimmed. It was suppressed by Han Ming's forbidden energy. Life Soul Origin Stone, gather. Han Ming shouted as he grabbed the air with his hand. Lu Ming immediately felt the Life Soul Origin Stone fragment in his mind fly out of his control. Ah! Lu Ming, save me. Shiling, who was in the Life Soul Origin Stone fragment, screamed. However, Lu Ming could not help him. The Life Soul Origin Stone fragment was completely out of his control. It was not only his. The Life Soul Origin Stone fragments on Anya Rose, Di Jenny, and Xiao Wuji also flew out and flew into Han Ming's hand. At the same time, the Life Soul Origin Stone fragments flew out of Yi Wu's body. Chapter 4494. A total of more than 20 fragments of the Life Spirit Origin Stone flew into Han Ming's palm. In the end, they gathered into a complete crystal. This was a complete Life Spirit Origin Stone. It emitted a dazzling light that captured one's soul. A complete Life Spirit Origin Stone. Wait, no, Ling Yue? Suddenly Lu Ming's expression changed drastically. He thought of Ling Yue. Ling Yue also had a fragment of the Life Spirit Origin Stone in her hands. Now, a complete Life Spirit Origin Stone had appeared. This meant that all the fragments of the Life Spirit Origin Stone had arrived. However, in the Life Spirit Heavenly Court, Lu Ming did not meet Ling Yue. And just now, other than Lu Ming, Dark Knight Rose and the others, the remaining fragments of the Life Spirit Origin Stone had all flown out from Yi Wu's body. Didn't this mean that Ling Yue's Life Spirit Origin Stone fragment was also on Yi Wu's body? Could it be that Ling Yue had also come to the Life Spirit Heavenly Court, only to encounter a heavenly human race expert and be killed by him, and the fragments of the Life Spirit Origin Stone were taken away? Thinking of this, Lu Ming's heart couldn't help but tremble. He was panicking. He was really panicking. At this moment, the complete Life Spirit Origin Stone flew into the space between Han Ming's eyebrows. Immediately, strands of divine light spread out from Han Ming's body. The moment these divine lights appeared, the 3-world fire soul on the surface of his body became even dimmer. At the same time, his shriveled body became a little fuller, and his original appearance could be vaguely seen. This was a middle-aged man with a tall and sturdy physique. As his eyes opened and closed, they were filled with a domineering aura. My treasure has been buried here with me for countless years. Now it's time for it to appear. The Life Spirit Heavenly Court's Lord whispered as his palm made a grabbing motion in the air. This time, the direction of his palm was the cracked altar. At this moment, in the underground space, the altar that Han Ming had been sitting cross-legged on exploded with a loud bang. 3 rays of light flew out from it and flew to Han Ming's surroundings, circling around him non-stop. Everyone saw that there were 3 treasures. The first was a ring. The second was a battle sword. The third was a set of armor. Every single one of the treasures exuded an extremely shocking aura. Everyone couldn't help but widen their eyes as their breathing quickened. Could these 3 treasures be the 3 most precious treasures of the Life Spirit Heavenly Court? Legend had it that the Life Soul Heavenly Court had 4 supreme treasures. They were all top treasures in the primitive universe. With the addition of the Life Spirit Vitality Stone, wouldn't there be exactly 4 of them? The Life Spirit, the Lord of the Heavenly Court, waved its hand. The battle sword and armor flew into his body and disappeared. Only the ring remained outside. I'll take the 9 Tribulations sword and 9 Tribulations armor with me. They're of great use to me. Lu Ming, I'll leave the Ancient Desolation ring to you. It'll be useful to you. Also, I'll leave these divine weapons to you. The voice of the Life Spirit, the Lord of the Heavenly Court, rang out. Before it finished speaking, it had already shot up into the sky, intending to leave this place. Senior, wait. Lu Ming shouted. He had one question that he had yet to ask, and that was about Ling Yue. He wanted to ask the Master of the Life Soul Heavenly Court if Ling Yue was alright and if she had come with the Life Soul Origin Stone fragment. Lu Ming, hurry up and cultivate. We'll meet again. Han Ming's voice rang out in the sky. Then his figure completely disappeared. Senior. No matter how Lu Ming called out, Han Ming did not respond. Only the Ancient Desolation ring was still floating in the air, emitting endless temptation. Many people's eyes fell on the Ancient Desolation ring. Dark Knight Rose, Di Jiani, Yin Zhouling and hundreds of heavenly human tribesmen. Han Ming had only killed 7 or 8 of the strongest heavenly human tribesmen. He did not kill the rest of them. Although these heavenly human tribesmen were almost scared to death and ran away frantically, they did not run far away. They had clearly seen what had happened just now. At this moment, their eyes fell on the ancient desolation ring, revealing intense greed. Han Ming left? Yes, he left and left the ancient desolation ring. The ancient desolation ring is one of the 4 supreme treasures of the life spirit heavenly court. We must get it. It's mine. Suddenly, hundreds of heavenly human tribesmen rushed towards the ancient desolation ring. They were not the only ones. Dark Knight Rose, Di Jiani and the rest were the same. This Han Ming? At this moment, Lu Ming was speechless. It was fine that he did not answer his question. Before he left, he said that he wanted to give him the ancient desolation ring. However, why did he leave the ancient desolation ring in the sky for everyone to see? Was this a test for Lu Ming? Lu Ming could only suppress his worry for Ling Yue and shift his attention to the ancient desolation ring. No matter what, he must obtain a supreme treasure like the ancient desolation ring. Moreover, the ancient desolation ring was originally given to him by Han Ming. Bang! Lu Ming stomped hard on the ground and his body soared into the sky. He pounced toward the chaos ring at an alarming speed. At the same time, Xian Yanqing, Autumn Moon and Wan Shen also took action. They followed closely behind Lu Ming and rushed towards the ancient desolation ring. They were not here to fight for the ancient desolation ring, but to help Lu Ming obtain the ancient desolation ring. Kill? Scram. Before they even arrived, all sorts of attacks were already flying towards the others. Lu Ming's group also faced a bunch of attacks, most of which came from the heavenly human tribesmen. 3 third-level divine lords. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He discovered that there were 3 third-level divine lords among the heavenly human tribesmen. Third-level divine lords of the heavenly human tribesmen were extremely powerful. Even though Lu Ming's group had already broken through to the divine lord realm, they still had to treat them with caution. Heaven-breaking style. Lu Ming shouted. A spear quickly condensed in his hand, turning into a dazzling ray of light that shot towards one of the third-level divine lords. Bang! The spear light trembled and was shattered. However, the third-level divine lord's attack was also blocked. Dark Knight Rose, Xian Yanqing and the others used their trump cards to block the attacks of the others. Kill? Lu Ming bellowed. Without stopping, the Bingxian rod appeared and a massive amount of taboo energy surged into the Bingxian rod. The Bingxian rod expanded rapidly and charged toward one of the third-tier divine master experts. Boom! The third-level divine lord was sent flying like a cannonball, blood spurting from his mouth. One had to admit that third-level divine lords were truly powerful. They were much stronger than second-level divine lords. Even though Lu Ming had broken through to the divine lord realm, he still couldn't instantly kill them. The main reason was that the gap between each level of the divine lord realm was too great. For example, if the gap between each level of the divine lord realm was 1 point, then the gap between the 9th level of the God Emperor realm and the 1st level of the divine lord realm was 1.5 points. Although Lu Ming had broken through from the 9th level of the God Emperor realm to the 1st level of the Divine Lord realm, his ability to fight those above his level did not increase as much after reaching the Divine Lord realm. Of course, compared to the God Emperor realm, his improvement was still significant. This was because the gap between each level of the God Emperor realm was only about 0.2 points. Chapter 4495. When Lu Ming was at the 9th level of the God Emperor realm, he could easily suppress a 1st-level God Lord with his full strength, but he was no match for a 2nd-level God Lord. Even if he used the mysterious ice staff, he was no match for a 2nd-level God Lord, especially one from the celestial race. All he could do was flee. Thus, now that he had broken through to the 1st level of the God Lord realm, killing a 2nd-level God Lord wasn't difficult at all. It was even easier than killing a 1st-level God Lord when he was at the 9th level of the God Emperor realm. Even when facing a 3rd-level Divine Master, Lu Ming could easily suppress the other party. However, it would not be that easy to kill them. Kill? Lu Ming let out a long howl and continued to attack. He was like an invincible god of war. The Bingxian cudgel swept out continuously. He was like an invincible god of war. Bam! 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 Lu Ming struck several celestial race experts in succession. A 2nd-level God Lord screamed as his body was torn apart and he died. 2 other 1st-level God Lords were also killed, their bodies and souls annihilated. The other celestial race experts felt a chill in their hearts. They didn't dare approach Lu Ming and retreated. At this moment, a figure suddenly appeared next to the primordial ring. A devouring power enveloped the primordial ring. It was Dark Night Rose. Dark Night Rose suddenly appeared next to the primordial ring, her devouring power erupting as she tried to take the primordial ring. However, a black lotus shot toward her with astonishing power. Dark Night Rose had no choice but to focus and block it. She sent the black lotus flying, but she also retreated. Dark Night Rose, Han Ming left this primordial ring for Lu Ming. Do you want to take it? Xian Yinqing coldly said as he took a step forward, pressing toward Dark Night Rose. This primordial ring doesn't recognize Lu Ming as its master. Anyone who sees it has a share. Dark Night Rose replied. She transformed into the heaven-devouring rose and exchanged several blows with Xian Yinqing. The two of them were very familiar with each other, so it was naturally not that easy to determine the victor. For a moment they were in a stalemate. Instead, the other two third-stage Divine Master Heavenly Humans charged toward the Chaos Ring. No one could stop them. Wan Xin, Autumn Moon, Emperor Jinni, and the others were all sent flying. Kill? Lu Ming roared as the mysterious ice staff pressed down on the two-third-layer Divine Master Celestial Race powerhouses with the momentum of Mount Tai. The mysterious ice rod was so huge that it filled the entire sky. It was like a vast mountain range as it crossed the void and blasted toward the two-third-level Divine Master Heavenly Humans. The two-third-level Divine Master Heavenly Humans were sent flying. Lu Ming was unstoppable. With a few flashes, he appeared beside the Great Desolate Ring. He reached out and grabbed the Great Desolate Ring. Damn it! When the Heavenly Human tribe saw that Lu Ming had obtained the Chaos Ring, their hearts were filled with envy and jealousy. After the Dark Night Rose and Xian Yinqing exchanged a blow, they separated. When they looked at Lu Ming, they were very jealous and envious. This was one of the 4 supreme treasures of the Life Spirit Heavenly Court. The Master of the Life Spirit Heavenly Court had taken away the other 3 supreme treasures. Only the Chaos Ring remained. Now the only supreme treasure was in Lu Ming's hands. Buzz. Suddenly, powerful ripples came from the ground below as powerful auras spread out. Following this, 10 or so rays of light shot out in all directions. It's the guardian divine weapons of the Life Spirit Heavenly Court. After them. I must get one. Everyone was alarmed and chased after those beams of light. These beams of light were the 12 guardian divine weapons. Everyone's attention had been completely drawn to the Chaos Ring, so they had almost forgotten about the 12 guardian divine weapons. At this moment, the 12 guardian divine weapons began to vibrate on their own, as if they wanted to break through the air. Everyone finally reacted and flew toward the 12 divine weapons. Autumn Moon had her eyes on a soft whip. She flew up and pounced toward it. Wan Xin pounced toward a halberd. Xian Yinqing pounced toward a silver mace. Lu Ming pounced toward a long spear. The others, such as Dark Night Rose and Di Jinni, also had their own weapons and pounced toward them. For example, Di Jinni naturally had his eyes on a battle sword. The Heavenly Human Tribe's 3rd-tier and 2nd-tier Divine Master experts also pounced toward the weapons. There were a total of 12 guardian divine weapons. Many people had their eyes on each of them and were fighting over them. Of course, the Heavenly Human Tribe had the most people. Many Heavenly Human Tribe members had their eyes on each of the guardian divine weapons. Kill! Lu Ming shouted, his killing intent cold. He did not show any mercy as he swung his mysterious ice rod. Rod shadows appeared and blasted toward the Heavenly Human Tribe members. There was no 3rd-tier Divine Master among them. The strongest one was only a 1st-tier Divine Master. The others were all 9th-tier Divine Masters. How could they stop Lu Ming? Under the rod shadows, these Heavenly Human Tribe experts exploded one by one, their souls scattering. This wave of attacks killed dozens of Heavenly Human Tribe members, including the 1st-tier Divine Master expert. The others were terrified and did not dare to compete with Lu Ming. They quickly retreated and rushed toward the other guardian divine weapons. Lu Ming grabbed the long spear with one hand. Great. Lu Ming was delighted. He swung the long spear a few times and felt that it was very comfortable. The long spear was still more comfortable. He had been using the long spear all this time. He had no choice in the past as he did not have a suitable long spear weapon. He could only make do with the mysterious ice rod. In fact, the mysterious ice rod was not as comfortable as the long spear. Moreover, his first move, the sky-breaking move, was a spear technique. With the mysterious ice rod, it was very difficult to unleash its power. However, with this long spear it was different. The heaven-breaking style could unleash a very strong power. However, he had not refined it yet, so he could not use it. Lu Ming put the long spear away. Autumn Moon. Lu Ming looked in the direction of Autumn Moon, his face darkening. Autumn Moon's opponent was a third-tier Divine Master expert of the Heavenly Human tribe. Autumn Moon was no match for a third-tier Divine Master expert. Autumn Moon had broken through to the Divine Master realm, and with her strength she could easily suppress a second-tier Divine Master. However, she lacked a source-level Divine weapon. In terms of fighting strength, there was still a big gap between her and Wan Xin, Xian Yanqing and Dark Knight Rose. She was no match for a third-tier Divine Master. Bam! Autumn Moon coughed up blood and retreated into the distance. The third-tier Divine Master of the Heavenly Human tribe waved his hand, sweeping up the soft whip and putting it into his storage ring. Then his figure flashed as he charged at Autumn Moon, unleashing a destructive sword light. He wanted to exterminate Qiuyu. You're courting death. Lu Ming roared as he activated the Greater Extreme Light Art. His body seemed to turn into an aurora, and in a flash he appeared near Autumn Moon and swept out with the mysterious ice rod. Clang. The mysterious ice rod shattered the opponent's destructive sword light, and the attack did not stop as it continued to bombard the opponent. The opponent was sent flying like a cannonball, coughing up blood. Chapter 4496. Lu Ming injured a third-level Divine Master Heavenly Human with one move. His figure did not stop at all as he continued to charge toward the other party. This person had wanted to kill Qiu Moon, so Lu Ming had placed him on his must-kill list. The third-level Divine Lord paled and hastily retreated into the midst of the other Heavenly Humans. He wanted to use the other Heavenly Humans as a shield. Kill? Lu Ming roared, his killing intent surging as he pushed forward. The Heavenly Humans in his way exploded, their bodies and souls annihilated. Lu Ming's speed was not affected at all, and he quickly closed the distance between him and the Heavenly Human expert. Swish. With all his strength, Lu Ming threw out the mysterious ice staff. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The mysterious ice staff pierced through space, whistling through the air as it smashed toward the other party. Fast, it was too fast. The other party did not even have time to dodge, so he could only do his best to block. The power of a third-level Divine Lord was fully unleashed. The Heavenly Annihilation power, one of the strongest heavenly powers, was fully unleashed, transforming into a gray sword light that slashed at the mysterious ice staff. Boom. There was a heaven-shaking explosion as boundless energy erupted from the point of collision, spreading out in all directions. Some of the Heavenly Humans with weaker cultivations who had not retreated in time were killed in midair. Then a figure retreated, coughing up large mouthfuls of blood. It was the third-level Divine Lord of the Heavenly Human race. Heaven-sundering style. The moment Lu Ming threw out the mysterious ice staff, he used the heaven-sundering style. As the Heavenly Human expert retreated, Lu Ming's attack also erupted. Swish. His entire body transformed into a spear of light that pierced through space, thrusting toward the third-level Divine Lord of the Heavenly Human race. This person had just been injured by Lu Ming and was forced to retreat. There was no way he could dodge or resist. The spear gleam transformed from Lu Ming's body pierced through the man's glabella. The terrifying power not only destroyed his sea of consciousness and soul, but it also destroyed his dantian completely, killing a third-tier Divine Master expert. Lu Ming rushed over. The spear light disappeared and his figure reappeared. He was already holding a storage ring in his hand. It was the storage ring of the Heavenly Human Race cultivator. In a flash, Lu Ming appeared beside Autumn Moon. Autumn Moon, are you okay? Lu Ming asked with concern. Young master, I'm fine. It's just a minor injury. Thank you for saving me. Autumn Moon said. At this moment, her complexion was much better. She was no longer pale. Silly girl, why are you being so polite with me? Here. Lu Ming said as he handed the storage ring of the Heavenly Human tribe member to Autumn Moon. Then he looked around at the battle situation. At this moment, Xian Yanqing and Wan Xin had both obtained the divine weapons they wanted. With their fighting strength, this was not surprising. Both of them were in control of powerful weapons like origin-grade divine weapons. If they unleashed their full power, it would be easy for them to kill a heavenly human expert of the second level of the Divine Master Realm. They could even fight a heavenly human expert of the third level of the Divine Master Realm. If Xian Yanqing used his origin energy and unleashed his strongest attack, even third-level Divine Lord Heavenly Human Race experts would not be his match. On the other side, Dark Knight Rose, Di Jinni, Ling Heng, and Yin Jiuling all obtained the divine weapons they wanted. There were also two third-stage Divine Lord experts from the Celestial race who had obtained a divine weapon each. In this way there were only 2 divine weapons left out of the 12. A group of people surrounded the last 2 divine weapons and fought crazily. At this moment, Xian Yanqing, Wan Xin, Dark Knight Rose, and the 2 third-level Divine Lord Heavenly Human Race experts all rushed toward the last 2 divine weapons. Swish! Lu Ming took a step forward and rushed toward the last 2 divine weapons like a beam of light. Oh no! Seeing Lu Ming charging toward them, all of the Heavenly Human Race experts were shocked. Lu Ming's fighting strength was too strong. Everyone had seen how he had killed the 3rd-level Divine Lord Heavenly Human Race expert. No one present was Lu Ming's match. The Heavenly Human Race experts were furious and unwilling to accept this. If not for the fact that the 4th-level Divine Lord Heavenly Race experts had been killed by the Life Spirit Master of the Heavenly Court, any one of them could easily suppress Lu Ming. How could Lu Ming be so arrogant now? But now they had no choice but to retreat when they saw Lu Ming charging toward them. Set up the formation to deal with them, roared a 3rd-level Divine Lord Heavenly Human Race expert. He wanted to set up the 9 Heavens battle formation to deal with Lu Ming's group. The Heavenly Human Race had nearly 4 Divine Lord Heavenly Human Race experts and more than 209th-level Divine Lord Heavenly Race experts. After setting up the 9 Heavens battle formation, its power would be astonishing. The Heavenly Human Race experts immediately began to set up the formation. Great sealing art. Lu Ming thrust out his palm. Dense runes covered the void and intertwined together to form ribbons that climbed up the bodies of the Heavenly Human Race experts and sealed them. Heavenly Demon Field. At the same time, Xian Yinqing also attacked. He used the Heavenly Demon Field to envelop the Heavenly Human Race experts and prevent them from setting up the formation. The Heavenly Human Race experts were greatly restricted by the Heavenly Demon Field. For a moment, they couldn't set up the 9 Heavens battle formation. Suddenly the expressions of Lu Ming, Xian Yinqing and the others changed. Because a terrifying force suddenly came from the ground, crushing toward Lu Ming and Xian Yinqing. It was a fist energy formed by countless tiny lightning bolts. It was the power of heavenly punishment. Wherever the fist energy passed, the void collapsed. Lu Ming didn't hesitate. He waved the mysterious ice rod and attacked. At the same time, Xian Yinqing also attacked. He controlled the origin-grade divine weapon, Black Lotus, and it pressed down like a mountain. Boom, boom. The 2 weapons collided with the fist energy of heavenly punishment. However, the result was that the 2 weapons shook violently and were thrown into the air. Lu Ming and Xian Yinqing were also thrown into the air by the strong recoil. Lu Ming retreated for 100 miles before he steadied himself. He waved his hand and the mysterious ice rod returned to his hand. However, his qi and blood were in turmoil. Xian Yinqing was in a worse condition. Her face was pale and blood was seeping out of the corner of her mouth. She was clearly injured. Yi Wu, Lu Ming muttered. His face was gloomy. At this moment, a burly figure stepped into the air and slowly rose to the sky. This person was Yi Wu. Lord Yi Wu. It's Lord Yi Wu. That's great. Lord Yi Wu is fine. Ha ha ha, we can turn the tables. The Heavenly Human Race experts were ecstatic when they saw Yi Wu. Previously, Yi Wu was captured by the life spirit of the Heavenly Court. Half of his forbidden energy was extracted and he was smashed to the ground. Everyone thought that Yi Wu had been killed by the life spirit of the Heavenly Court. Now it seemed that Yi Wu was fine. He wasn't injured at all and his aura was still very strong. Chapter 4497. What is Han Ming thinking? Is he really trying to test me? Lu Ming was speechless when he saw Yi Wu. He was willing to bet that Han Ming had done this on purpose. With Han Ming's cultivation base, there was no way he didn't know that Yi Wu was still alive. He must have let him go on purpose. There were other heavenly humans as well. With Han Ming's strength, it would be easy for him to kill them all. However, he only killed 7 or 8 of the strongest heavenly humans. This was definitely on purpose. Otherwise, he could have just given the Chaos Ring to Lu Ming. He even said it so loudly so that everyone could hear. It was hard to understand why someone like Han Ming would do things so strangely. At this moment, Han Ming's gaze fell on Lu Ming, Xian Yinqing, Anya Rose, and the others. His eyes were filled with boundless killing intent. He was indeed injured by Han Ming earlier, but he didn't know why Han Ming didn't kill him. In fact, Han Ming didn't even seriously injure him. He had been healing himself on the ground. Of course, there was another reason why he waited until now to make a move. He was afraid. He was afraid that Han Ming wouldn't go far. He was afraid that Han Ming would suddenly come back. Until just now, he finally made a move. Firstly, Han Ming had been gone for a while and hadn't shown up. He must have really left. Secondly, if he didn't make a move, Lu Ming and the others would have taken all the treasures. First, it was the Chaos Ring. Now, it was the sacred weapon. Both of them were precious treasures. If Lu Ming and the others got the treasures and left, he would vomit blood. Therefore, he couldn't help but make a move. Meanwhile, the other heavenly humans weren't just standing around. Just now, Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing were sent flying by Yi Wu. Naturally, the Great Seal and Heavenly Demon territory were broken. The heavenly humans moved quickly and set up 9 battle formations. Kill? The heavenly humans shouted. They formed a huge battle sword and slashed at Anya Rose, Wan Shen and the others. Anya Rose, Wan Shen, and the others wanted to take the last 2 sacred weapons. Their expressions changed drastically. They couldn't care less about the sacred weapons. They quickly retreated to avoid the attack. Following this, the celestial race's 9 heavens battle formation released a powerful energy and grabbed at the last 2 divine weapons. The celestial race put away the last 2 divine weapons and temporarily placed them in the hands of 2 third-layer divine lord experts. Now that Han Ming isn't here, who can save you? Yi Wu swept his cold gaze over Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing and the rest. In the end, his gaze landed on Lu Ming. His eyes were filled with murderous intent, greed, and desire. No, maybe all of this is a blessing and not a curse for me. I already have enough experience in fusing with taboo energy. I'll capture you, bring you back to the heavenly palace and extract your taboo energy. Then I'll be able to fuse with a complete taboo energy, haha. Yi Wu sneered. He took a step toward Lu Ming. His aura became stronger and stronger. Boom, boom. He punched out with both fists. The heavenly punishment energy turned into fist energy and bombarded Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. Ah! Lu Ming shouted. He waved the obsidian staff and attacked continuously. The sky was filled with staff shadows. Xian Yanqing also attacked with all his strength. He controlled the Black Lotus. The petals of the Black Lotus flew out. Each petal turned into a powerful weapon and flew toward Yi Wu. The attacks of the 2 sides collided in the air, creating a violent shockwave. However, Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing were still no match for Yi Wu. They were forced to retreat. This guy is really strong. Even without the forbidden energy, Lu Ming's mind raced. Yi Wu was definitely a top genius. He was extremely powerful. If he was in the Divine Emperor realm, his combat strength would not be weaker than the average heavenly princess. Otherwise, he would not have been able to successfully fuse with half of the forbidden energy. Therefore, although he was also a 3rd-level divine master, his combat strength was much stronger than the other 3rd-level divine masters of the heavenly human tribe. On the other side, the 9 heavens battle formation set up by the other heavenly human tribe members did not stay idle. They formed a huge heavenly human tribe king. He held a huge battle sword. When he swung the battle sword, the sky was filled with sword energy. The sword energy slashed toward Anya Rose, Di Jianyi, Wan Shen and Autumn Moon. Other than Xian Yanqing and Lu Ming, everyone was enveloped in the sword energy. Anya Rose, Wan Shen and the others gave up fighting and joined forces. However, they were still no match for Yi Wu. They were forced to retreat. On Anya Rose's side, one of the geniuses was careless and had his forehead pierced by a sword energy. He died instantly. A top genius was killed just like that. The 9 heavens battle formation of the heavenly human tribe contained 2 third-level divine masters, 7 second-level divine masters, and nearly 200 ninth-level divine emperors. These were all seniors who had cultivated for many years and were very powerful. When they set up the 9 heavens battle formation together, its power was even more shocking. It was not something that Anya Rose and the others could fight against. Seeing this, Yi Wu's smile widened. So what if you have the treasure? In the end it will fall into my hands. Little bastards, I'll send you on your way. Yi Wu sneered. A gray energy appeared on his left hand. This was the heavenly extermination energy. Obviously, Yi Wu also controlled 2 types of heavenly powers. He held the heavenly punishment energy in one hand and the heavenly extermination energy in the other. He charged toward Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing again. Battle Character Manual, 8 times Combat Strength. Lu Ming shouted in his mind. In his sea of consciousness, the Battle Character Manual gave off a hazy glow. The power in Lu Ming's body increased by another notch. This was 8 times the combat strength of the Battle Character Manual. That's right. For such a long time, Lu Ming's cultivation had not only been focused on comprehending his secret skills and improving his cultivation level. Whenever he had time, he would also comprehend the Battle Character Manual. He could have triggered the Battle Character Manual to increase his combat strength by 7 times a long time ago. Even if the Battle Character Manual increased his combat strength by 8 times, there was still a 10% chance of triggering it. He had been trying to trigger it earlier and had finally succeeded. Boom. The mysterious ice rod became extremely large and smashed toward Yi Wu. At the same time, Xian Yanqing also attacked. The heavenly punishment energy and heavenly extermination energy collided with the mysterious ice rod and the Black Lotus, turning the void into a chaotic mess. The energy blasted the ground, causing it to explode continuously. The ancient buildings crumbled one after another. If the Life Spirit Heavenly Court had been at its peak, their attack power would not have been able to destroy the buildings or cause any damage. However, after such a long time, the Life Spirit Heavenly Court had become much weaker and was about to decay. But soon, Xian Yanqing retreated, blood flowing from his mouth. Although Lu Ming had blocked most of the force, Yi Wu's combat strength had increased after using 2 types of heavenly powers. He was no longer someone Xian Yanqing could fight against. Even Lu Ming's blood was boiling. On the other side, Wan Shen, Autumn Moon and the others were in even more danger. They had been forced to the point where they could not fight back. All they could do was defend. Moreover, even if they defended, they did not feel like they could last much longer. Chapter 4498. Xian Yanqing, come and help us. Otherwise, if we die, you won't be able to leave either. Dark Knight Rose shouted. She and Xian Yanqing could only fight against the 9 Heavens battle formation if they worked together. They couldn't fight against the heavenly human race's 9 Heavens battle formation alone. Xian Yanqing hesitated. She wanted to stay and help Lu Ming, but on the other side the 10,000 gods and Autumn Moon were in danger. If she didn't work together with Dark Knight Rose, the 10,000 gods and Autumn Moon would be in danger. Little Qing, go and work with her. Lu Ming sent a message to Xian Yanqing. But this guy... Xian Yanqing looked at Yi Wu. Yi Wu was too strong. She was afraid that Lu Ming wouldn't be able to stop him alone. Don't worry. I still have a trump card that I haven't used yet. I might even be able to kill him. Lu Ming sent a message to Xian Yanqing. He still had a trump card that he hadn't used yet. Of course it wasn't Qiu. Qiu was only at the 9th level of the Divine God realm. Lu Ming wouldn't let him fight. As for Guo, he couldn't help much either. His trump card was his origin energy and the second move of his self-created secret technique, the Desolate Style. There was also the Purple Copper Coffin. Lu Ming would take out the Purple Copper Coffin if he couldn't do it. However, the Purple Copper Coffin was too strange. Ever since his past self was sucked into the Purple Copper Coffin, he had been traumatized by it. He didn't want to take out the Purple Copper Coffin unless he had no other choice. Also, taking out the Purple Copper Coffin at the drop of a hat would not help him train. Seeing Lu Ming's confident expression, Xian Yanqing finally nodded and flew toward Dark Knight Rose. You still want to help? Do you think I'm not here? Yi Wu shouted coldly. A battle sword appeared in his hand. It was also a top-tier divine weapon. He slashed it towards Xian Yanqing. However, Lu Ming had his eyes on Yi Wu from the start. As soon as Yi Wu moved, Lu Ming moved as well. He swept the Bingxian staff horizontally and blocked Yi Wu's sword. You still want to stop Shaoqing? Do you think I don't exist? Lu Ming followed suit and said coldly. Ha ha ha. Yi Wu laughed coldly and said, so what if we let her go? Would they be able to fight against the 9 Heavens battle formation with her help? How naive. However, he was immediately rendered speechless. This was because Xian Yanqing had already arrived and was cooperating with Dark Knight Rose to perform a joint attack. A black lotus and a heaven-devouring rose, one on top and one on the bottom, exploded with astonishing field energy, enveloping the entire 9 Heavens battle formation. The power of the field energy had an incomparably powerful destructive power. Ordinary experts would be turned into ashes in an instant if they were inside it. Now, Xian Yanqing and Dark Knight Rose had both broken through to the Divine Master Realm. They were the first to break through to the Divine Master Realm, which meant that they had cultivated in the Divine Creation formation for hundreds of years after breaking through to the Divine Master Realm. Their cultivation was already extremely terrifying. Although they hadn't broken through to the 2nd level of the Divine Master Realm, they had almost reached the peak of the 1st level. Now, the joint attack that the two of them performed was even more terrifying. It was many times stronger than when they were in the Divine Emperor realm. If a 3rd-level heavenly human expert was enveloped by the joint attack, he would be killed in an instant. Even a 4th-level Divine Master would be injured or even killed if they were enveloped by the joint attack. Therefore, the 9 Heavens battle formation of the heavenly human tribe kept shaking. The heavenly human tribe king kept swinging his battle sword, but he couldn't break through the joint attack of the two. The two of them were in a stalemate. The others heaved a sigh of relief and had time to catch their breath. Yi Wu was dumbfounded. Although he knew that Xian Yanqing and Dark Knight Rose had a joint attack, he didn't expect it to be so powerful. Then he exploded with killing intent. I'll kill you first, then I'll break their joint attack. Yi Wu shouted and charged at Lu Ming. The two supreme heavenly powers were activated to the extreme. Lu Ming was not afraid at all. He waved the obsidian staff and charged at Yi Wu. Boom. Boom. The two of them exchanged rapid blows. Lu Ming kept retreating. He was at a disadvantage. However, although Lu Ming was at a disadvantage, it wasn't a one-sided battle. He could barely block Yi Wu's attacks. In the blink of an eye, the two of them had exchanged more than a dozen blows. Primitive style. Seizing the opportunity, Lu Ming used the primitive style. A boundless continent suddenly appeared, exuding a vast and majestic aura. It pressed down on Yi Wu. Boom. Yi Wu held the combat sword in his hand and slashed at the continent, causing a deafening explosion. Suddenly, cracks appeared on the continent. Finally, it exploded with a bang. However, the Great Desolation style was made up of all kinds of secret arts, and it was modeled after the Great Desolation era. It contained the boundless might of the Great Desolation era, and when it burst forth, it was so powerful that even Yi Wu was forced to retreat. Kill. Lu Ming shouted and stepped into the void. The obsidian staff flew out of his hand and smashed toward Yi Wu. As for Lu Ming, he continued to use the primeval style to attack Yi Wu. The continent continued to condense and covered a large area of the void. It was like a world pressing down on Yi Wu. Mountains and rivers could be vaguely seen on the continent. It was a breathtaking sight and contained infinite power. Yi Wu's face was solemn. He shouted and pushed his strength to the extreme. The two supreme heavenly powers intertwined and activated the combat sword to fight Lu Ming. However, Yi Wu's combat strength at its peak was not wasted. Half of the taboo energy in his body was drained, which had a great impact on him. Otherwise, with his combat strength, Lu Ming would not be able to fight him, who was 2 levels above him. However, Lu Ming could do it now. The two of them exchanged another blow. They were evenly matched and retreated. Then they clashed again. I have to end this quickly. I have to catch him off guard. Lu Ming thought to himself. Whether it was activating the obsidian staff or the primitive style, it consumed a lot of taboo energy. Although he had reached the Divine Master realm and his combat strength had increased tremendously, he could not withstand such consumption. However, if he wanted to defeat Yi Wu, he had to catch him off guard. He only had one chance, and that was the origin energy. Primitive style. Lu Ming bellowed and launched another primeval style. After exchanging a blow with Yi Wu, he retreated continuously. At the same time, the Bingxin rod also flew back. Lu Ming reached out and grabbed the Bingxin rod. He then threw it out abruptly. When Lu Ming threw out the Bingxin rod this time, he infused the power of origin and the origin seed into the Bingxin rod. However, it did not explode. While throwing out the mysterious ice rod, Lu Ming arched his body and shot toward Yi Wu like a beam of rainbow light. His hands moved at lightning speed, activating the primeval style. The obsidian staff was about to hit Yi Wu's head. Yi Wu swung his combat sword and slashed at the obsidian staff. Just like before, Yi Wu did not use his full strength. He wanted to use more of his strength to deal with Lu Ming's next move. However, the origin seed in the obsidian staff exploded. Chapter 4499. The origin energy was hidden in the obsidian staff. It only erupted when the obsidian staff clashed with Yi Wu's sword. The origin energy ignited a sliver of the obsidian staff's power, causing it to skyrocket. The obsidian staff was one of the best source-grade divine weapons. Lu Ming and the others couldn't unleash the true power of the source-grade divine weapon. They could only unleash a sliver of its power. Source-grade divine weapons contained origin imprints. Only reciprocity cultivators could unleash their true power. This was because origin realm existences could control origin energy. Lu Ming's control over origin energy was too weak. He could only unleash a sliver of the obsidian staff's power, but it was enough. The obsidian staff unleashed a shocking power that shattered Yi Wu's attack. The sword in Yi Wu's hand was also a source-grade divine weapon, but it trembled and flew out of his hand. Spurt. Yi Wu's body shook violently. He was sent flying like a meteor as he coughed up blood. His arms had exploded from the recoil of the weapon. His body was also injured in many places. His neck was broken. Not only that, but the obsidian staff also contained a terrifying power of ice. It covered his entire body, trying to freeze him. Block it, block it, block it for me. Yi Wu roared as he unleashed the heavenly force in his body to block the terrifying power of ice. However, Lu Ming's follow-up attack arrived at the same time. He used the primeval desolation style. A continent formed and crashed down on Yi Wu. Despair filled Yi Wu's eyes. He could only watch as the continent crashed down on him. He couldn't stop it. Boom. Yi Wu was hit by the continent. He screamed as his body slammed into the ground, creating a huge crater. Yi Wu wasn't dead yet, but he was severely injured. His body was in tatters. His foundation had been damaged. The universe bridge in his dantian had many cracks, so he couldn't muster any strength. He couldn't fight anymore. However, Lu Ming was still worried. He swooped down and used the Great Sealing technique to seal Yi Wu. Only then did he rush to the battlefield where Xian Yanqing and the others were fighting. How is this possible? At this moment, the heavenly humans were extremely shocked. Lu Ming had actually defeated Yi Wu. They were well aware of how talented Yi Wu was. If Yi Wu hadn't spent so much time and energy to fuse with the forbidden power, his cultivation level would have been higher than the third-level Divine Master realm. Such a powerful person had actually been defeated by Lu Ming, a first-layer Divine Master. This shattered their understanding of the world. The members of the heavenly human tribe were shocked, while Xian Yanqing, the myriad god tribe, and the others were overjoyed. Boom! Lu Ming made his move. He wielded the obsidian staff and attacked the heavenly human tribe's 9 heavens battle formation. When the mysterious ice staff entered the range of Xian Yanqing and Dark Knight Rose's combined attack, it did not affect him at all. Of course, this was controlled by Xian Yanqing and Dark Knight Rose. Then, the mysterious ice staff crashed into the heavenly human tribe monarch formed by the 9 heavens battle formation. With a loud boom, the heavenly human tribe monarch's body shook violently, and the light on his body dimmed. Xian Yanqing and Dark Knight Rose took advantage of this and attacked the heavenly human tribe monarch. The light on the heavenly human tribe monarch grew dimmer and dimmer, as if he would collapse at any moment. Steady, steady, you must steady yourself. Attack with all your might. Charge toward the east. The 2/3 level Divine Master heavenly humans roared. The combat strength of Lu Ming and the others had exceeded their expectations. Now they could only rely on the 9 heavens battle formation. Without the 9 heavens battle formation, they were no match for Lu Ming and the others. They would be crushed mercilessly. All the heavenly human tribe members roared angrily. They burned the power of heaven and activated the 9 heavens battle formation with all their might. The light on the heavenly human tribe monarch brightened again. Boom. At this time, Lu Ming attacked again. The mysterious ice staff struck down, causing the heavenly human tribe monarch to tremble violently. Among them, the 9th level divine gods trembled violently and some even spat out blood. They had to defend against Xian Yanqing and Dark Knight Rose's combined attack and Lu Ming's attack at the same time. It was too difficult. At the same time, Wan Xin, Autumn Moon, Di Jinni and the others also attacked the 9 heavens battle formation with all their might. Although their combat strength was not as strong as Lu Ming's, they still brought great pressure to the heavenly human tribe. Boom. Boom. Lu Ming did not speak. He only activated the mysterious ice staff and attacked continuously. The heavenly human tribe members burned the power of heaven and fought with all their might. However, their power of heaven was limited. Especially the 9th level divine gods of the heavenly human tribe. They could not even withstand the rebounding power. Their faces were pale and blood was seeping out of the corners of their mouths. The power in their bodies was getting weaker and weaker. Break. Lu Ming let out a long cry and made a move with all his might. At the same time, Xian Yanqing and Dark Knight Rose also used all their strength to maximize the power of their combined attack. Boom. This time, the huge body of the heavenly human king that was formed by the heavenly human king directly exploded. Oh! Many cultivators of the 9th great supreme god layer gave horrible shrieks. Their bodies exploded and they died. There were close to 200 9th layer god emperor experts of the heavenly human clan, and at least 50 of them had died. The others were also injured. The 9 heavens battle formation had been broken. However, at this moment, Xian Yanqing and Dark Knight Rose also trembled. Blood flowed out of their mouths as they staggered backward. The two of them had been using their combined attack with all their strength. After persisting for so long, they had reached the end of their rope. The energy in their bodies was about to be exhausted. With the disappearance of the joint attack, the heavenly humans seemed to have seen a glimmer of hope. Run! Spread out! Many heavenly humans roared. The remaining 150 to 60 heavenly human tribe powerful beings fled in all directions. You want to leave? Stay. Stop them. The 10,000 deities, Autumn Moon, and the others shouted as they chased after the heavenly humans. Try to keep them alive. I have something to ask them, Lu Ming said to the 10,000 deities and the others. His body did not stop as he charged at the 2/3 layer divine masters. The 2/3 layer divine masters paled as they fled in 2 different directions. None of you can escape from me. Lu Ming snorted as he threw the obsidian staff at one of the 3rd layer divine masters. The obsidian staff tore through the void with incredible speed. It caught up to the 3rd layer divine master in an instant and swung it at his body. Now that Lu Ming had activated the battle incantation, his combat strength had increased by 8 times. His strength was at its peak and he was able to fight Yi Wu. The third-tier Divine Master Heavenly Human was unable to withstand the blow. He was sent flying by the cudgel and smashed into the ground in the distance. His body was severely damaged by the powerful force and he was sealed in ice by a gust of cold energy. As for Lu Ming himself, he had caught up with another third-level Divine Master expert. End of this chapter. Chapter 4500. Lu Ming caught up with the other third-tier Divine Master expert and directly used the heaven-breaking move, piercing through the person's dantian and crippling his cultivation. The 2 third-level Divine Master Realm experts from the Heavenly Human tribe were killed instantly. They couldn't resist Lu Ming's attack at all. Not far away, Anya Rose, Di Jinny, Ling Heng, and the others saw this and their faces were solemn. Their eyes were filled with shock and disbelief. Lu Ming's fighting power is getting more and more terrifying. No one can stop him. If Yi Qiuxin can't catch up, he will be left behind. It's the sorrow of other geniuses to be born in the same era as him. Ling Heng sighed. He was originally the number 1 on the universe genius list, overlooking countless geniuses in the universe. Not many of the previous number 1 on the universe genius list were as powerful as him. He used to be confident that he wouldn't be afraid even if it was the Heavenly Human tribe's heavenly princess. In the history of the universe, how many people could fight against the heavenly sons and heavenly daughters? He was high-spirited and thought that there were only a handful of people in the universe who could match him. He could only look for them in the Heavenly Human tribe. However, the battle in Taishang Immortal City had a huge impact on him. Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing, Anya Rose, Wan Shun, one after another, they weren't from the Heavenly Human tribe but they displayed terrifying strength. All of them were stronger and more powerful than him. In addition, Di Jinny, Yin Jiuling, Autumn Moon, Bubbles, and the others were all outstanding geniuses in the universe. They weren't any weaker than him. This made him realize that he had been a frog in a well. That was why he joined Dark Knight Rose in the end, all for the sake of becoming stronger. Now that he saw Lu Ming's fighting power, he felt a sense of helplessness. How could he catch up with such a freak? How could he surpass him? Crack. Di Jinny clenched his fists and his face was filled with unwillingness. Lu Ming's rise is unstoppable. Don't offend him in the future. Now let's leave quickly. This place has nothing to do with us. Dark Knight Rose's voice rang in Di Jinny, Ling Heng, Yin Jiuling and the others' ears. Then their figures flickered and disappeared. Lu Ming knew that Dark Knight Rose and the others had left, but he didn't stop them. After Lu Ming suppressed the 2 third-layer Divine Master existences, he didn't stop at all. He continued to attack the other members of the Heavenly Human race. With a wave of his hand, the Heavenly Humans were crushed to the ground like raindrops, and they all spat out mouthfuls of blood. However, Lu Ming didn't kill these Heavenly Humans. He still had questions for them. Myriad God and Autumn Moon joined forces to suppress the Heavenly Human tribe members. Because Xian Yanqing had lost too much power, he was already powerless to attack. However, he was still able to protect himself. A Heavenly Human tribe cultivator wanted to take Xian Yanqing as a hostage, but he was killed by her with a single strike. The other members of the Heavenly Human tribe could only give up on the idea. However, there were too many people from the Heavenly Human tribe. There were a total of 150 to 60 of them who were fleeing in all directions. Lu Ming, Wan Shun, and Qiu Yu could not suppress all of them. In the end, about 50 Heavenly Human tribe members were suppressed. They were severely injured and couldn't move. The other members of the Heavenly Human tribe had fled. Swoosh. Lu Ming landed in front of a third-tier Divine Master Elder. He grabbed the air with his hand and grabbed the storage ring of the Elder. He remembered that this person had obtained 2 divine weapons of the Divine Hall. He scanned the storage ring with his spiritual consciousness. As expected, he saw 2 divine weapons in the storage ring. The Elder looked at Lu Ming in horror. He knew that since he had fallen into Lu Ming's hands, his fate wouldn't be good. Therefore he didn't beg for mercy. You're a smart person. Now that you've fallen into my hands, only death awaits you. However, if you honestly answer a few of my questions, I can let you die a quick death. Otherwise, you won't be able to die even if you want to. Lu Ming said coldly. Ask away. If I can answer, I will naturally answer. If I can't, even if I want to die, I won't answer, the third-layer Divine Master said. I won't answer, the third-layer Divine Master expert said. Those who had lived to this age and reached this level of cultivation all had extremely firm wills. All right, let me ask you. Have you seen this woman before? Lu Ming took out a jade talisman. The jade talisman glowed, and a portrait appeared in the air. It was a woman. Naturally, it was Ling Yue. From the looks of it, she's from the fairy race. This woman looks familiar. Right, she seems to be the fairy princess. The third layer divine master heavenly human muttered. Lu Ming's heart sank. You've seen her before? I mean, have you seen her in the life soul heavenly court? I've seen her portrait in the dream divine jade, but I've never seen her in the life soul heavenly court. The third layer divine master shook his head. You've never seen her before? But her life soul origin stone fragment is in the hands of the celestial race. Lu Ming said coldly. I've been setting up a protective array to refine the life soul origin stone fragment. Those who went to seize it were first layer divine masters and second layer divine masters, as well as god emperors. If you want to ask this, you can ask them. The third layer divine master Tao of existence. Lu Ming's expression was somewhat gloomy. In the end, he walked up to a second layer divine master heavenly human. When Lu Ming attacked just now, he had specifically targeted the divine masters. Therefore, other than the two third layer divine masters, there were 3 other divine masters left behind by Lu Ming. Have you seen her in the life soul heavenly court? Lu Ming asked, pointing at Ling Yue's portrait. No. The other party replied. No? But her life soul origin stone fragment is in your hands. Lu Ming said coldly, his expression dark. So what if it's in our hands? We killed a group of people and seized their life soul origin stone fragments, but not all of them were obtained by killing people. 2 of them were ownerless and were flying around this ancient city. We just happened to bump into them. The second layer divine master heavenly human looked at Lu Ming without any fear in his eyes. Ownerless. Lu Ming frowned, and then a glimmer of hope appeared in his eyes. He remembered the abnormality of the life soul origin stone fragment. It was the life soul origin stone fragment that had flown in this direction. He had come here to pursue it. If he had other matters to attend to and didn't have the time to chase after the life soul origin stone fragment, he wouldn't have come here. Could it be that Ling Yue was delayed by other matters and didn't chase after the life soul origin stone fragment? Of course, this was only Lu Ming's guess. He wasn't sure. Next, Lu Ming asked another heavenly human, and the answers he received were similar. After that, Lu Ming asked more than 10 people, and they all said that they had never seen Ling Yue. Perhaps Ling Yue was really delayed by something and didn't come here. Lu Ming pondered, and a glimmer of hope appeared in his heart. Lu Ming, how should we deal with these people? The myriad god asked. Kill? Lu Ming said coldly. Chapter 45:01. Not long after, Lu Ming and the other 3 headed toward the periphery of the life spirit heavenly court. As for the heavenly humans, Wan Xin took care of them all, including Yi Wu, who was also killed by Wan Xin. The primordial divine spirits and the heavenly human tribe were mortal enemies. The myriad gods were born from the essence, chi and spirit of dozens of primordial divine spirits. They were born to hate the heavenly human tribe and would not rest until the heavenly human tribe was dead. Therefore he never showed mercy to the heavenly human tribe. After killing the heavenly humans and taking their storage rings, Lu Ming and the others prepared to leave the life spirit heavenly court. After all, the news that some of the heavenly humans had escaped would spread quickly. It was not good to stay here for long. Anyway, they had gained a lot from this trip. Their cultivation had soared and they had broken through to the Divine Master Realm. In the primitive universe, the Divine Master Realm was a threshold. Only when one reached the Divine Master Realm could one truly enter the ranks of the top experts in the universe. This time, they could be said to have entered the ranks of the top experts in the universe. Moreover, their greatest gain was the treasures. Each of them had obtained an origin divine weapon. Xian Yinqing had obtained a silver mace. Autumn Moon had obtained a soft whip. Wan Xin had obtained a halberd. They were all the Life Spirit Heavenly Court's 18 guardian divine weapons and were considered the top among the origin divine weapons. Lu Ming's gain was of course the greatest. Not only did he break through, but he also comprehended the second secret technique of his own, the primitive style. In addition, he had obtained the primitive ring, a treasure of the Life Spirit Heavenly Court. He had also obtained 5 of the Palace Guardian divine weapons. Yes, 5 of them. 4 of them were snatched from the 2/3 level divine masters of the heavenly humans. The 2/3 level divine masters of the heavenly humans had each obtained one of the 12 Palace Guardian divine weapons when they first fought over them. Later, the 2 extra weapons were also taken by the 2 of them after Yi Wu made a move. In the end, Lu Ming benefited from all of them. Lu Ming had also taken them out and planned to share them with Xian Yinqing, Wan Xin, and Autumn Moon. However, the 3 of them shook their heads. They had obtained one, which was more than enough. They were all attack-type soul-grade divine weapons. One was enough and more wouldn't be of much use. They didn't have enough energy to activate them, so they left them with Lu Ming for the time being. Apart from these gains, Lu Ming also obtained quite a number of broken divine weapons which could be used as Qiuqiu's rations. This trip could be said to be a great harvest. However, Lu Ming was worried about Ling Yuwei's safety. It was not difficult for them to return. They had memorized Chu Yi's map before. According to Chu Yi's map, they would not lose their way. In addition, there was no danger, so they were very fast. It didn't take long for them to leave the Life Spirit Heavenly Court and enter the thick fog. A few days later, they left the fog and headed towards the Heaven Destroyer. The Life Spirit Heavenly Court was originally in the ruins of the universe, so it wasn't too far away from the Heaven Destroyer. After some time, they returned to the Heaven Destroyer. As soon as they returned to the Heaven Destroyer, Lu Ming and the others immediately went to look for Fei Huang. Lu Ming had two main purposes for looking for Fei Huang. Firstly, regarding Ling Yuwei, he wanted to ask Fei Huang to use some resources to investigate Ling Yuwei's safety. Secondly, it was about the Life Spirit. The Master of the Life Spirit Heavenly Court was not dead. The taboo power had fused into one and was reborn. This was a big deal. For someone like the Master of the Life Spirit Heavenly Court, once he recovered to his peak, he had the ability to overturn the universe. He had to inform Fei Huang and the others as soon as possible so that they could prepare countermeasures. It would be best to pull the other party into their camp. However, before they arrived at the place where Fei Huang was cultivating in seclusion, they met an old acquaintance. Yiling. It seems like you guys have made a wasted trip looking for Senior Fei Huang. Senior Fei Huang has something to do and left. Yiling said. Senior Fei Huang left? Lu Ming was stunned. That's right. It's because of a big matter that has something to do with you. I've been looking for you for a long time, but you haven't been around during this period of time, Yiling said. It has something to do with me. What is it? Lu Ming was stunned. He had a bad feeling in his heart. It's about the Spacetime Spirit Rats and the World Turtle Clan. The Heavenly Palace has made a move against these two clans. They want to destroy the two clans or leave a part of them behind to completely control the two clans. Yiling said. What? Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing, Wan Shen and Qiu Yu were all shocked. Lu Ming was even more shocked. The Heavenly Palace dared to make a move against the World Turtle Clan and the Spacetime Spirit Rats. It must be because of him. In the Grand Supreme Immortal City, Bubbles and Dandan had helped him deal with the heavenly human race. He did not expect the heavenly human race to be so ruthless and decisive. They actually wanted to destroy the two clans. Also, how were Bubbles and Dandan? Lu Ming was extremely worried. Lu Ming, you don't have to worry too much. The Spacetime Spirit Rats and the World Turtle Clan seemed to have guessed that they would be in big trouble, so they contacted us in advance and wanted to join forces with us. Yiling said. The Spacetime Spirit Rats and the World Turtle Clan want to join forces with the Heaven Destroyer? Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. This was beyond his expectations. That's right. In fact, you don't know. The Spacetime Spirit Rats have long wanted to join forces with us, but they haven't made up their minds. This time we forced them to make a decision. After receiving the news from the two clans, Senior Fei Huang and the others went to support the two clans as they retreated to the universe ruins. With many senior experts supporting them, I think the two clans will be fine. Yiling said. Hearing this, Lu Ming breathed a sigh of relief. The two clans were one step ahead of time and passed the news to the Heaven Destroyer. With Fei Huang and the others supporting them, they should be fine and could safely retreat to the universe ruins. This was even better. Now Lu Ming and the Heavenly Palace were on opposite sides. They would not rest until one of them was dead. As for Dandan, his relationship with Bubbles had always been a big rock in his heart. He was afraid that the Heavenly Palace would deal with Dandan and Bubbles because of him. Now that the two clans had joined forces with the Heaven Destroyer and arrived at the universe ruins, they did not have to be afraid that the heavenly human race would deal with Bubbles and Dandan. Lu Ming, you guys can wait here with peace of mind. I believe that it won't be long before Senior Fei Huang and the others return. Yiling said. Lu Ming nodded. Then Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing, Autumn Moon, and Wan Shen returned to their residence. The four of them took out their god weapons and began to refine them. Without refining them, it was difficult to control and exert their power. Lu Ming also took out his long spear. The long spear was golden as if it was cast from gold. Lu Ming played with it for a while and showed a satisfied look. He still preferred the spear type of weapon. It was time for the Ice Mystic Rod to retire. Immediately, Lu Ming began to refine it. With Lu Ming's current cultivation, it was not difficult to refine the long spear. Soon after, it was refined by Lu Ming. Chapter 4502. War God Spear. After refining the golden spear, a name automatically appeared in Lu Ming's mind. It was the name of the spear. Swoosh. Swoosh. Lu Ming held the spear in his hand and stabbed it a few times, piercing a few pitch-black holes in the space. However, Lu Ming had excellent control of his power. The space was pierced but there wasn't much movement. Soon, the pitch-black holes in the space automatically healed and disappeared. Then, with a thought, the war god's spear turned into a ray of light and flew into Lu Ming's sea of consciousness. The next moment, a ring appeared in Lu Ming's hand. The Great Desolation Ring. Lu Ming's eyes shone brightly. This was one of the 4 supreme treasures of the heavenly court. How mysterious would it be if it was above the 18 divine weapons? Lu Ming began to refine it. A day later, Lu Ming stopped refining. His face was a little surprised. It's so difficult to refine. It's many times harder than the divine weapons, Lu Ming muttered, but his eyes were filled with joy. The harder it was to refine, the more mysterious the Great Desolation Ring was. Continue. Lu Ming continued to refine it and the forbidden power was constantly injected into the Great Desolation Ring. Just like that, a few more days passed and Lu Ming finally refined the Great Desolation Ring. Lu Ming quickly probed with his spirit sense. The next moment, Lu Ming appeared on a boundless continent. This is... Lu Ming opened his eyes wide. This was naturally formed by his spirit sense, but there was no difference between his senses and his body. What entered his eyes was a boundless continent. There was actually a continent inside the Great Desolation Ring. This continent exuded an unbelievable aura. Ancient, grand, vast, majestic, heavy. Lu Ming felt that it was difficult to find words to describe this continent. Moreover, the aura that this continent gave him was very similar to the universe ruins and the Taishang Immortal City. However, whether it was the universe ruins or the Grand Supreme Immortal City, their auras were not as strong as this continent. Could this be the Great Desolate Continent? Lu Ming suddenly had a thought. He was somewhat flabbergasted. At the same time he was shocked by his own thoughts. The primeval continent was hidden in this world? That's impossible. Wasn't the Great Desolate Continent destroyed in the last era? Lu Ming immediately rejected this idea. The reason for that was because even though the continent in the Great Desolation Ring was enormous and appeared to be boundless, there was actually a limit to it. Lu Ming had already refined the Great Desolation Ring. As the owner of the Great Desolation Ring, he could clearly sense the size of this continent. The area of this continent was very large, 10 times larger than the Dragon Clan's mother planet. However, it was definitely not the Great Desolate Continent of the previous epoch. In the previous era, the Eldritch Continent contained all the stars and energy in the universe ruins and the Eldritch universe. It was so huge that it was comparable to many Dragon Mother planets. No, it's not the Great Desolate Continent. Perhaps it was refined from the fragments of the Great Desolate Continent, Lu Ming guessed in his heart. This ring was called the Great Desolation Ring, which explained a lot of things. However, everything was just Lu Ming's guess. There was no other information. He would have to ask the life spirit of the heavenly court in the future. What a rich energy. Is this energy the Great Desolation Chi? Lu Ming muttered and observed carefully. This continent was filled with rich energy. This energy was very similar to the Great Desolation Chi in the Grand Supreme Immortal City. On the continent there were mountains, rivers and ancient trees. It was full of vitality. There were even many heavenly treasures growing in the mountains. Ancient trees and spirit herbs were everywhere. However, other than that, Lu Ming didn't see any other living beings. There was no living being on this continent, not even a mosquito. Treasure, it's really a treasure. If I cultivate here, my cultivation level will definitely improve by leaps and bounds. However, it's not very useful to me. Lu Ming thought. The Great Desolation Ring was definitely a rare treasure. If he let other people cultivate here, their cultivation speed would definitely increase rapidly. The manifestation realm was too good. It really seemed like the Great Desolation Continent of the previous epoch. However, that was only for those below the Divine Master Realm. It was not very useful for those above the Divine Master Realm. No, it might not be useless to me. Suddenly, Lu Ming had a flash of inspiration. The second secret technique that he comprehended, the Great Desolation style, was based on the Great Desolation Continent. When executed, it would form a Great Desolation Continent to suppress the enemy. However, that Great Desolation Continent was only Lu Ming's imagination. Hence, the Great Desolation Continent that he formed lacked spirituality. The mountains and rivers on it were also blurry. If the continent in the Great Desolation Ring was really made from the fragments of the Great Desolation Continent, Lu Ming could use the Great Desolation Ring as a template to continue comprehending the Great Desolation style and perfect it. He could make the Great Desolation style continuously stronger. Could this be the reason why the life spirit of the heavenly court left the Great Desolation Ring to Lu Ming? The life spirit had taken away the other three great treasures of the heavenly court, but it had left the Great Desolation Ring to Lu Ming. It was not unreasonable. The continent in the Great Desolation Ring was completely different from the floating continent fragments in the universe ruins. Although the floating continent fragments in the universe ruins were formed after the Great Desolation continent collapsed, too much time had passed and the epochs had changed. They had long decayed and changed. They had long lost the charm of the Great Desolation continent and had become some dead continents. However, the continent in the Great Desolation Ring was like a miniature version of the Great Desolation continent. It was alive. Although he did not know how the life spirit of the heavenly court was refined, he did not know. Perhaps the life spirit was not refined by the life spirit of the heavenly court, but obtained by him. He did not know any of this. Not bad, not bad. This Great Desolation Ring is very useful to me. Lu Ming's face lit up with joy. He had family and friends. In the past he had wandered everywhere. His family and friends were either in the chaotic astral river or in the corners of the Taishu dynasty. They did not have a good cultivation environment. Lu Ming had never gone back to visit them, mainly to protect them. The Taishu dynasty or the chaotic astral river were too remote. He did not leave any clues when he came out. The heavenly palace might not be able to find him. However, once he returned, he would leave behind clues that could be captured by the heavenly palace. However, it was different with the Great Desolation Ring. Lu Ming planned to go back when he was free and send his family and friends into the Great Desolation Ring. Then he would bring them to the universe ruins. However, Lu Ming still had a question in his heart. Was the Great Desolation Ring only used for this? After all, the Great Desolation Ring was one of the life spirit's 4 great treasures of the heavenly court. If it only had these functions, it felt a little lacking. The life spirit was one of the 4 great treasures of the heavenly court. It was the top treasure in the universe. Even the origin realm experts would be jealous and fight over it. It could only be used to nurture existences below the divine master realm. It did not seem to be worthy of the title of 4 great treasures. Chapter 4503. Legend had it that the life spirit was one of the 4 great treasures of the heavenly court. It was extremely useful to reciprocity cultivators. Even reciprocity cultivators would covet it and fight for it with their lives. However, looking at the effects of the Chaos Ring, it did not seem to be worthy of being one of the 4 great treasures. At the very least, reciprocity cultivators would not fight for it because it was useless to them. Those from large organizations and clans would be tempted, but those lone reciprocity cultivators would not be interested at all. That was why Han Ming had given him the Chaos Ring to repay him for saving his life. Had the other 3 treasures been taken away? Or did the Chaos Ring have other uses that he had not discovered? Many thoughts appeared in Lu Ming's mind. Overall, the Chaos Ring had disappointed Lu Ming slightly because it did not meet his expectations. However, Lu Ming adjusted very quickly. At the very least, he could use it to nurture his family and friends. With a thought, the Chaos Ring turned into a streak of light and flew into his sea of consciousness. Oh, Yiling has sent a message. Lu Ming took out a communication jade talisman. This communication jade talisman had been refined by a reciprocity cultivator from the Heaven Destroyer. It could transmit messages very far away. Although it was not as profound as the illusory god jade from the Heavenly Palace, it was enough for normal use. Moreover, the illusory god jade could only be used in the Chaos Universe. Once he entered the Chaos Universe, the illusory god jade would be useless and the messages would be cut off. Lu Ming scanned the message in the jade talisman with his spiritual sense and was pleasantly surprised. The World Turtle and Space-Time Spiritual Mouse clans are here. Lu Ming was overjoyed. He opened the door and walked out. As soon as he walked out, he saw Xian Yanqing, Qiu Qiu Moon and Wan Shen walking out as well. Clearly they had also received the message. The 4 of them flew towards where Fei Huang was cultivating. However, halfway there they saw a wormhole suddenly appear in the distance. The wormhole was extremely large. Following that, figures flew out from it. They were from the World Turtle clan and the Space-Time Spirit Mouse clan. Lu Ming exclaimed in surprise. Needless to say, this wormhole was definitely opened up by a powerhouse of the Space-Time Spirit Mouse race. According to legend, the top experts of the Space-Time Spirit Mice were able to open up wormholes in the universe at will, and they were profound and unfathomable. Therefore, the Space-Time Spirit Mouse race had always been very mysterious in the universe and had a noble status. Although it wasn't one of the top 10 races in many people's eyes, the Space-Time Spirit Mouse's status wasn't below the top 10 races. Xian Yanqing, Myriad God, and Autumn Moon were also amazed. Although Myriad God also had the ability to open wormholes, it was still inferior to an expert like the Space-Time Spirit Mouse. The myriad god's ability to open wormholes was inherited from a certain primordial god. He was not very proficient in it and he was not very good at it to begin with. In the universe, space-time spirit mice are very useful. I really don't know if the Heavenly Palace has lost their minds. Why would they attack space-time spirit mice? Myriad gods Tao. He might not have lost his mind. It might have been premeditated. Lu Ming said. Oh, what do you mean? Myriad god's eyes flickered. The space-time spirit mouse race has long intended to join the Heaven Destroyer. Perhaps the Heavenly Palace has already heard some rumors. It's good that the space-time spirit mice can be used by themselves, but once they join the enemy, it will be a disaster. The Heavenly Palace is probably looking for a reason to get rid of the space-time spirit mice to prevent future trouble. Lu Ming analyzed. Myriad God and the others nodded. Perhaps this was the reason. Dandan, Bubbles? Suddenly Lu Ming's eyes lit up as he saw Dandan and Bubbles flying out of the wormhole. Lu Ming finally felt relieved. He was relieved that Dandan and Bubbles were fine. Lu Ming. Big brother Lu Ming. Dandan and Bubbles also noticed Lu Ming and the others and quickly flew over. Lu Ming, something big has happened, Dandan shouted as soon as he arrived. I know that you are being hunted down by the Heavenly Palace. Fortunately you are fine. Lu Ming smiled. It's not us, it's the elf race, Dandan said. What? The elf race? Lu Ming's heart suddenly trembled. He had a bad premonition. Could it be that the Heavenly Palace also attacked the elf race? We received news that the Heavenly Palace sent an army to kill the elf race. They want to eliminate the elf race from the universe, Dandan said. Lu Ming's expression was extremely ugly. He asked, how is the elf race now? When we received the news it was already too late. It is said that the elf race's mother planet has been breached. Countless elves have been killed. I'm afraid the destruction of the elf race is inevitable. Dandan sighed. Lu Ming's heart sank. He thought of how he had interrogated the celestial race in the Life Spirit Heavenly Court if he had seen Ling Yue. The people of the celestial race all said that they had not seen Ling Yue. Lu Ming had guessed at that time that perhaps Ling Yue had not gone to the Life Spirit Heavenly Court and had been delayed by something. From the looks of it, it was very likely that it was because of the Heavenly Palace's invasion of the elf race. The Heavenly Palace had attacked the elf race. Even if the Life Spirit Origin Stone fragment had undergone a mutation and flown away by itself, Ling Yue probably wouldn't have the mood to care about it. Then how was Ling Yue now? Lu Ming took a deep breath, calmed himself down and asked, do you guys have any news about the elf princess Ling Yue? No, it is said that the star fields where the elf race is located are in complete chaos. There are experts from the Heavenly Palace hunting the elf race everywhere. Fei Huang and some seniors of our two races have already rushed to the elf race. They want to save a portion of the elf race and bring them to the universe ruins. However, it is hard to say how many elves they can save. Dandan said. Dandan, Bubbles, you guys can stay here and have a good rest. I still have things to do so I won't entertain you guys. With that, Lu Ming turned around and left. Lu Ming, I'll go with you. Young master, wait for me. Xian Yanqing and Autumn Moon called out one after another, following closely behind Lu Ming. They were very clear about Lu Ming's thoughts. They naturally knew that Lu Ming wanted to go to the elf race's star field alone to look for Ling Yue. That's right, Lu Ming. Let's go together so that we can take care of each other. Myriad God also walked over. Big brother Lu Ming, bring me along. Bubbles also flew over. No, you guys can't go. Stay here. Lu Ming's face darkened as he said. Right now, they were all thorns in the eyes of the Heavenly Palace, and the star fields where the elf race was located were filled with experts from the Heavenly Palace. Once they went over and were discovered by the Heavenly Palace, they would definitely be hunted down and killed. It would be extremely dangerous. Lu Ming didn't want Xian Yanqing and the others to take the risk with him. However, he had to make this trip. He had to find Ling Yue regardless of life or death. He had owed Ling Yue too much. It could be said that a large part of the reason why the elf race had encountered such a calamity was because of him. If it wasn't for the fact that he was pretending to be Ling Yue's fiancé, the elf race wouldn't have been so close to him, and wouldn't have been hated by the celestial race. Chapter 4504. Why can't we go but you can? Xian Yanqing said coldly. Little Qing Yu, why do you have to? I know that the elf race is in danger now and you don't want us to take the risk together. But can we be at ease if you take the risk alone? Xian Yanqing said, staring at Lu Ming with burning eyes. In the end, Lu Ming showed a helpless look. He walked over and pulled Xian Yanqing and Autumn Moon's hands, saying, all right, let's go together. Only then did Xian Yanqing and Autumn Moon smile. However, at this moment, Dense runes suddenly appeared on Lu Ming's palm. They crawled all over Xian Yanqing and Qiu Yu's bodies, shrouding them within. This was the Great Sealing technique. Xian Yanqing and Autumn Moon did not expect Lu Ming to attack them. Lu Ming suddenly performed the Great Sealing technique. The two were not prepared at all and were sealed by the Great Sealing technique. Then Lu Ming reached out and pointed at Xian Yanqing and Autumn Moon's bodies, sealing their cultivation. The two of them widened their eyes and stared at Lu Ming. Lu Ming, what are you doing? Wan Shen was shocked. Wan Shen, I'll leave the two of them to you to take care of. You all stay here. Lu Ming said. Brother Lu Ming, I want to go, Bubbles said. You're not allowed to go. Lu Ming's face turned cold and his voice became louder. Bubble let out an obedient howl, pouted, and stood at the side, not daring to make a sound. Lu Ming, you must be careful. Don't force it, Dandan said. He knew Lu Ming very well. He knew that once Lu Ming decided on something, it would be useless even if others tried to persuade him otherwise. Don't worry, I have mastered the Great Imitation technique. The people of the Heavenly Palace might not be able to discover me, Lu Ming said. Then with a flash he disappeared from where he stood. Lu Ming flew towards the elves with all his might. Fortunately, this was only the edge of the universe ruins, not too far away from the primitive universe. After some time, Lu Ming arrived at the primitive universe. He had already turned into a middle-aged man. Not only had his appearance changed, but even his life origin aura had changed. This was the power of the Great Imitation Art. It could imitate anything that Lu Ming had ever seen, including the aura of the origin of life. This was Lu Ming's confidence. The fact that the Great Imitation Art was ranked in the top 3 of the 3,000 ancient secret skills was not just for show. It was truly mysterious and unfathomable. With Lu Ming's current cultivation level, even divine masters would not be able to see through the Great Imitation Art, even if they were in close contact with him. Only those in the origin realm who observed with rapt attention would be able to see through the clues. However, how many people in the origin realm were there? After arriving at the primitive universe, there were wormholes that could be used. Lu Ming took a wormhole in a nearby star field and headed towards the elves. A few days later, Lu Ming arrived at the core star field of the elves. The elves occupied many star fields. However, the star field where the elves' mother planet was located was the core star field. It was also the star field where the elves had been passed down for countless years. It had the most elves and was the star field with the best development. Swish! Like a stream of light, Lu Ming dashed in the direction of the mother planet of the elves. However, not long after, Lu Ming stopped above a huge star. This was a planet where the elves lived. However, this planet was almost completely destroyed now. Standing in the starry sky and looking at the planet, he found that the planet had completely turned into a purgatory. The planet was covered with huge craters. Huge cracks appeared on the continent on the planet. Magma was constantly spewing out and thick smoke was billowing. It was a scene of doomsday. There were no living creatures on the planet. There were corpses everywhere. They were all ordinary elves. Many of the corpses were swallowed by the magma and completely disappeared. Anger. Endless anger emerged from Lu Ming's heart. It was too cruel. The entire planet had been destroyed. The main reason was that most of the elves on it were ordinary elves with low cultivation. However, they were all killed. Lu Ming's spiritual sense covered the entire planet and found that there were no survivors. This was a true extermination. Even the ordinary civilians were not spared. Usually, in a war between races, the major forces would only kill the other side's experts. They would not deliberately kill the ordinary civilians. However, the Heavenly Palace had started a massacre. This was the method of the Heavenly Palace, the supreme force that controlled the universe. The Heavenly Palace, the Heavenly Human Tribe. Lu Ming's eyes flashed with a shocking cold light. Then, his figure flashed and left this place. He continued to go to the Elven Mother Planet. Along the way he saw a few more planets with life of the elves, but they were all destroyed. Some of the planets were directly blown up. None of the living creatures on them were spared. The anger in Lu Ming's heart became stronger and stronger. The killing intent in his heart towards the Heavenly Human Tribe also became stronger and stronger. Finally, a huge planet appeared in the starry sky in front of him. This planet was the Elven Mother Planet. The Elven Mother Planet was the same as the Dragon Mother Planet. It was also born at the beginning of the universe. It was sturdy and immortal. It was not blown up. However, it could be seen that the Elven Mother Planet was full of craters. Looking from afar, one could also see huge cracks. It seemed to be slashed out by sword chi. The Elven Palace. Lu Ming flashed and went to the Elven Palace. After a while, he arrived at the Elven Palace. At this moment, the Elven Palace was completely different from when Lu Ming came back. Back then, the Elven Palace was incomparably prosperous. There were elven ancient trees everywhere. Each elven ancient tree was at least 100 miles tall. Some were even 1,000 miles tall. The lush ancient trees formed a forest. Countless elves lived on it. But now it was all destroyed. At a glance, all of the elven ancient trees were cut, smashed, and burned. The prosperous elven palace was gone forever. On the huge ancient trees, there were elven corpses everywhere. Lu Ming's heart kept sinking. It was too late. It seemed that everything was too late. The elven race was completely destroyed. He still remembered that the elven race still owed him 100,000 elven wood cores. The elven emperor still owed him a favor. The past was vivid in his mind. When he came back, the world had changed. Things were still there, but people were different. Swoosh, swoosh. Suddenly, the sound of the air being pierced rang out. Figures flew from afar and surrounded Lu Ming. They were people from the heavenly palace. A few of them were from the heavenly human tribe. The rest were heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals from the heavenly palace. There were people from all races. Who are you? What are you doing here? The leader of the heavenly human tribe shouted and looked at Lu Ming with hostility. What? This is not the territory of the heavenly human tribe. What's wrong with me coming to take a look? Lu Ming replied coldly. How dare you talk to a heavenly general like that? What kind of attitude is that? Slap yourself right now and we can leave your corpse intact. A few heavenly soldiers immediately shouted. A few heavenly human tribe heavenly generals sneered at Lu Ming. Chapter 4505. Is that so? Lu Ming's eyes were cold as he started to release his powerful energy. It was the energy of a divine lord. The heavenly soldiers and divine generals felt as if they were being suppressed by dozens of planets. Their complexions changed drastically, becoming somewhat pale. Divine. Divine Lord. It's a divine Lord. Some of the heavenly soldiers shouted in fear. The divine generals of the heavenly human race also looked pale. They were no longer as arrogant as before. Senior Divine Lord, it's a misunderstanding. We thought you were a survivor of the fairy race. We'll leave now, a divine general of the heavenly human race said. The heavenly human race was the dominator of the universe and looked down on all the races in the universe. However, it was different when they faced a divine lord. A divine lord was already a top expert in the universe and stood at the top of the cultivation world. Even the heavenly human race had to be polite to a divine lord of another race. Unless it was a divine lord of the heavenly human race. After all, a divine master was too powerful and could easily kill them. Being arrogant in the face of a divine master was akin to courting death. They would be slapped to death by a divine master. Besides, the heavenly human race wouldn't offend a divine lord for a few ordinary heavenly human race members. Once a divine lord became a divine lord, their status would be completely different. The divine generals of the heavenly human race were scared to death when they saw Lu Ming's divine lord energy. Misunderstanding? How is it a misunderstanding? I'm a friend of the fairy race. Lu Ming said coldly. The heavenly soldiers and divine generals were shocked. Retreat. Send a message immediately and ask the divine lord to come here. The divine generals of the heavenly human race reacted quickly. They quickly retreated and shouted at the same time. Retreat? Lu Ming smiled coldly and his eyes were filled with killing intent. He flicked his finger and dozens of spear lights shot out from his fingertips toward the heavenly soldiers and divine generals. Poof, poof, poof. The gap between the heavenly soldiers and Lu Ming was too big. The strongest one was only a fourth-layer divine god. Even if Lu Ming only attacked casually, they wouldn't be able to resist it. One by one they were pierced by the spear light and died on the spot. Only 3 heavenly human tribe divine generals survived, but their cultivations were also destroyed. Of course, Lu Ming had deliberately spared their lives because he had something to ask. I'll ask you a few questions. If you answer honestly, I'll give you a quick death. Otherwise you'll be begging for death. Lu Ming asked coldly, how is the fairy emperor now? The elven king is dead. Only a few elves who were scattered all over the world are still alive. Now the masters of the heavenly palace are surrounding you. You dared to kill the people of the heavenly palace. You will die sooner or later. A heavenly human divine general roared. He knew that he was going to die, so he was fearless. Moreover, Lu Ming's question wasn't a secret, so it could hurt Lu Ming's feelings. Lu Ming's heart trembled and his expression turned even uglier. If the elf emperor was dead, then what about Ling Yue? Lu Ming was still unwilling and continued to ask, then what about the elf princess Ling Yue? How is he? Elf princess Ling Yue? I don't know, I've never seen him before, but he's probably the same as his father, killed by my heavenly palace in the chaos. Ah, this is the fate of the elf clan who dares to offend my heavenly palace. Anyone who offends the heavenly palace will end up like this, and you are no exception. The heavenly human race divine general laughed. So much nonsense, Lu Ming said coldly. With a flick of his finger, a finger force shot out and killed the heavenly human race divine general. Then he asked the other two heavenly human race divine generals and received similar answers. They only knew that the elf emperor had been killed, but they didn't know much about the elf princess Ling Yue. This gave birth to a glimmer of hope in Lu Ming's heart. As long as he didn't personally confirm that he had been killed, it meant that there was still hope for him to survive. After casually killing the two heavenly human race divine generals, he kept their storage rings into the Great Desolation Ring. Lu Ming naturally didn't care about the storage rings of these people, but he kept them. The resources inside were useful for people with low cultivation. He wanted to bring his family and friends into the Great Desolation Ring, so the more resources he had, the better. Someone's coming? Lu Ming's eyes moved because there were a few powerful auras rushing over from afar. Divine Emperor Realm, the aura of the heavenly human race, Lu Ming whispered, his eyes cold. He didn't leave but stood there quietly without moving. It was just the Divine Emperor Realm, Lu Ming didn't put them in his eyes. After a few breaths, a few figures appeared in the void. They were all from the heavenly human race. They had a head of golden hair and wore golden battle armor. They were majestic like a few war gods. The moment they arrived, they saw the corpses of the heavenly soldiers and divine generals, as well as Lu Ming, who was standing in the middle of the field. Boom! A powerful aura erupted from their bodies. Are you the one who killed them? One of the heavenly human race pointed his battle spear at Lu Ming. That's right. Lu Ming nodded indifferently. You're courting death. The heavenly human race expert's eyes were extremely cold. You heavenly human race only know how to say that. Aren't you tired of saying that? Lu Ming said indifferently. As soon as he finished speaking, his body flashed and he disappeared. The next moment he appeared in front of the heavenly human race expert and grabbed him by the throat. The heavenly human race expert of the seventh layer of the great god realm was like a little chick struggling in Lu Ming's hand. He was helpless. His eyes were filled with fear. He finally realized that the person in front of him was actually a divine master. Divine master. The other heavenly human race experts were shocked and wanted to retreat. Did I say you could leave? Lu Ming said indifferently. The heavenly human race experts felt a chill run down their spines. Their bodies stiffened as if they were being grabbed by an invisible hand. They didn't dare to move at all. Senior, the heavenly palace has many experts on the elven mother planet. There is no lack of divine master experts. Please think twice before you act and consider the consequences. A heavenly human race expert said. His words were polite, but the meaning behind them was clearly a threat. What he meant was that there were many experts from the heavenly palace on the elven mother planet. You better let us go. Otherwise, when the divine master experts arrived, you would end up in a miserable state. Lu Ming sneered and said, let me ask you a few questions. Answer me honestly. Then Lu Ming repeated the questions that he had asked previously. These questions were not secrets that could be hidden. The heavenly human race experts answered honestly. It was almost the same answer as the one Lu Ming had received before. The elf emperor was killed. As for the elf princess Ling Yue, they didn't know about her. Buff, buff. Lu Ming flicked his finger and killed all the heavenly human race experts. Then he left the place. Chapter 4506. Next, Lu Ming investigated the elf race's mother planet. On the elf race's mother planet, there were indeed many experts from the heavenly palace who stayed here. They searched for the remnants of the elf race and their treasures. Among them there was no lack of divine lord realm existences. As long as Lu Ming sensed the existence of a divine lord realm existence, he would immediately avoid them. As for those below the divine lord realm, he would directly kill them. In less than half a day he had killed hundreds of heavenly palace experts. There were heavenly human race experts and other races among them. This naturally could not be hidden. It alarmed the heavenly palace experts on the elf race's mother planet. Someone has sneaked in. It's a divine lord realm existence. Surround this person with all your might. Kill him without mercy. On the elf race's mother planet, there was a lord of heaven overseeing it. At this moment, this lord of heaven gave an order. Immediately, the experts on the elf race's mother planet were mobilized to surround and capture Lu Ming with all their might. Suddenly, Lu Ming saw a group of heavenly palace experts flying toward a vast ocean. On the elf race's mother planet, there were naturally continents and oceans. These people from the heavenly palace are hurriedly flying toward the depths of the ocean. Could it be that they have discovered something? Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat, and his eyes revealed a look of hope. The people from the heavenly palace were still investigating the elf race's mother planet. This meant that there were still survivors of the elf race on the elf race's mother planet. The heavenly palace was trying their best to hunt them down to prevent future troubles. Then, could Ling Yue still be alive and hiding somewhere on the elf race's mother planet? There was a high possibility of that happening. Follow them. Lu Ming activated the Great Concealment Technique and hid on the ground, following the people from the heavenly palace from afar. After entering the ocean, Lu Ming entered the ocean and activated the Great Imitation Technique, turning himself into a fish and following closely behind the people from the heavenly palace. More than an hour later, an island appeared in front of them. The island was enveloped by layers of formations. From the outside, it was impossible to see the existence of the island, only the air. But it couldn't stop Lu Ming's eyes. Lu Ming saw through it at a glance. Those masters from the heavenly palace were obviously here for this island. They stopped outside the island with sneers on their faces. It's just an illusory formation. Do you think you can hide from our eyes? What a joke. Break the formation. Let the elves despair. Let everyone in the universe know that this is the consequence of offending the heavenly palace. Some people from the heavenly palace sneered. Make your move. The leader of this group of people was not from the heavenly human tribe. Instead, it was an elder from the angel tribe. The reason for that was because the old man from the angel clan was a divine master. The angel elder gave the order, and a group of people immediately attacked. Dazzling rays of light slashed forward. Rumble. The sky shook violently as runes spread out, blocking the attacks. However, in doing so, the island would also be revealed. On the island there was a group of elves. At that moment their faces changed drastically. They looked desperate. They found us. The people from the heavenly palace are here. We won't be able to escape. The elves are doomed. Many people shouted in despair, anger, and grief. Rumble. The formations around the island were torn apart, and the island was completely exposed. Some of the heavenly human tribe members stood in the sky and looked at the elves on the island with mocking expressions. The more desperate the elves were, the more excited they were. "Die!" shouted a heavenly human tribe member. He took the lead and charged towards the island. That person had the cultivation of the 9th Great Supreme God layer. Whoosh! On the island, an arrow flew towards the heavenly human cultivator of the 9th Great Supreme God layer. The heavenly human tribe member was surprised. He slashed with his sword and hit the arrow. With a clang, the heavenly human tribe member's body shook violently and he couldn't help but retreat. A divine weapon. The heavenly human tribe member of the 9th Great Supreme God layer whispered. His eyes were cold. Down below, an old elf was holding a handful of emerald green arrows. That old elf also had the cultivation of the 9th Great Supreme God layer. He had just used a divine weapon to shoot the heavenly human tribe member of the 9th Great Supreme God layer back. "Let's attack together and kill him. The divine weapon is ours," shouted another heavenly human tribe member. "All right, let's attack together." There were a few heavenly human tribe members on the scene. They were all cultivators of the 9th Great Supreme God layer. Their silhouettes flickered and they charged towards the island. "Come and help me." On the island, the elder of the elf clan roared. Another dozen or so elf tribe elites gathered behind the old man. Behind them, large trees appeared, and boundless energy surged into the old man's body. Shouted the old elf. Then he drew his bow again. "Bzzz, bzzz, bzzz." This time he drew his bow 3 times in a row. 3 arrows streaked across the sky and shot towards the 3 strong cultivators of the heavenly human tribe. The arrows whistled through the air, their might extremely astonishing. Even though the 3 celestial race experts tried their best to block them, they still couldn't block them. Their bodies flew backwards, and one of the divine emperors was almost penetrated. He was so shocked that he broke out in cold sweat. The weaker ones didn't dare to attack. They were afraid that they would be shot to death. "Back off. I'll do it," said the old elf of the heavenly human tribe at that moment. He had been watching coldly and hadn't done anything before. After all, he was a divine master. If the others could handle it, he wouldn't have done anything. However, the others had been stopped by the arrows, so he had no choice but to do something. "Thank you, Master Eugene," said a heavenly human tribe member politely. Whoosh! The old elf of the heavenly human tribe, Eugene, took a step forward. Holy light filled the air. 10 angelic wings spread out from his back and a vast amount of energy pressed down on the island. On the island, the expressions of all the elves changed drastically, revealing deep despair. Divine Master. The elder from the elf clan cried out in despair. A divine master was here. Even if they had a master divine weapon, it was useless. Elves, I'll give you a chance. Kill yourselves? Eugene put his hands behind his back and said arrogantly. However, before he could finish his sentence, his expression changed drastically. He jumped up as if his butt was on fire. A spear light suddenly shot out from the sea below him. It was aimed at him. He jumped up quickly, but the spear light was even faster. Poof! Eugene was pierced. His eyes were wide open. They were filled with resentment and fear. Then, with a bang, his body exploded. He was destroyed in both body and soul. Everyone else was stunned. Eugene was a divine master. Although he was only a first-level divine master, he was still a divine master. He was unexpectedly killed by a spear light in the sea. Oh no, run! After a few breaths, the remaining people of the heavenly palace came to their senses. They shouted in horror and tried to escape. A divine master was killed instantly. Wouldn't they be courting death if they stayed? However, it was too late. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Under the surface of the sea, numerous spear lights flew out. Top point. Chapter 4507. At the bottom of the sea, the spear radiance shot out and pierced through the remaining experts of the heavenly palace, killing them all. On the island, the elves were a little stunned. Why was there a spear radiance at the bottom of the sea? It was so powerful that even the divine master of the angel race was killed by it. Such power was absolutely shocking. Could there be a divine master of the elf race alive at the bottom of the sea? What? At this moment, the sea churned and a figure rushed out. This figure was naturally Lu Ming. However, he didn't transform into his original appearance. He still looked like a middle-aged man. It's not the elf race. When the elves on the island saw Lu Ming, they showed a hint of disappointment. At first, they were hoping that it would be a divine master of the elf race who survived, but they didn't expect it to be a human. However, they quickly suppressed the strange feeling in their hearts and flew toward Lu Ming, led by the elder from the elf race. They bowed respectfully and said, Huayang of the elf race, thank you for your help, senior. You're welcome. I'm friends with your elf king. When I heard that the heavenly palace was going to deal with the elf race, I immediately rushed over. I didn't expect that I would still be a step too late, Lu Ming said. After that, he sighed deeply. Huayang and the others were very touched. It was rare to have such a friend. Even if the enemy was the heavenly palace, he was still fearless and rushed over to help. He even killed many experts of the heavenly palace on the spot. If it were others, they would have fled after hearing that the enemy was the heavenly palace. How could they save them? They were too loyal. Huayang was a little choked up. He continued to clasp his fists and said, This junior thanks senior on behalf of his majesty. Unfortunately, at this point Huayang's face was pale and he couldn't continue. By the way, how is brother Huashua now? Lu Ming asked deliberately. His Majesty? His Majesty has been killed by the heavenly human race. Huayang said with grief and indignation. Damn it, I'm still too late. By the way, where's Nisiyue now? Lu Ming asked. This was his goal, to find out the whereabouts of Ling Yue. The princess should be in the elven ancestral land now. I don't know if she has been found by the heavenly palace. I hope nothing bad happens to the princess. Huayang sighed. The elven ancestral land. Yue is indeed fine. Lu Ming was overjoyed. He secretly scolded himself for being stupid. The ancestral land of the elves was indeed a very good place to hide. Back then, when he and Ling Yue had participated in the Holy Seed examination, they had entered the ancestral land of the elves. Inside, Lu Ming had obtained 2 holy tree seeds, one of which he had given to the elves, and the other was still lying in his storage ring. The ancestral land of the elf clan was heavily guarded by the ancestors of the elf clan. Only the younger generation could enter. The older ones could not enter. Furthermore, once they entered the elf clan's ancestral land, they would be heavily suppressed. Their cultivation would drop, and they would not even be able to use their divine weapons. Ling Yue hiding in the ancestral land of the elves was indeed a very good idea. However, once she was discovered by the experts of the heavenly palace and blocked outside, it would also be very dangerous. Moreover, the heavenly palace might have a way to break through the restrictions of the elf clan's ancestral land. Thinking of this, Lu Ming became somewhat anxious. Right now, the elven mother planet is filled with people from the heavenly palace. You have nowhere to hide. Why don't you come with me? I'll take you away. Lu Ming said. Senior, if you take us away, the target will be too big. I'm afraid it will easily attract the attention of the Heavenly Palace. You should go and save the princess. She is the hope of the elves. As long as she is still alive, the elves will have hope of rising again. Hua Yang said. Don't worry, I have a treasure. You can enter my treasure and not be discovered by the people of the Heavenly Palace. Lu Ming said, planning to put the elves into the Great Desolate Ring. With a thought, a huge whirlpool immediately appeared in the air. This was opened by Lu Ming, leading to the Great Desolate Ring. Hua Yang and the others hesitated for a moment, then flew toward the gate. With Lu Ming's cultivation, if he wanted to harm them, he would not have to go through so much trouble. He could easily kill them. Moreover, Lu Ming was definitely not from the Heavenly Palace. If he was from the Heavenly Palace, why would he kill the masters of the Heavenly Palace? Moreover, they were masters of the Divine Lord Realm. Was he trying to win their trust? They were far from qualified. In a short while, all the elves on the island had entered the Great Desolate Ring. Lu Ming burned the bodies of the masters of the Heavenly Palace with fire. Then his figure flashed and he left. During the flight, Lu Ming's appearance changed again. In the end, he turned into the appearance of Eugene, the first-layer Divine Lord Realm Elder of the Angel Clan. Even the aura was exactly the same. This was to make it easier for him to move around. Sure enough, after he turned into Eugene, his movements were unimpeded. Even if he met the people of the Heavenly Palace, nothing happened. The other party even bowed to him obediently. At the same time, Lu Ming learned of a big matter from the people of the Heavenly Palace. The Heavenly Palace had already discovered the elves' ancestral land. They also knew that the elven princess Ling Yue was hiding in the elves' ancestral land with a group of young elves. The Heavenly Palace had already mobilized a large number of masters to surround the entrance of the elves' ancestral land. Not good. Lu Ming's face was a bit ugly. The Heavenly Palace had already discovered it. It would be difficult to save Ling Yue. Lu Ming immediately rushed toward the elves' ancestral land. As he hurried, he thought of a countermeasure. After passing through the wormhole, Lu Ming soon arrived near the planet where the entrance to the elves' ancestral land was. After arriving here, Lu Ming's appearance began to change again. In the end, he turned into a young angel. After all, Eugene was an existence of the Divine Master Realm. His presence was too strong. If he met an acquaintance of Eugene, Lu Ming was afraid of revealing a flaw. If he turned into an ordinary angel youth, his presence would be greatly reduced. As long as he didn't meet an existence of the Origin Realm, he shouldn't be exposed. Soon, Lu Ming arrived at the planet where the entrance to the elves' ancestral land was. On the planet there was a hall. In the hall was the entrance to the elves' ancestral land. At this moment, the hall was surrounded. They were all experts and heavenly soldiers and divine generals of the Heavenly Palace. So powerful. There's an existence on the level of the Lord of Heaven. Lu Ming sensed an extremely terrifying aura in the sky. He secretly took a look and discovered that a heavenly human powerhouse was sitting cross-legged there. The terrifying aura was exuding from this person. Lu Ming had come into contact with people on the level of the Lord of Heaven more than once. This person's aura wasn't weaker than those of the Lord of Heaven. In addition, there were many Divine Master Realm experts scattered around. This area had been surrounded so tightly that not even a drop of water could trickle through. Above, the existence on the level of the Lord of Heaven noticed Lu Ming approaching and coldly glanced at him. As if he didn't find anything, he looked away. Lu Ming secretly heaved a sigh of relief. It seemed that the other party hadn't seen through him. Chapter 4508. Lu Ming wandered around as if nothing had happened, and then came to the vicinity of a group of heavenly soldiers and divine generals. Brother, how is the situation now? Lu Ming asked a heavenly soldier. This heavenly soldier was an angel. Brother, how should I address you? Why haven't I seen you before? You look very unfamiliar. The angel race heavenly soldier glanced at Lu Ming and said. He didn't really suspect Lu Ming. With his cultivation, it was naturally impossible for him to see through the great imitation technique. He just felt that Lu Ming looked unfamiliar and casually asked. My name is Gabriel. I've been traveling in the universe and rarely returned to my clan. Not long ago, I happened to travel to the territory of the elf race. When I heard that the Heavenly Palace was exterminating the rebel elf race, I immediately rushed over to help, Lu Ming explained. Oh, so that's how it is. Brother, you are very smart. The angel race heavenly soldier laughed and didn't doubt him. Actually, it was very normal. If the Heavenly Palace wanted to exterminate a certain rebel force, if there were people from other races passing by, they would usually come to help. The main reason was that they could perform well in front of the Heavenly Palace and gain a good impression of the Heavenly Palace. In fact, Lu Ming wasn't the only one who would do this. Many people would do the same. This point was flawless. Let me tell you, this is a certain ancestral land of the elf race. The elf princess Ling Yue and a group of elf race geniuses are in the ancestral land. The angel race heavenly soldier said. The elf princess is inside. Then why don't we just kill our way in and take her down? Lu Ming asked despite knowing the answer. You don't know about this, right? This ancestral land of the elf race has layers of restrictions set up by the ancestors of the elf race. Only the younger generation can enter. If the older generation forcefully barges in, they will be attacked by the restrictions. Previously, Lord of Heaven personally barged in, but he was unable to enter. The angel race heavenly soldier lowered his voice. Even the Lord of Heaven can't enter? Lu Ming was a little surprised. He was really surprised that the restrictions in the ancestral land of the elves were so strong that even an existence like the Lord of Heaven would find it difficult to enter. Yes. According to Sir Lord God's judgment, there was a reciprocity expert among the ancestors of the elves. The restriction was cast down by a reciprocity expert. Only reciprocity experts can break through it. The angel's heavenly soldier asked. Then what do you all plan to do next? Lu Ming continued asking. I don't know yet. I heard that they are waiting for the other Lord Heaven. When that Lord Heaven arrives, we will discuss countermeasures. For now we just have to wait. The heavenly soldier from the angel race said. Lu Ming nodded, but he secretly heaved a sigh of relief. The people from the heavenly palace had yet to attack the elven ancestral land. This meant that Ling Yue and the others were still fine. However, there were so many experts here that Lu Ming naturally couldn't make any moves. He could only stay here and observe the situation. An hour later. Suddenly, Lu Ming raised his head and looked at a spot in the void. The void trembled violently, rippling like water. Then a figure appeared out of thin air. The Lord of Heaven. Lu Ming understood that the Lord of Heaven that everyone had been waiting for had finally arrived. Greetings, Lord of Heaven. Many experts from the heavenly palace bowed to the Lord of Heaven. The Lord of Heaven nodded and stepped forward. Yechu of Beach, what's the situation now? The Yechu of Beach he spoke of was the Lord of Heaven who had been here at the beginning. There is a restriction set up by an reciprocity expert here. Only young people can enter. The older ones can't enter, so I'm waiting for you to discuss countermeasures. Yechu of Beach said. A restriction set up by an reciprocity expert. The Lord of Heaven behind him frowned. This person was called Yelling Flight, and he was also an extremely powerful Lord of Heaven. That's right. The restriction is extremely powerful. It's probably not cast down by a single reciprocity expert. It's probably been constantly reinforced by several reciprocity experts over many generations. We can't break through it with our strength. If we try to break through it forcefully, we'll be in danger. Yechu of Beach said. The Lord of Heaven was known to stand at the peak of the Divine Lord realm. However, no matter how great the peak was, he was still a Divine Lord. There was a huge gap between him and the reciprocity realm. Reciprocity experts controlled origin and existed with the universe. They were not existences that Divine Lords could resist. Even after countless years, a restriction set up by an reciprocity expert was still terrifying. It was not something that Divine Lords could touch. Not to mention, the restriction in the elven ancestral land had been reinforced by several generations of reciprocity experts, making it even more terrifying. Then do you have a countermeasure? Yelling Flight asked. What I mean is to report the situation to a Celestial Venerable and ask a Celestial Venerable to break the restriction. Yechu of Beach said. No. If we have to trouble a Celestial Venerable to deal with a mere elven race, we'll lose face. Yelling Flight shook his head. I had no choice but to do so. Yechu of Beach sighed. The elven race was only ranked 33rd on the primitive race ranking. There were no reciprocity experts now, so the Heavenly Palace did not send a Celestial Venerable to deal with the elven race. Moreover, Celestial Venerables had Celestial Venerables to do. If they troubled a Celestial Venerable because of the elven race, then the Lord of Heaven, would lose face. Isn't the elven ancestral land only accessible to the younger generation? Then we'll just send young experts in and kill the remaining elves. Yelling Flight said. That's right. Why didn't I think of this? I was mistaken before and wanted to break the restriction, but I didn't think that I could kill the remaining elves without breaking the restriction. Yechu of Beach was overjoyed. It wasn't that he was stupid, but that he had been too focused on breaking the restriction, so he didn't think about it. However, that Ling Yue is extremely strong. When she was in the Grand Supreme Immortal City, she displayed 11 stars of battle strength, comparable to the Heavenly Daughter of Heaven. If we want to kill her, we have to send out the heavenly daughter of heaven. Yelling Flight said. That's easy. After the battle in the Grand Supreme Immortal City, Yichu Qinji went into seclusion to break through to the Divine Master Realm. Not long ago he broke through to the Divine Master Realm. I'll send him a sound transmission and ask him to come. With him around, Ling Yue will definitely die. Yechu of Beach smiled faintly. Yichu Qinji broke through to the Divine Master Realm? Ah, that's great. With him around, nothing will go wrong. Yelling Flight laughed out loud. Yichu Qinji was known as the strongest son of heaven before the battle for the origin seed in the Grand Supreme Immortal City. He possessed 12 stars of battle strength, which was rare even in the history of the heavenly human race. Now that he had successfully broken through to the Divine Master Realm, his battle strength was even more terrifying. With him entering the Elven ancestral land, Ling Yue would not be able to escape. With Yichu Qinji and some other young experts, it's enough to kill the remaining elves. Yechu of Beach smiled and then sent a sound transmission through the Dream Divine Jade. The conversation between the two Lord of Heaven was not hidden. Everyone present heard it. Yichu Qinji, Lu Ming's eyes flashed with a cold light. Chapter 4509. Lu Ming was surprised that Yichu Qinji had broken through to the Divine Master Realm so quickly. He, Xian Yanqing, and the others were only able to break through to the Divine Master Realm because of the Life Spirit and the Divine Creation Array. In reality, only a few years had passed in the outside world. But thinking about it, it was normal. Before entering the Supreme Immortal City, Yichu Qinji's cultivation was already very high, reaching the peak of the 6th layer of the Emperor God realm. After entering the Supreme Immortal City, he quickly reached the peak of the 9th layer of the Emperor God realm. After a period of accumulation, he was almost able to break through to the Divine Master realm. After the end of the origin battle, Yichu Qinji returned to the Heavenly Palace. With the resources of the Heavenly Palace, it wasn't too difficult for him to break through within a few years. What should we do? Lu Ming was deeply worried. If Ling Yue didn't have any heaven-defying opportunities, her cultivation would most likely still be at the 9th layer of the Emperor God realm. If she met Yichu Qinji, who had already stepped into the Divine Master realm, she would definitely be no match for him. When Yichu Qinji and the others enter, I will also think of a way to enter. I hope they can choose me. Lu Ming thought to himself. Lu Ming and the others didn't wait for long. About 7 days later, ripples appeared in the void as a group of people broke through the void and arrived. The person in the lead was wearing golden battle armor. His long golden hair fluttered in the wind, and his body emitted a brilliant aura. This person was Yichu Qinji. Behind him followed a group of top geniuses from various races. There were celestial race, angel race, blood race, and so on. They were all direct disciples of some important figures in the Heavenly Palace. However, Yichu Qinji was the only son of heaven-level figure. In fact, among the younger generation of the elf race, Ling Yue was the only one who was difficult to deal with. The others were easy to deal with. With Yichu Qinji in charge, it was enough. After Yichu Qinji arrived, he bowed to the two Lord of Heaven. Alright, you guys can go now. Bring out the head of the elf race. Yechu of Beach ordered. Lord of Heaven, don't worry. It won't be long before I can bring the head of the elf race to see you. Yichu Qinji was extremely confident, as if he had already recovered from the shock of the battle at the Supreme Immortal City. Then, with Yichu Qinji as the lead, they set off towards the ancestral land of the elves. Other than Yichu Qinji and the others, they didn't call the others. This time, Lu of Heaven God. Lord of Heaven, wait. Yichu of Heaven. The two heavenly lords furrowed their brows. Yichu. King Yichu said. Lord. Lord of Heaven. Lord. Lu Ming said respectfully. How thoughtful of you. Go on. Yechu of Beach waved his hand casually. He didn't care about a junior from the angel race. Yichu Qinji was expressionless. He didn't care about Lu Ming at all. In his opinion, Lu Ming was just an angel race member who was blinded by greed. He had seen many such people. It didn't matter if he followed them in. It didn't matter if he had one more or one less. Thank you, Lord of Heaven. Lu Ming pretended to be ecstatic and then joined Yichu Qinji and the others. Let's go. Yichu Qinji waved his hand and led the others to the entrance of the elf race's ancestral land. They then entered the entrance one after another. In the next moment, they arrived at the first level of the elf race's ancestral land. Here we are again. I didn't expect to come to the elf race's ancestral land again in this way. Lu Ming sighed in his heart. It was no different from the last time. There was still a strong suppressive force here. Similarly, he could see stone towers in the distance. The stone towers were suppressing some terrifying evil spirits. According to the information we received, there are a total of 9 levels in the elf race's ancestral land. The elf race remnants are probably in the last few levels. However, we can't let our guard down. They might be hiding in the first level. Now spread out and search. Once you find any news of the elf race remnants, report to me immediately. Yechu Tianji said. Yes. Then everyone spread out and went in all directions. Lu Ming followed the few of them and headed to the east. After flying a certain distance, Lu Ming made his move. Whoosh, whoosh. Lu Ming used his finger as a spear and pointed out a few times. These few youths didn't expect Lu Ming to suddenly attack. They were completely unprepared. In fact, even if they were on guard, they wouldn't be able to block Lu Ming's attack. They were directly pierced through by Lu Ming's finger force and died on the spot. Lu Ming waved his hands and burned the corpses with fire. At the same time, he collected their storage rings. With a flash, he left the place and headed toward the nearest entrance. There were 9 intersections from the first floor to the second floor. Lu Ming had been here once and was very familiar with this place. He easily found the nearest entrance and entered the second floor. Lu Ming speculated that Ling Yue and the others shouldn't be on the first few floors. They should be on the last few floors or even the 10th floor. That was the safest place. Back then, Ling Yue had fused with the energy of the Holy Seed Mother Tree, and her elf bloodline had become incomparably powerful. Later on, she had absorbed a drop of 5 elements immortal tears, and the strength of her elf bloodline could be said to have reached the peak in the history of the elf race. The elf bloodline could restrain the evil spirits in the elf ancestral land. Ling Yue could come and go as she pleased in the elf ancestral land. In addition, Lu Ming had told the elf clan about the array formation to refine the evil spirit bead. The array formation could also restrain the evil spirits, so it wasn't difficult for Ling Yue and the others to reach the last level. Therefore, Lu Ming did not stop at the first few floors. Instead, he continued to advance towards the last few floors. If the people of the Heavenly Palace wanted to enter the next floor, they had to find the entrance first. Lu Ming was familiar with the road, so his speed was naturally much faster than the people of the Heavenly Palace. Second floor, third floor, fourth floor. Soon Lu Ming arrived at the 7th floor. The suppression of the 7th floor was already very strong, but it had no effect on Lu Ming. Back then, the restrictive power here had no effect on Lu Ming. Now, Lu Ming's restrictive power was many times stronger than before, so it naturally wouldn't have any effect. After reaching the 7th floor, Lu Ming wasn't in a hurry to go to the 8th floor. Instead, he started to investigate. He was afraid that Ling Yue and the others would miss out on the 7th floor. Jiji! A sharp cry rang out as a dark cloud flew towards Lu Ming. It was an evil spirit. A large group of evil spirits pounced towards Lu Ming. Boom! A powerful aura erupted from Lu Ming's body. This aura, Lu Ming used the great imitation technique to imitate the aura of the elf royal bloodline. When the evil spirits sensed this aura, they were so scared that they ran away. In the blink of an eye, not a single one was left. Lu Ming's figure constantly flickered on the 7th floor. After searching the 7th floor, he did not find any traces of Ling Yue and the others. After that, Lu Ming arrived at the 8th floor. On the 8th floor, there was still no trace of Ling Yue and the others. Soon Lu Ming arrived at the 9th floor. Chapter 45:10. On the 10th floor of the elven ancestral land, in front of a withered tree, a beautiful figure stood quietly. This figure was the elf princess Ling Yue. And this big tree was the Holy Seed Mother Tree. Back then, Lu Ming had obtained 2 Holy Seed seeds here. Later on, Ling Yue even used the Holy Seed Mother Tree to complete her bloodline evolution. However, the Holy Seed Mother Tree also withered because of this. However, after so many years, some parts of the withered Holy Seed Mother Tree had sprouted new shoots. Around the Holy Seed Mother Tree, there were also some young elves. They looked at Ling Yue but did not disturb her. Ling Yue looked at the Holy Seed Mother Tree in a daze. The scenes of her adventuring in the elven ancestral land with Lu Ming all those years ago reappeared in her mind. Lu Ming, it's all because of you. It's all because you lied to me. It's all because you pretended to be Mu Yun that my elven clan suffered such a calamity. You caused Royal Father to be killed and Aunt. As she thought about it, Ling Yue's tears continued to flow as her delicate body began to tremble slightly. After a long while, she finally calmed down. However, I know you didn't mean it, but you should have told me earlier. You shouldn't have lied to me. Sai, why am I thinking so much? Perhaps the people from the Heavenly Palace will come in very soon. We will never have the chance to meet again, Ling Yue sighed in her heart. At this moment, Yue. A soft call sounded in Ling Yue's ears. His voice was clear, deep and magnetic. Upon hearing this voice, Ling Yue's delicate body suddenly trembled. She was too familiar with this voice. It was haunting her dreams and she would never forget it for the rest of her life. This was Lu Ming's voice. However, how could Lu Ming come here? Even if Lu Ming knew that she was here, the outside of the ancestral land was already surrounded by the heavenly palace. How did Lu Ming get in? Illusion, it must be an illusion. Ling Yue, the elves were exterminated mostly because of Lu Ming. Why am I so disappointing? I'm still thinking about him, he should be your enemy? Ling Yue shook her head with all her might, thinking that she was hallucinating. But at this time the other elves shouted. Who? How did you get in? Mu Yun, no, Lu Ming, it's Lu Ming. Lu Ming, you still dare to come here? Hearing these shouts, Yue's heart was trembling, she couldn't help but turn her head. Then she saw a young Yue, her heart couldn't help but beat faster. At the same time, anger, hatred, longing, and other emotions intertwined, causing Ling Yue to be a little dazed for a moment. Yue's Yun's sect, Lu Ming opened his mouth and walked towards Ling Yue. He didn't find any traces of Ling Yue and the others on the first 9 floors, so he went to the 10th floor to search. Sure enough, he found that Ling Yue and the others were on the 10th floor. With his cultivation, the elves did not discover any traces of him when he appeared above Ling Yue and the others. It was only when he opened his mouth that the elves discovered him. Lu Ming, stop. You are not allowed to approach the princess. It's all because of you that our elf clan was attacked by the heavenly palace and ended up in this state. You still dare to come here, you're courting death. Brothers and sisters, let's attack together and kill this person. We'll avenge his majesty and our countless fellow elves. The other elves were incomparably furious, treating Lu Ming as a great enemy. One by one they condensed their battle bows, knocked their arrows and shot them out. In an instant hundreds of arrows shot towards Lu Ming. These were all geniuses of the elf clan. Some of them had entered the supreme immortal city and were very strong. They had reached the Divine Lord realm, but there were only a few of them. Most of them were still at the Divine Lord realm. In Lu Ming's eyes, this kind of cultivation was naturally not enough. Lu Ming reached out and grabbed at the air. Suddenly the sky was filled with claw shadows. When the claw shadows disappeared, the hundreds of arrows were all in Lu Ming's hand. With a strong squeeze, the hundreds of arrows exploded with a bang, turning into energy and disappearing. You didn't kill the people of the heavenly palace, but came to deal with me. Is this your ability? Lu Ming said coldly. We naturally have to kill the people of the heavenly palace, but you have to kill them too. That's right. It was you who pretended to be Mu Yun and got involved with us. That's why you were hated by the heavenly palace. The elf clan's genius roared. Lu Ming was speechless. The people of the elf clan were right. The elf clan was indeed implicated by him. He could not refute this point. Princess, attack. Kill him. Yes, avenge his majesty. The elf clan's genius shouted. Ling Yue's delicate body trembled, and her eyes revealed a look of struggle. But in the end she shouted loudly and activated her origin secret technique. A large bow condensed and a powerful force poured into it, condensing into an arrow and aiming at Lu Ming. Lu Ming turned around and faced Ling Yue. He didn't say a word and just stared at her in a daze. Lu Ming, what are you doing here? Ling Yue asked. Her delicate body trembled slightly, and the look in her eyes became even more complicated. I'm here to take you out into a safe place, Lu Ming said. Nonsense, the ancestral land is now surrounded by the heavenly palace. How can you take us out? That's complete nonsense. Princess, hurry up and do something. Hurry up and do something. That's right. I suspect that he has already joined the heavenly palace. Otherwise, how did he enter the ancestral land when it was surrounded by the heavenly palace? These words shook the hearts of all the elves present. Indeed, the entrance of the ancestral land was now surrounded by the heavenly palace. The heavenly palace was filled with experts. How did Lu Ming get in? Moreover, he seemed to be safe and sound. This was not normal. Could it be that Lu Ming had really joined the heavenly palace? The more everyone thought about it, the more likely it was. This must be a scheme of the heavenly palace. He wants to trick us out. Yes, the ancestral land has layers of restrictions set by the elf clan's ancestors. Even the divine master realm experts can't enter. The people of the heavenly palace can't enter, so he wants to trick us out. We can't be fooled. This person has wild ambitions. Not only did he cause the destruction of our elf clan, he also wants to eliminate the roots. Princess, attack, we can't be soft-hearted. If we don't kill this person, Our elf clan will really be exterminated. Some of the elves roared. Originally there were still elves who believed in Lu Ming. After all, Lu Ming had brought out the seed of the holy tree for the elf clan back then. However, at this moment, when the other elves said this, they felt that it was very reasonable and their hearts were burning with anger. Among them was Ling Yue. Lu Ming, I want to avenge my royal father. Ling Yue let out a loud shout and loosened the bowstring in her hand. An arrow flew through the air and shot towards Lu Ming's chest. Lu Ming stood there motionless. He had no intention of dodging at all. The speed of the arrow was too fast. In an instant it was close to Lu Ming. Seeing that the arrow was about to hit Lu Ming, Ling Yue couldn't help but panic. She shouted, "Lu Ming, get out of the way." Chapter 45:11. Ling Yue shouted for Lu Ming to dodge. At the same time she stretched out her hand to grab the arrow. However, it was already too late. The speed of the arrow was too fast and there was no return. How could Ling Yue catch it just because she wanted to? The arrow hit Lu Ming's chest, pierced through Lu Ming's heart and came out from his back. Lu Ming was forced back a few steps by the powerful force of the arrow. Ling Yue was stunned. The other elves were also stunned. No one expected that this arrow would hit the target just like that. Lu Ming, why didn't you dodge? Ling Yue said with a trembling voice. Based on her understanding of Lu Ming would definitely be able to dodge that arrow. However, Lu Ming clearly had no intention of dodging just now, and deliberately allowed the arrow to hit him. I deserve this arrow. You're right, I've implicated the elf race, Yi Zichen said. Lu Ming sighed and continued, moreover, as long as you're happy, so what if you're shot 10 or 100 arrows? Lu Ming, Ling Yue's voice trembled and her eyes were filled with complicated emotions. Originally she thought that she would hate Lu Ming, but when she really saw Lu Ming she realized that she didn't hate Lu Ming at all. Yue, come with me. The elves can't be destroyed yet. With you here the elves still have hope of rising. Lu Ming said. Lu Ming, you really didn't join the heavenly palace? Ling Yue said. Silly girl, of course not. I have a taboo body and am born to be a mortal enemy of the heavenly palace. How could I join the heavenly palace? Lu Ming raised his voice so that everyone could hear him. Then how did you get in? An elven genius asked loudly. You want to know? Then I'll show you. Lu Ming looked at the elf tribe prodigies. His appearance and aura changed rapidly. In the next moment Lu Ming turned into Ling Yue. Yes, Lu Ming directly used the great imitation technique to transform into Ling Yue's appearance. Even the aura of her life source was exactly the same. Everyone was stunned, including Ling Yue. It wasn't difficult to change one's appearance. In fact, it was very easy. Everyone present found it difficult to do so. However, even the aura of his life source was exactly the same as Ling Yue's. How was this possible? It was simply unbelievable. Everyone's gazes moved back and forth between Ling Yue and Lu Ming, completely unable to tell if they were real or fake. Then Lu Ming's appearance and aura changed, and he turned into another elven genius. Whether it was his appearance or the aura of the origin of life, he was exactly the same as that elven genius. After that, Lu Ming turned into a youth from the angel race, and his life source aura also became that of the angel race. If they didn't know Lu Ming's true identity beforehand, everyone would have thought that Lu Ming was an angel. In the end, Lu Ming returned to his original appearance. This secret technique is one of the top 3 secret techniques of the 3,000 ancient secret techniques. It's called the Great Imitation Technique. With this secret technique, what's so difficult about entering? Lu Ming said. The elves all fell silent, agreeing with Lu Ming's words in their hearts. Yes, with such a wonderful technique, Lu Ming could completely transform into the celestial race, angel race and so on and openly enter. Moreover, the taboo body and the heavenly palace were indeed mortal enemies. This was publicly acknowledged in the universe, so how could Lu Ming rely on the heavenly palace? Previously they only thought that way because they saw that Lu Ming was angry. Now that they had calmed down, they knew that Lu Ming didn't mean them any harm. Perhaps he really did come here to save them. However, Lu Ming could change his appearance and life source aura, but the others couldn't. How could Lu Ming take them out? Moreover, the elves were indeed implicated by Lu Ming. It was almost impossible for them to dispel their grudge against Lu Ming so quickly. I know you blame me and want to kill me. Fine, if you want to kill me in the future, I'll welcome you at any time as long as you have the ability. But don't forget one thing. Now there are not many elves left. If you don't come with me and die in the hands of the heavenly palace, then the elves will really be wiped out. You are the last hope of the elves, understand? Lu Ming said loudly. To be honest, he really didn't take these elves seriously. Even if they wanted to take revenge on him in the future, What was he afraid of? At his current level, his vision were already very high. His current opponents were the Heavenly Palace, those in the Origin Realm. Even if these elves wanted to take revenge on him in the future, they couldn't touch a single hair on his body. Of course, if others wanted to take revenge on him every day, even if they were weak, Lu Ming couldn't be bothered to save them. However, he felt somewhat guilty towards the elves. The other reason was for Ling Yue's sake. Upon hearing Lu Ming's words, there was a commotion among the elves. Yes, even if they didn't fear death, they still had to consider the continuation and inheritance of the elves. If they were all killed by the Heavenly Palace, then the elves would really be finished. How could they face the elves who died in battle? How could they face the elf emperor Ling Huashua and the others? Even if we believe you, how can you take us out? Finally, a young prodigy said, I have a treasure that has formed a world of its own. You can enter it and I can transform into a heavenly human and leave here easily. Lu Ming said, There's actually a treasure that can form a world of its own. The sky prides of the elf tribe were all shocked and envious. Treasures that could form a world of their own were not rare in a small world. They were very easy to see. In a small world, whether it was the laws of the world or the space, they were all imperfect and unstable. Therefore, it was very easy to cultivate a treasure that could form a world of its own. It could even evolve its own world. However, this kind of treasure would be merged by the primitive universe as soon as it came to the primitive universe because it was too low level. In the primitive universe, it was too difficult to refine a treasure that could form a world. It was extremely difficult and could be said to be very rare. Not to mention other things, after Lu Ming came to the primitive universe, other than the primitive ring, he hadn't seen any other treasure that could form a world of its own. Hurry up and go in. If we wait for the Heavenly Palace's celestial venerables to come, we won't be able to leave even if we want to. Lu Ming said. With a wave of his hand, a huge vortex appeared in the sky. Those from the heavenly human race looked at each other, not knowing what to do for a moment. Let's go with Lu Ming. We have to live. At this moment Ling Yue spoke. Let's go. Ling Yue's words finally made the elven prodigies make up their minds and rush towards the black hole. In the blink of an eye, all the elven prodigies entered the primitive ring. Ling Yue looked at Lu Ming with a complicated expression. She also raised her feet and walked towards the entrance of the primitive ring. Yue, wait a moment. Lu Ming called out. Ling Yue's delicate body trembled slightly as she stopped.